Chapter 982. Feng Zhanlin and the other gods made way for them. The black-faced god respectfully said, "Lord Blazing Angel, the domain castle of Sparrow Spirit Domain is only 100 miles away from here. We will arrive in a moment. I will send someone back to arrange a banquet." "No need." Xian shook her head. "Let's fly back slowly. As for food, forget it. Yu Xin and Xiaoxi have just arrived. We want to know more about the prehistoric mystery realm. Let's talk about this when we get back to the domain castle. This is the outer region after all. It's more dangerous." "Oh? Then let's go. Lead the way." "Yes." Lin Muyu and Qin Yin stood on the left and right, supporting Xian like two guards as they ascended. No one would have thought that the identity of a seraph would be so useful, allowing them to travel freely in the primordial mystery land. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for them to escape this calamity. Feng Zhanlin continued to fly beside Xian respectfully. His expression was full of admiration as he said, "As far as I know, the Blazing Angel has always been under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm, and this ancient secret realm is under the jurisdiction of the Eastern Heaven Realm. Why has Lord Blazing Angel suddenly come here? And, the Secret Realms passage is very strange. Ordinary people can't find this place." Xian's eyes were calm. "Xiao brought us here." "Xiao?" Feng Zhanlin shuddered. A trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. "What's wrong? Region Lord Feng knows Xiao?" Lin Muyu asked. "Yes." Feng Zhanlin took a deep breath. "Who doesn't know Fairy Xiao? She came to the prehistoric mystery realm a few years ago, and she immediately caused a huge commotion. She destroyed the Spirit Wind region and the ancient Desolate region, and at the same time she defeated many other regions. The entire prehistoric mystery realm pales at the mention of her name. It seems like, the sword in your hand is really the Xianyuan sword?" "Master, you've noticed?" Lin Muyu chuckled. "How could I not see it?" Feng Zhanlin smiled bitterly. The Xianyuan sword was originally the treasure of the ancient baron's domain. Xiao wanted to borrow the Xianyuan sword, but the domain lord refused, so she had no choice but to take action. However, no one in the ancient baron's domain expected this beautiful woman to be so powerful. She destroyed the entire ancient baron's domain, destroyed the domain castle, expelled the disciples and took the Xianyuan sword. I didn't expect to see this peerless sword here. "Oh, I see." Lin Muyu looked straight into Feng Zhanlin's eyes and was surprised to find that there was no greed in Feng Zhanlin's eyes when he looked at the Xianyuan sword. Instead, there was only love and reverence. It seemed that Feng Zhanlin wasn't a greedy person. Otherwise, he would have definitely ordered his subordinates to kill them. After all, the Xianyuan sword was too precious. At this moment, Qin Yin said, "Wind Region Lord, tell us about the ancient secret land. We know nothing about this place." "Yes." Feng Zhanlin nodded and said to the wind, "The ancient secret land is the domain of the ancient gods. Many famous ancient gods have set foot here and left behind many gods. For tens of thousands of years, the entrance to the secret land has been sealed and can only be opened by external forces. Therefore the gods in the secret land can't leave. Generation after generation, the inheritance and cultivation have formed a total of 64 domains." "64 domains?" Lin Muyu asked. "Yes. There are a total of 64 domains, and each domain is governed by a domain master with unfathomable power. Living in the prehistoric mystery realm are not only gods, but also some terrifying creatures such as those giant snakes that wriggle in the depths of the earth, the hidden dragons that wander in the sky, and the hermits that live in the wild forests. These creatures can pose a threat to the lives of the gods. In order to defend against the attacks from the outside world, each domain has built a domain fortress that is protected by an impenetrable wall. The fortress lives on endlessly, reproducing for generations." Feng Zhanlin smiled awkwardly. "I'm not afraid to laugh at you, but my domain castle was inherited from my father's generation. Compared to other domains, the Spirit Sparrow domain is perhaps the weakest of the 64 domains. That's why I cultivate spirit fruits in the wild, but I didn't expect to meet you. We thought the spirit fruits were wild, so we picked them." "Please forgive us, Region Lord," Lin Muyu said politely. Feng Zhanlin laughed. "Young hero Lin is too polite. It's rare for Lord Blazing Angel to come to my small Spirit Sparrow domain. It's my honor. Since you've eaten the spirit fruits, there are many of them in the 64 domains. After returning to the domain castle, there are still many spirit fruits in my backyard. If you need anything, just take them." Lin Muyu was a little suspicious. She looked at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi and smiled at each other. Feng Zhanlin was really too enthusiastic, to the point that it was ridiculous. Tang Xiaoxi held the Tig spear in her right hand and held Lin Muyu's palm with her left. Her beautiful eyes seemed to be able to speak as she looked at Feng Zhanlin. Her meaning was self-evident. Feng Zhanlin was so enthusiastic that he must have a request. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu didn't have any good ideas. She could only use her identity as a blazing angel to scare Feng Zhanlin and the others. Otherwise there would be big trouble. Judging from the breaths, Feng Zhanlin was an 84th Heaven Grotto Heaven Divine Emperor. His brother, the black-faced man Feng Zhanhai, was a 72nd Heaven Divine Emperor. There were also many Divine Emperors and Divine Kings among the guards around them. There was no chance of winning against such a group of gods. The only thing they could do now was to deceive them to the end. Lin Muyu frowned and asked, "Regent Lord Feng, are these gods from the domain castle? How many of you are there and how strong are each domain?" Feng Zhanlin said, "We have a total of 7 divine emperors in the Spirit Sparrow domain. Lei Chuanxing was mistakenly killed by you. There are also 54 divine kings, 300 hierarch and more than 5,000 servants, all living in the domain castle." "Servants?" "Yes." Feng Zhanlin said, "Most of them are mortals. They were originally savages living in the prehistoric secret territory. As the battle of the gods began, they lost all hope of survival. In the end, they became the followers of the gods, responsible for farming, herding, serving the gods and so on. To put it bluntly, they are just a group of believers." "Oh right, Regent Lord said that you inherited the Spirit Sparrow domain from your father's generation. Where are they?" "Dead. Even gods can die?" Lin Muyu was shocked. Feng Zhanlin smiled, "Of course. My father and a few uncles were all divine emperors, but they died in the ancient desolation domain. My grandfather died of old age." "Old age? Aren't gods immortal?" "The gods of the heaven realm are indeed immortal. However, we are just a group of forgotten people. We have long been deprived of our right to immortality. Divine emperors are only about 20,000 years old, divine kings and hierarchs are even rarer. Some hierarchs with shallow cultivation can only live for 500 years before dying of old age." Feng Zhanlin said with a sigh, "I entered the divine realm at the age of 28. Now, I'm more than 500 years old, but I have aged so much." Lin Muyu remained silent. Everyone had their own destiny. Wealth and honor depended on the heavens. Suddenly, a towering city appeared in the distant forest. The city walls were over 20 meters tall. Additionally, there were blood-red barriers all over the city walls. The friction between the barriers and the air around them created fiery sparks. It gave off the impression that there was a barrier protecting the entire city. "We have reached the domain castle." Feng Zhanlin proudly pointed at the city in the distance and said, "That is my Lingke castle." Feng Zhanlin seemed to have noticed Lin Muyu, Qinin and the others' doubts. He explained with a smile, "Every domain fortress must be built with arrays to resist the wind saws that are omnipresent in the wind. These arrays took our ancestors thousands of years to build." Tang Xiaoxi said, "Oh right, why haven't we encountered any wind saws along the way?" Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but laugh. "Miss Xiaoxi, you might not know this, but our flight path just now was following the path of the mountain ridge. There's an old saying in our 64 domains, clear streams have few fish, and there's no wind at the top of the mountain. It's the same principle. The wind saws are derived from the energy deep beneath the mountain, and only the mountain ridge region won't have wind saws. This is one of the survival rules that must be learned in the primordial secret realm." "I see. So much knowledge." Lin Muyu smiled. "Of course. Let's enter the domain castle." With that, everyone landed. Feng Zhanlin looked at a small hole in the domain castle and said, "Someone open the door." "It's the domain lord." Someone on the wall said. Soon the sealed door slowly opened. Feng Zhanlin bowed to Shi Yan and said respectfully, "Lord Blazing Angel and guests, please come in." Qinin supported Shi Yan and floated in. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi followed closely behind. After entering the domain castle, the architectural style of the place made people's eyes light up. Towering towers were connected together, and the houses were connected by white walls. There were also servants selling vegetables, fruits and livestock everywhere. The inside and outside of the domain castle were really two different worlds. The outside was the wilderness, but the inside was filled with outstanding people. Moreover, the architectural style here made Lin Muyu think hard for a long time. She just felt that it was a little familiar. After thinking for a long time, she suddenly realized that it was the style of the Warring States period. That's right, the architecture here was very similar to the Qin and Han styles of the Warring States period of China. The huge pavilions were pleasing to the eye, as if she had traveled thousands of years ago. Looking up, the bright sunlight shone through the domain castle, but upon a closer look, it was not empty, but covered with a layer of transparent crystal. Feng Zhanlin smiled. That is amber crystal, a treasure from the depths of the earth. The domain castle needs sunlight to grow crops, so the ancestors used amber crystal to create this huge cauldron. It isolates the wind saws but not the sunlight, so that the people in the domain castle can live and work in peace without being disturbed by outside threats. Chapter 983. In the depths of the domain castle, the domain lord manor was like a small Qinhan palace. Before entering the manor, a group of maids had already walked out and lined up in 2 rows. They said respectfully, "Domain lord, please return to the manor." Lin Muyu grinned. "The people in the secret territory really know how to enjoy themselves," Feng Zhanlin said awkwardly. "This is the standard configuration of the 64 domains. Every domain is the same. It's a rule passed down by the ancestors, so I didn't break it." Feng Zhanhai said, "Brother, there's no need to explain so much. Let's go in." Okay. It was early in the morning. Feng Zhanlin turned to the group of godly kings and godly venerables and said, "Since the mission has been completed, everyone can go back to the manor. The few distinguished guests can stay in the domain lord manor. If there's anything else, I'll gather everyone again." "Yes, domain lord." The godly gods bowed and then left. Entering the domain lord manor, it was a dazzling sight. The lights were like torches and the smell of delicious food filled their noses. It seemed that Feng Zhanlin had arranged for a sumptuous banquet in advance. In the hall, dozens of armored guards stood guard. In the center of the hall was a large table filled with delicacies. Feng Zhanlin smiled and said, "Distinguished guests, please take a seat. Don't stand on ceremony, just treat it as your own home. My Lingke castle is poor and can't be compared to some large domain castles, so this is all I can provide. I hope you don't mind." "Don't mention it, domain lord is too polite." After sitting down, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi were still a little wary. After all, it was their first time here. Moreover, Feng Zhanlin was a little too enthusiastic, so they had no idea what he wanted. "Serve the wine." Feng Zhanlin sat down and said, "Zhanhai, come sit with us and have a few drinks with the distinguished guests." Feng Zhanhai was a boorish man, so he naturally loved wine. He accepted the order and sat down. The wine tasted sweet and fragrant. The wine from the ancient secret territory had a different flavor compared to the Shattered Realm. However, Lin Muyu obviously didn't have the mood to drink and have fun here. She couldn't say anything because she didn't know what Feng Zhanlin was planning. She could only wait for him to speak first. Even after they had eaten and drank, Feng Zhanlin didn't say anything. Instead, he ordered a few maids to bring Lin Muyu and the others to their residence. The residence was the most beautiful place of the domain lord manor. There were 4 rooms in a small courtyard. It was very quiet and elegant. Feng Zhanlin followed behind and said respectfully, "The spirit fruit garden is next to the back garden. If you don't mind, I can show you around the spirit fruit garden." "Master, this Feng of Lord Feng of Manor, of Domain Lord of the Lord of Feng of Lord sect. We Lord of Saint. We Ming. Of a Feng of Lord Lord. Outside the spirit orchard, there was a forest of guards. There were even 2 deity kings standing guard at the entrance. Under Feng Zhanlin's lead, Lin Muyu and the rest entered the garden. The moment they entered, it was as if they had entered a different world. The garden was filled with rugged ancient rocks and towering trees. The moment they entered the garden, they saw more than 10 peaceheart berry trees. This was a real plantation. "These are the peaceheart berries you picked. They are considered mid-grade spirit fruits of the spirit garden." Feng Zhanlin smiled and walked in front. "Everyone look over there." Amidst the craggy rocks, rosy fruits the size of cherries actually grew out of the rocks. It was extremely magical. They looked crystal clear, round, and extremely alluring. "This is..." Xian didn't seem to know what it was. "Female stone fruit." Feng Zhanlin proudly caressed this unique stone and said, "The female stone fruit is a rare spirit fruit, it is a treasure. There are only 3 female stones in the entire 64 domains that produce female stone flowers, and this is one of them. The female stone fruit has a miraculous effect on cultivating laws. Eating 1 female stone fruit is equivalent to increasing one's law compatibility by 10 years. "No way." Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly. "The female stone will only bloom and bear fruit after 10,000 years. This female stone of mine just bloomed and bore fruit last year. These esteemed guests are very lucky." Men, pick 4 female stone fruits for our esteemed guests to taste. Yes, Domain Lord. 2 maids respectfully walked forward and began to pick the fruits on the stone. Feng Zhanhai, who was at the side, had a drunken look on his face as he said, "Brother, this female stone fruit only grew 11 fruits. Even you and I can't bear to eat it. How can you? Shut up." Feng Zhanlin scolded in a low voice. "What do you know?" Qin Yin observed his expression and said, "Domain Lord, we have just arrived at the Spirit Sparrow Castle. Let's forget about it. How can we eat such a precious spirit fruit?" Feng Zhanlin said, "Miss Xin, don't think too much. Since you are here, then you are fated. Moreover, Madame Xiyan is a blazing angel. I, Feng Zhanlin, am able to offer Madame Blazing Angel a spirit fruit. This is the blessing of 3 lifetimes." Qin Yin wanted to say something, but Lin Muyu grabbed her hand and said, "Since Domain Lord has good intentions, then Xiao Yin, we will appreciate it. Otherwise Domain Lord will be disappointed." "But big brother, you." Qin Yin was a bit hesitant. However, Lin Muyu's voice floated into Qin Yin's ears like a gossamer. "Xiao Yin, Sister Xian said that Xiao Shi's divine spark could evolve into a fire over God spark at any time. This female stone fruit has a miraculous effect on the laws of nature. Perhaps it will help Xiao Shi's divine spark grow. For Xiao Shi's sake we can't refuse." Qin Yin nodded and nodded with a cheerful smile. The 4 sparkling fruits on the plate were suffused with dense spiritual energy. It was as if they were wrapped in mist and didn't need to be washed. Feng Zhanlin said with a smile, "Honored guests, please have a taste." Lin Muyu walked forward and blocked the 3 beauties. "Domain Lord, how about we open the window and talk about light?" "What do you mean, young hero?" "Domain Lord, you can tell us directly. What do you need us to do for you or for Linkai Castle? We can only eat these precious fruits if we tell you first. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to eat them." Feng Zhanlin was startled, then laughed heartily. Young hero Lin Muyu is indeed a straightforward person. Then I, Feng Zhanlin, will not hide it from you. Our Linkai Castle Spirit Orchard is known as the #1 spirit orchard in the Southern Territory. Not only do we have female stone fruits, we also have a rare immortal tree that can bear cast immortal fruits. However, Linkai Castle's strength is only at the lower end of the 64 domains. So many domain castles have always coveted our spirit orchard. I think that since Lord Blazing Angel is here, we should stay for a while and at least protect her. Just because of this? Yes. All right then. Lin Muyu held a female stone fruit and handed it to Tang Xiaoxi. "Xiaoxi, open your mouth." Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful eyes were filled with shyness. "Ah." But she still opened her mouth and ate the female stone fruit that Lin Muyu fed her. Then Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Shi Yan each ate a fruit. Since it was good stuff, they shouldn't miss it. In any case, they came to the secret realm to seek more power. Moreover, the female stone fruit's spirit energy was very pure. Lin Muyu used her spirit sense to know that it was not poisonous, so eating it was fine. After eating it, a warm current slowly flowed from her stomach. The miraculous effect of the female stone fruit seemed to be very slow and needed some time to take effect. Since she wasn't in a hurry to cultivate, Lin Muyu asked, "Domain Lord Feng, you mentioned the immortal tree just now. What is it?" "Immortal tree." Zhan Lin's face was full of longing as he said, "Our ancestor found it in the depths of the wilderness. The immortal tree only bears a fruit every 10,000 years. This fruit is called the cast immortal fruit. After eating it, one can form a cast immortal fruit. This is a peerless fruit that can turn a mortal into an immortal. This immortal tree has just borne a cast immortal fruit, but Zhanhai and I haven't decided who should eat it. We're both afraid of being targeted, so we're very nervous." "You and the Deputy Region Master don't have forged immortal fate?" "That's right. Zhanhai and I are both cultivators of the Heavenly Tao Lattice. In the vast Heavenly Tao, it is extremely difficult to advance to the cast immortal lattice, so this cast immortal fruit is extremely important to us. I plan to eat it after I reach the peak of the 90th heavenly layer. That way I will be able to obtain even more power. An innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. This is indeed troublesome." Feng Zhan said, "So, we need young hero and Lord Blazing Angel's power to protect the celestial tree for a period of time. I will break through as soon as possible." Amen, got it. Right at this moment, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly let out a whimper. Faint divine power of fire had already seeped out of her body. Her face was burning red, so moist that it seemed like water could drip out. Her eyes were filled with tenderness as she looked at Lin Muyu and said, "Mu, I feel so uncomfortable. The female stone fruit is working." Lin Muyu grabbed Tang Xiaoxi's hand and said, Come, let's hurry and send Xiaoxi back to her room. Don't let her miss this great opportunity to break through. Shi Yan nodded and smiled, all right. Inside the room, Tang Xiaoxi was kneeling on the ground. Her entire body was overflowing with scorching flames, but Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were still standing guard at the side. Shi Yan could only watch from afar because of her lack of strength. Streams of flames flowed around Tang Xiaoxi's body like surging water, coming out of her dantian and circulating throughout her body before returning to her dantian. With every circulation, the flames grew stronger until Lin Muyu and Qin Yin couldn't help but sweat profusely, drenching their clothes. Wu, after an unknown amount of time, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly let out a cry. She unconsciously raised her hands in front of her. Instantly, the flames surged and spun rapidly. The high-temperature flames formed a whirlpool-like energy domain. She had already broken through the third stage of the Great Karmic Fire technique, Divine Flame Whirlpool. But immediately after, a golden light appeared between Tang Xiaoxi's brows. It was her cast Immortal Fate. Bang! The exterior of the cast Immortal Fate suddenly exploded, and the scene was extremely shocking. Within the shards of the Divine Fate, a newborn Divine Fate that was only the size of a grain of rice started burning. Although it was extremely small, its power was extraordinary. The Master God of Flames has finally appeared, Shi Yan said with a gratified smile. Chapter 984. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu and the others had stayed in the Nimble Sparrow Castle for half a month. During this time, Tang Xiaoxi's Overgod Spark had gradually grown stronger, and her ability to control the Overgod Spark had also improved. However, the appearance of the Overgod Spark would surely attract the covetous eyes of others, so it was more important for her to become stronger as soon as possible. Early in the morning, dew dripped down the leaves of the spirit orchard and onto the stone platform, producing a crackling sound. Beside a stone table, Lin Muyu and Feng Zhanlin sat facing each other, sipping tea. How is Miss Xiaoxi? Feng Zhanlin asked, intentionally or otherwise. Her cultivation progress is not bad. Lin Muyu smiled. I heard that Miss Xiaoxi's Overgod Spark has evolved into the Overgod Spark? As expected, I still managed to hide it from you. Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but burst into laughter. That's a good thing. There are only 12 people in the 3 realms with the Overgod Spark. Miss Xiaoxi's future achievements will be immeasurable. Also, young hero Lin, your cultivation is also unfathomable. As a God Emperor, I can't see through your cultivation at all. I wonder, what grade of young hero Lin's divinity is? Feng Zhanlin had never seen Lin Muyu fight, so he naturally didn't know what grade of divinity Lin Muyu's divinity was. Take a guess, Territory Lord? Actually, I've already seen through it. Miss Xin's divinity is also an Overgod Spark, and it's a light Overgod Spark that's even more profound than Blazing Angel Shi Yan's divinity. Since Miss Xin and Miss Xiaoxi are so obedient to you, young hero Lin's divinity must not be lower than theirs, right? Lin Muyu smiled but didn't deny it. Feng Zhanlin was still unwilling to give up. Young hero, can you tell me? After all, young hero Lin's strength and cultivation concerns the future of the Nimble Sparrow Castle. Alright, since the Domain Lord wants to see it, then let the Domain Lord have a look. Lin Muyu didn't get up. She just raised her right palm and a small fire rule spirit bead condensed in her palm. It circled around her fingertips like a marble she played with when she was young. Then another frost rule spirit bead appeared. Then a wind rule spirit bead appeared. Is this a forged immortal fate? Feng Zhanlin was dumbfounded. Even the deities of the God realm knew that the highest number of forged immortal matrices could be condensed was 3 spirit orbs of law. This was a well-known fact. However, right at this moment, another spirit bead of law that flickered with lightning appeared. Overgod Spark. Feng Zhanlin's expression was one of shock. Someone who could condense 4 spirit beads of law was definitely someone with a forged immortal physique or above. However, one spirit orb after another leaped out of Lin Muyu's palm. In the blink of an eye, 6 spirit orbs of law appeared. This was already the limit of spirit orbs that could be condensed by someone with an Overgod Spark. No, it can't be any more. Feng Zhanlin's hand that was holding the teacup was already trembling. It was already a huge matter that 2 blazing angels had come to the primordial mystery realm, and now there were 2 Overgod Spark possessors. This was simply unprecedented. If Lin Muyu was an existence that surpassed the Overgod Spark, then this was simply too shocking. Buzz buzz, a faint golden light trembled and another spirit orb of law appeared in Lin Muyu's palm. This was a spirit orb of the law of life, and it was extremely translucent. Feng Zhanlin's face was deathly pale. How is this possible? However, when Lin Muyu condensed the seventh spirit orb, she stopped circulating her qi. She closed her palm, and the spirit orb all entered her body. She smiled. Domain Lord Feng, do you still want to watch? Feng Zhanlin's body trembled as he took a few steps back. He knelt on one knee and raised his head. Young hero, is your godhead really the sovereign godhead? That's what everyone else said. I think it's true. Lin Muyu smiled warmly. He wasn't worried that Feng Zhanlin would steal his godhead. Firstly, he might not succeed. Secondly, Feng Zhanlin was a straightforward and fierce person. He wasn't the kind of person who would steal treasures. If he was, he would have already stolen Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's godhead. Looking at Feng Zhanlin's respectful expression, Lin Muyu said, although I have the sovereign godhead, I'm just someone who hasn't stepped into the God Emperor realm. Domain Lord, you don't have to be like this. Feng Zhanlin frowned. No, the sovereign godhead is where the king's way lies. Since young hero Lin has come to the Lingke castle, it's an opportunity. I, Feng Zhanlin, am willing to lead everyone in the Lingke castle to swear loyalty to you, the future king of the gods. No, I'm not the king of the gods. I'm just the left marshal of the Eastern Heavens realm. The left marshal? Feng Zhanlin glanced at the Xinyuan sword on the table that Lin Muyu had placed on the table. If I may be so bold as to ask, who are the seven luminaries Demon Emperor and Fairy Xiao to you, young hero? The Demon Emperor is my sworn brother. Xiao is more or less an elder sister. I see. No wonder. Feng Zhanlin was a little suspicious. Young hero, why did you and 3 women with extraordinary cultivation come to the ancient secret realm? To gain experience. Lin Muyu said simply. We all want to improve ourselves as soon as possible. That's true. It's indeed a pity that you have the Master Godhead and the Supreme Godhead, but you haven't advanced to the God Emperor realm. It seems like Blazing Angel Shiyen is accompanying you to protect you. That's right. Lin Muyu laughed. In her heart, she was secretly thinking that the truth of the matter was that her group was protecting Xiao. Stretching her arms, Lin Muyu said, real improvement and experience need to be completed through battles. I would like to ask, Domain Lord, is there anyone nearby that I would like to challenge? Challenge? Feng Zhanlin frowned. If young hero really wants to challenge someone, then I can provide you with a target. Please speak. There is a mountain 150 miles southwest of the Domain Castle. The mountain range is submerged by water. Originally there were countless spirit fruits and some hunters living there. But after an ancient beast came, it caused a flood and all the hunters were drowned. The Spirit Sparrow Castle once sent people to encircle it, but the beast was very powerful. My younger brother Feng Zhanhai was worried that there would be too many casualties, so he didn't kill the beast. Oh? What beast could be so powerful? That thing is called Fuzhu. It is a beast that looks like an ancient divine deer. It runs like the turbulence of the Jianghu, and its cry can summon hail, rain, and snow. Its frost power is imbued with divine power. At that time, it even attacked and killed 3 of our hierarch-level experts. If young hero really wants to go, then I will accompany you to ensure your safety. Even Feng Zhanhai is no match for it. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded, pondered for a moment and said, I'll have to trouble you, Region Lord. I'll go with Little Een and the others to kill this vicious beast myself. You don't have to come with us, you can trust us. That's true. After all, you have Lord Blazing Angel with you. Saying that, Feng Zhanlin knelt again and said, Young hero Lin, since you are the left marshal of the Heaven Realm, I, Feng Zhanlin, beg you to make an exception and allow all members of the Spirit Sparrow Castle to join the East Heaven Realm. Zhanlin is willing to offer the Spirit Sparrow Castle and be loyal to young hero. Don't call me young hero. Call me Lin General. I'm not young anymore. I can't call you young hero anymore. Lin Muyu smiled. In fact, she was already 35 years old. So Lin General agrees to be the Domain Lord of the Spirit Sparrow territory? No, I won't be the Domain Lord. Feng Zhanlin, it's more suitable for you to be the Domain Lord. Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and said, I know you want to leave the secret realm and return to the Heaven Realm to obtain eternal life. However, I can't make the decision for now. You have to wait until I contact the Demon Emperor and Xiao. I don't know how to leave the secret realm, so I might need help from the outside world. Yes. Feng Zhanlin's eyes emitted a faint light. Lin Muyu's words were equivalent to saying that there was still some hope. At noon, when they returned to the courtyard, Lin Muyu told them about Feng Zhanlin's story about Fuzhu. Immediately, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shiyen agreed. How could they miss out on such an exciting and joyful event? Thus, they left the Spirit Sparrow Castle in the afternoon and flew southwest. Before dusk, the four of them arrived at a body of water. The mountain range had become a lake and the water seemed to be spreading. There were corpses, animals and humans floating in the water. Swoosh! Lin Muyu landed and walked on the water. Ripples appeared under her feet as she used her spirit pulse technique to search for the aura of the beast. However, she couldn't find any clues. She couldn't help but frown and say, "Strange, I can't find any aura at all." Me too. Qin Yin landed and stood shoulder to shoulder on the water. Looks like this beast is good at hiding its aura. Tang Xiaoxi blinked and said, "Did the Foam Territory Lord say anything about Fu Zhu before we left?" I'll give you a brief introduction. Fu Zhu's form is that of a deer, and he has 4 purplish-red horns. These 4 horns are named Hail, Thunderbolt, Swift Flame, and Aurora. Each of them contains different powers, and Fu Zhu can walk on water and control the rivers of the world. He is truly the Water King. Water King? What a strange title. Qin Yin smiled faintly with dimples. Shi Yin smiled and said, "Since Xiaoxi has already advanced to the Overgod personality, we should let Xiaoxi make the first move after we find Fu Zhu. We'll wait for an opportunity." Yes. Lin Muyu said, however Feng Zhanlin said that Feng Zhanhai had come to kill Fu Zhu before but failed. Instead, Fu Zhu killed a few godly venerables. We shouldn't underestimate this thing. Yes. At that moment, Qin Yin suddenly opened her blazing eyes and looked into the distance. "Brother, you look. There seems to be someone there." Oh. Everyone looked over. Sure enough, there was a crying sound coming from the rushing river. A 7 or 8-year-old girl wearing a hunter's robe was hugging a broken piece of wood and crying for help. "Quick, save her." "Wait." Qin Yin suddenly pulled Lin Muyu's arm and said, "Look over there." In the sky, a figure slowly descended. It was an extremely handsome young man wearing a white satin gown. His feet were wearing white boots. He floated on the water's surface and landed beside the girl. He stretched out his hand and said in a very gentle and pleasant voice, "Come with me. I'll take you to a safe place." Chapter 985. His movements were very delicate, causing Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yin to be a little stunned. This man's words and actions could only be described as elegant, and it was very unusual elegance, as if he was an otherworldly master. Every movement of his was filled with elegance and immortality, even the smile on his face was so easygoing and graceful. The girl was completely stunned and she slowly stretched out her palm that had turned blue from the cold and asked, "Big brother, who are you?" The man smiled, "I'm the big brother who is planning to save you. Come with me, the flood is rising faster and faster. I'll send you to the high ground." When the man took the girl, who was completely drenched in sweat, into his arms, the girl seemed to be receiving the softest protection in the world, and she hugged him tightly. There's such a person in this world. Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful eyes widened, and she was a little dazed as she watched. Qin Yin also murmured, "And yes." Even Shi Yin took a second look at the man and said with a smile, "Interesting." Lin Muyu frowned, looked at Qin Yin and then looked at Tang Xiaoxi and said, Hey, are you two bewitched? Don't be love-struck in front of me." Qin Yin pouted and pulled his hand. "Big brother, that person is really different, what do you think?" "That's true, but," Shi Yin, who was at the side, said with a smile, "Xin, try to close your eyes and look again." Qin Yin closed her flaming eyes, and was momentarily stunned. If she used her mind's eye to look, the scene would be completely different, and it shocked Qin Yin slightly and she bit her red lips, not knowing what to say. However, Tang Xiaoxi, who was at the side, was still looking at the elegant and handsome man with a silly smile. At this moment, the elegant man flew over the water with the girl in his arms, and looked at Lin Muyu and the others, saying, "Everyone, the mountain has been flooded, and there are many rapid whirlpools in the water. You'd better not take risks and quickly go to the high ground, it's safer there." Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold and she didn't speak. Instead, Qin Yin held Lin Muyu's hand and smiled and said, "Big brother, then let's go to the high ground together?" And the four of them flew up together and followed the man to the high ground. They landed on the side of the nearest mountain and were surrounded by lush greenery. The man put the girl down and immediately went to pick up some dry firewood. With a wave of his hand, a flame entered the pile of firewood and burned it. He used the firewood to dry the wet clothes of the girl. The man stirred the firewood and asked, "What region you are from, and why did you come to such a dangerous place?" Shi Yin chuckled, "Spirit Sparrow region." Oh, it's Lord Feng Zhanlin's territory. The elegant man chuckled. No wonder you're so calm, you haven't told me what you're looking for here. We're looking for a giant deer. Qinyin pursed her red lips and smiled. A giant deer called Fuzhu. What if we find him? Then we'll kill him. Qinyin didn't open her eyes, but there seemed to be a murderous intent under her gently trembling eyelashes. The elegant man couldn't help but laugh. This lady is as beautiful as a fairy. I've never seen such a beautiful woman, but I didn't expect her words to be so murderous. Tang Xiaoxi also felt strange. Xiaoyin, you seem to be hinting at something. What's going on? Silly Xiaoxi. Qinyin smiled. Don't be fooled by everything in front of you. You have to know that humans are dangerous animals, but there are some animals that are even more dangerous, and the illusion they create is enough to deceive the gods. Ha ha, the elegant man laughed heartily. Miss, you really know how to joke. Qinyin closed her eyes and said, this forest has been submerged for a long time, how could anyone fall into the water? To say the least, this girl has been soaked in the water for so long, but her skin isn't swollen at all. I think, sir, your disguise is still a lot worse. It's easy to be seen through. You're really smart. The elegant man laughed. However, smart people don't live long. It's really a pity that you three have such peerless looks, but in the end you'll become dry bones and painted skin in the water. What a pity? Tang Xiaoxi frowned. Who the hell are you? Lin Muyu had already unsheathed Shen Yuan's sword and stabbed straight at the elegant man's neck. The blade pierced through the girl's heart. The man actually used her as a shield, but there was no blood after the heart was pierced. Instead, the girl's body slowly transformed, turning into a piece of dead wood. Fuzhu, show yourself. Lin Muyu chuckled. If you fight us in this form, we'll be bullying you. Ha ha ha. The elegant man laughed. I can't believe I didn't deceive you. It's rare for human women to not be deceived by my illusion. Since that's the case, I'll grant you an intact corpse. As he spoke, Fuzhu quickly retreated, but his body began to tremble. His skin kept colliding and his body began to bend. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into a giant deer about 3 meters tall, with 4 horns on his head. It was Fuzhu, the legendary beast that even Feng Zhanlin was helpless against. Instantly, Tang Xiaoxi's face turned red. I'm so angry, he actually lied to us. Lin Muyu was speechless. You're the only one who fell for the illusion, alright? Thank goodness Xiaoyin broke it, or you would have married him. Shiyin couldn't help but smile. The battle is imminent, so don't be jealous. The 3 of you attack together. This Fuzhu's aura is very strong, he won't be easy to deal with. Yes. You, Fuzhu roared loudly, and in an instant huge waves rolled up in the distant waters like a tsunami. This was a battle between gods, so the commotion was not ordinary. Tang Xiaoxi had already entered her 9-tailed transformation state. Her beautiful eyes were filled with fury and flames, and the great karmic fire art's divine power whirled around the bottom spear in her hand. Her entire body suddenly turned into a ball of flames, and she charged at Fuzhu. The giant deer seemed to have understood Tang Xiaoxi's movements. It suddenly turned around and raised its head. One of its antlers was surrounded by divine power. Suddenly the sky was covered with dark clouds. A large amount of hailstones containing the divine power of an ancient ferocious beast came at the speed of a bullet. Bang bang bang. The great karmic fire art condensed a flaming shield that continuously resisted the hail, but it also directly dissolved Tang Xiaoxi's attack. On the other side, thunder and lightning raged. Lin Muyu used her divine power to attack with lightning. The Xinyuan sword's radiance soared and soared into the sky. She slashed at the other side of the giant deer for more than 10 times. Light splashed everywhere, and the target of the Xinyuan sword's slashes became a whirlpool of rapidly spinning waves. The monstrous divine power was unable to exert any force, as if it had fallen into cotton. Instead, the whirlpool ate Lin Muyu's attack and it came back at her. Rays of sword light danced in the air, but Lin Muyu was quick to react. She hurriedly waved her sword to block the attacks. Suddenly, the sound of weapons colliding in the air was incessant, and sparks flew everywhere. A dazzling ice crystal fell from the sky. It was Qin Yin's celestial dragon crystal, and her real body that descended from the sky. She had already opened her eyes, and the eyes of blazing dawn formed a scorching field. Woo woo, the celestial dragon crystal made Fuzhu feel very uncomfortable. He could not help but raise his neck, and a horn on his head quickly lit up with dazzling lightning, and it wreaked havoc in the air. Boom boom boom. The 89 waves of lightning shattered Qin Yin's celestial dragon crystal, but it could not shake Qin Yin's body. The star sword, with the power of the first strike of the 7 strikes, landed on Fuju's head. Bang! Dust flew everywhere, but the one who was knocked back was Qin. Even though she had the overgod personality, the difference in divine power between her and Fuju was too great. What was worse was that the tsunami in the distance had already surged up the mountain range, and it was coming at them with a momentum that could devour everything. We cannot let Fuju enter the waters, or we will not be able to defeat him," Qian shouted. Lin Muyu took a few steps back and gathered all the divine power in her body. She shouted, "All things in the world, listen to my command. Rise." The earth and the entire mountain range began to tremble. The rocks on the surface of the earth rose into the air, forming rock walls that were over 100 meters tall. The huge rocks seemed to have a life of their own, and under Lin Muyu's control, they quickly closed up and built a huge stone house on the mountainside. This stone house must be Fuju's burial place, or else Lin Muyu and the others would be in danger. Boom, boom, boom. Outside, the sound of the flood crashing against the stone walls could be heard, but it could not penetrate the thick stone walls. This meant that Fuju had been cut off from the water source. Qin Yin's light divine power illuminated the stone house. Tang Xiaoxi moved like a butterfly, wielding the dig spear as she fought Fuju. However, it was obvious that neither of them had the upper hand. Fuju's body was covered in wounds and so was Tang Xiaoxi. Even Lin Muyu's arms and legs were slashed by the Shenyuan sword. The power of Fuju's vortex was so strong that it almost ignored all of Lin Muyu's sword attacks. The rumbling sounds of battle reverberated in the stone house. Lin Muyu could only use the Xuanli of the Divinity Star, but she did not dare to use any stronger power. Otherwise, she would shatter the house, and it would be even more troublesome for Fuju to control the flood. Brr. With a furious roar, Fuju charged at Qin Yin with all his might. His 4 horns erected as if he was going to pierce through Qin Yin's body. However, Qin Yin had already predicted this. She swung her sword and unleashed the destruction strike. Boom. The destruction strike caused blood to splatter from Fuju's forehead. Even his skull could be seen, but the attack did not stop. Qin Yin suddenly retracted her sword, and the light of her overgod persona burst out from her body. She stood in the air like a goddess, and her surroundings entered into an area of absolute defense. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's injuries healed a little, but Fuju crashed into the invisible barrier with a loud bang. His head was bleeding. The combination of destruction strike and mercy was unbearably strong. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly burst out from behind Lin Muyu. Was Qian. She gathered the remaining divine energy in her body and entered her blazing angel form. The blazing moon sword glowed brightly as it slashed at Fuju. The 6th strike of Qian's 7 slashes, justice. Boom. Fuju's body trembled violently under the powerful strike. His skin began to peel off as if he was being judged by justice. His screams came one after another. Chapter 986. Good chance. Lin Muyu dashed forward and struck Fuju's side 3 times before he could turn around. The blade was filled with the divine power of the elephant wheel from the shapeless elephant incantation. The divine sword was indestructible and quickly broke through the divine beast chi shield. 3 large wounds appeared on the side of Fuju's body. Several of Fuju's ribs were broken, and his bloody internal organs could be vaguely seen. Roar! Fuju howled in agony as he retreated rapidly. His sharp horns slammed into the boulder with all his might, creating a large hole in the boulder as he escaped. Catch up to him or we won't have a chance to kill him, Qian shouted. Tang Xiaoxi's injuries were more serious. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin flew out with their swords in hand. Fuju stepped on the waves and rejoiced like a fish in water. His injuries seemed to be healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Muyu was in for a penny, in for a pound. She took out a blood-red thread from her Chengkuan pouch and threw it out. The thread twirled in the air and finally fell down, binding Fuju's injured body tightly. It was none other than the spirit-binding rope she brought out from the ghost realm. Now it came in handy. Swoosh. The Shenyuan sword flew out of Fuju's hand and spun rapidly with intense flames. It went straight for Fuju's head. This attack was bound to pierce through his brain. When that happened, this almost sentient divine beast would not be able to escape death. But at this moment, Fuju suddenly knelt on the surface of the water and shouted, "Young hero, please spare me." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sharp edge of the Shenyuan sword stopped less than 5 centimeters away from Fuju's forehead. Lin Muyu controlled the sword with her chi and laughed. Why? Didn't you want to harm us? Why are you suddenly begging for mercy? Fuju panted heavily. His body curled up and crawled on the surface of the water. He once again transformed into the appearance of a handsome man. However, he was no longer as cheerful as before. On the contrary, he cut a sorry figure. Especially the wound on his chest, it was a little scary. He crawled on the ground and said, "Young hero, this little critter admits defeat. I admit defeat." Chinine spread her golden wings and slowly descended. She looked at it coldly with her flaming eyes and said, "You're so cunning. How do we know you're not playing tricks?" Fuzhu coughed violently and spat out a mouthful of blood into the water. "This little critter's heart meridian has been damaged. I can't use Saint energy at all. I've lost. If I continue to fight, I'm afraid I'll end up with my head separated from my body. Just like what this lady said, this little critter has intelligence that ordinary people can't even imagine. So I can't fight anymore. This little critter admits defeat." "Admit defeat." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "You should also know that the reason we're here is to eliminate you, the Scourge. You're a beast and we're humans. Even if you admit defeat, we'll still kill you." At this moment, Shi Yan and Tang Xiaoxi floated out from the damaged stone house behind them. They saw Fuzhu in his human form kneeling on the ground from afar. Their faces were filled with shock. They had no idea what was going on. "Young hero." Fuzhu suddenly raised both his hands, his entire body almost touching the surface of the water. "This little critter is willing to submit completely to you, young hero. Please believe in this little critter's words." "No way." The Shenyuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was enshrouded with golden divine energy. His power surged once again. He grinned miserably and said, "In order to kill you, almost all of us were injured. You want us to forgive you just because you prostrated yourself? Dream on. Your four horns are very rich with divine energy. If we refine them, our cultivation will increase by a lot. Do you want to pluck them out yourself or do you want me to do it for you?" Fuzhu was shocked. "Young hero? I know, exalted goddess, please forgive this little critter. These four horns are the essence of this little critter's cultivation. If you pluck them out, this little critter will become an ordinary spiritual beast. Exalted goddess, please forgive me. This little critter is willing to make a deal with the exalted goddess? A deal?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Tell me, what do you want to exchange for your four horns?" Fuzhu slowly got up and kneeled on the surface of the water. His face was stained with blood as he said, "This little critter is willing to use the lair of gods and demons in exchange for these four horns." "The lair of gods and demons?" Chinine frowned slightly. "What's that? Where is it?" "The lair of gods and demons is right under this river." Fuzhu coughed a few more times and said, "The lair of gods and demons is an ice cave with an extremely cold temperature. An ordinary person would freeze to death within the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. However, the extreme cold in the lair of gods and demons allows a deity's thoughts to remain clear. The abundant spiritual energy also has a miraculous effect on cultivation. This lair of gods and demons used to be a secret cultivation place that everyone in the 64 domains yearned to go to. However, it has always been hidden from the world and no one knows about it. This little critter only discovered it by chance and caused a flood to flood this place so that it could cultivate alone in the lair of gods and demons. As long as the exalted goddess is willing to spare this little critter's life, this little critter is willing to offer the lair of gods and demons to the exalted goddess." Lin Muyu remained silent. She couldn't make up her mind for a moment. However, Shi Yan raised her brows and smiled. "Give the lair of gods and demons to us? Who knows what you're thinking? Will you suddenly launch a sneak attack and kill us all in the lair of gods and demons? Even if you have to give up the lair of gods and demons, you must stay with us. Moreover, your infamy has already spread throughout the 64 domains. Do you think we'll let you go?" Fuzhu shuddered. Little critter. Little critter. Exalted goddess, do you still want to kill this little critter?" "No, we don't have to kill him." Shi Yan shook her head and smiled. "How about this? You sign a master-servant contract. You'll never betray him. Otherwise, you'll suffer 1,000 heavenly tribulations and die. This way we won't have to worry about you harming us." Fuzhu was aghast. "Master-servant contract? Why? You're not willing? Do you think that you isn't worthy of being your master?" Shi Yan's beautiful eyes shot out murderous intent. "No, that's not it." Fuzhu hurriedly knelt down again and said, "This exalted goddess's power contains an awe-inspiring righteousness and the power of the 12 laws. He's definitely a supreme. Moreover, the weapon in his hand is the peerless divine artifact, the Shenyuan sword." Little critter, so you know everything." Lin Muyu looked at him coldly. Fuzhu said piously, "Exalted goddess, this little critter is willing to be your divine servant. I only ask for my life." Lin Muyu did not object. She nodded and said, "Sister Xian, how do we settle this master-servant contract?" Xian smiled. "It's like a divine contract. There's no need for bloodline fusion. We only need one-sided allegiance. Fuzhu, kneel down and repeat my words to Lin Muyu." "Yes, exalted goddess." Fuzhu knelt in front of Lin Muyu. He raised his handsome face and followed Xian's words. "I, Fuzhu of the 64 domains, am willing to be loyal to exalted goddess Lin Muyu for life. No matter how the world revolves, the sun and the moon change, I will do my best and never repent." After the conversation, Fuzhu's entire body trembled. Rays of golden light seeped into his body. Xian said, "You, place your sword on Fuzhu's shoulder and hit him 3 times. Lin Muyu was stunned. That does sound like a Western knight's salute. The master-servant contract has always been a rule of the Western divine realm. Quick, cut the nonsense. All right. He unsheathed the Xianyuan sword and gently struck it against Fuzhu's shoulder 3 times. These 3 strikes were like a shock to Fuzhu's soul. The Xianyuan sword was a divine weapon, but it was also a murderous weapon. Fuzhu had experienced its power, and the 3 strikes of the Xianyuan sword were like a warning as well as a threat. If he betrayed his oath, he would surely die a horrible death. At the same time, Lin Muyu felt a faint power enter her wrist through the Xianyuan sword. It was indescribably strange, but it did not affect her at all. "The contract is complete." Xian smiled. "All right, Fuzhu, you can now follow us to the lair of gods and demons." "Yes." "Wait." Lin Muyu frowned at Fuzhu. "What is it, master?" Fuzhu asked respectfully. Lin Muyu looked at his face and said, "You can change your appearance at will, can't you?" "Yes. I can change my appearance to that of a human, and I can also change my appearance to that of a plant. Everything in the world has its laws and principles, and I'm only peeking at a part of it." "Then make your face uglier." "That won't do." "Why?" "Because this little beast is born with such a handsome face. It can't be uglier." "This is already the ugliest form," Fuzhu said seriously. Lin Muyu really wanted to slap this shameless divine beast to death. Qinin and Tang Xiaoxi giggled. Qinin said, If we bring Fuzhu back to Lanyan City, who knows how many girls will suffer because of his stinky appearance." "Yes." Lin Muyu was very worried. Xian smiled and shook her head. "No, you don't have to worry about that." "Why?" "Because Fuzhu is an ancient vicious beast. He wasn't born at all. It's said that he was born from the gathering of the essence of heaven and earth, so Fuzhu doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Am I right?" Xian looked at Fuzhu with ridicule. Fuzhu blushed. "Master Blazing Angel is right. This little beast is only the crystallization of the spiritual essence of the world. It doesn't have the ability to procreate." Lin Muyu looked at him speechlessly. "So you're a eunuch from the primordial secret realm?" "That's right, master. But the word eunuch isn't appropriate. To be more precise, this little beast is a pure beast that isn't tainted by filth and has no emotions or desires." Lin Muyu didn't want to listen to his nonsense anymore. "Hurry up and take us to the cave of gods and demons. Stop talking nonsense." "Yes, master." Fuzhu took a deep breath and looked at the ocean in front of him. He suddenly shouted, "Divide the water." Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the whirlpool in front of them spun, and a tunnel leading to the depths of the water appeared in the blink of an eye. "Divide the water? Interesting." Lin Muyu smiled. Fuzhu said respectfully, "This little beast can control the rivers of the world and rule over all bodies of water. Divide the water is just a small trick. Please forgive me, master." Chapter 987. Following the whirlpool, they flew deeper and deeper into the ocean, to the point where even light couldn't penetrate. Lin Muyu had no choice but to unsheath the Xianyuan sword. Immediately, the radiance of the divine sword illuminated the tunnel for nearly 100 meters. After flying for an unknown period of time, the surroundings became colder and colder. Very quickly, after passing through several hundred meters of rock stratum, the surrounding water no longer flowed and froze into ice. "It's so cold?" Qinin whispered. "Yeah." Lin Muyu nodded. He had to summon his divine energy to resist the cold. Just like him, Qinin, Xian, and Tang Xiaoxi also used their own energy to resist the cold. Clatter, clatter. A few pieces of red ice fell from Fuzhu's sleeves, creating a slight sound in the ice tunnel. "What's that?" Lin Muyu asked. "Oh, it's the blood that flowed out of the little critter's lungs. It's frozen and fell down. It's fine. Fuzhu looked as if he was fine. The vitality of a divine beast was indeed strong. If it was any other person they would have already lost consciousness. But looking at him it seemed like he was completely fine. Lin Muyu was speechless. He couldn't be bothered to care about him anymore. He brought the three beauties with him and continued flying. After flying for about 5 minutes, the surroundings became unbelievably cold. The air they exhaled turned into ice in the blink of an eye. Even Lin Muyu's hand that was holding the sword was a little stiff. "We're here," Fuzhu muttered. In front of them there was a huge circular wall. It seemed to be a dead end. Fuzhu flew forward and gently pushed on the huge ice wall. Immediately, it opened with a rumble. A wave of cold air rushed out. Lin Muyu, Qinin, and the others thought that it was already cold outside. Only now did they understand the true meaning of cold. Even Qinin, who was close to the God Emperor level, was moaning from the cold. She turned around and looked at Lin Muyu. She wanted to hug him to keep him warm, but it was too embarrassing. After a moment of hesitation, she decided to use her divine energy to resist the cold. Fuzhu said, "Master, come in. We've arrived at the Cave of Gods and Demons." "Yes." Lin Muyu stepped into the Cave of Gods and Demons and saw that it was a completely different world inside. Pillars of ice towered into the sky, supporting the entire Cave of Gods and Demons. Divine power runes floated on each ice pillar. She couldn't understand the runes, but they seemed to be ancient characters. The existence of these ice pillars seemed to have the effect of sealing the power within the Cave of Gods and Demons. There were more than 20 ice beds beneath the ice pillars. The entire Cave of Gods and Demons was like a great hall, spacious and quiet. Along with the extreme cold came an abundance of spiritual energy. Just as Fuzhu said, the spiritual energy here was several times that of the outside world. So cold, Tang Xiaoxi summoned the raging flame and held it in front of her chest. The water on her forehead had frozen into ice and hung on the ends of her hair. Lin Muyu took out the communicator that Lulu had given her. It flashed with a fluorescent light and said, "Measure the temperature." Lulu's voice came through. -273 degrees Celsius. "Big brother, where are you? How can you reach such a low temperature?" "Boo-hoo, Lulu doesn't feel well. I can't contact Big Brother." As she spoke, her voice became intermittent and the image disappeared. So cold that the electronic equipment had malfunctioned? Lin Muyu was speechless. However, this temperature was very frightening. -273 degrees Celsius. Wasn't this the legendary absolute zero? This was the limit of temperature that matter could reach. Fortunately, this was the divine realm. Otherwise, it would be hard to imagine what kind of physics could produce such a temperature. Fuzhu was already slowly crawling on an ice bed. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into his beast form. He said, "Master, don't waste time. In the Cave of Gods and Demons, you can maintain a state of complete enlightenment. No matter how much pain your body has to endure, you won't faint. So, you should treasure your time because you won't have much time in the Cave of Gods and Demons." "What?" Lin Muyu asked. Fuzhu smiled. "With this little beast cultivation, it can only cultivate for 6 hours in the Cave of Gods and Demons. After that, it will have to go out and get some fresh air. How long does Master think you can last?" Alright, now that he put it that way it made sense. Lin Muyu, Qinin and Tang Xiaoxi were fine, but Shiyin wasn't so good. The absolute zero made her very uncomfortable. She was already forcefully activating her King's Battle Flame to maintain her body temperature. Everyone stopped talking and each found a bed of ice to meditate and cultivate. Lin Muyu's formless elephant art had already reached the 3rd stage, 100 elephants beheading demon. As she circulated her art, golden elephant wheels revolved around her body. It was a spectacular sight. At the same time, the Supreme Godhead shone brightly, providing its master with the power to resist the cold. As the elephant wheels revolved inside her body, her power would increase slightly with every revolution. In the Shattered Cauldron realm, an elephant wheel would take at least 2 hours to complete a full revolution. However, in the Cave of Gods and Demons, Lin Muyu was surprised to find that a full revolution actually took less than 20 minutes. On the side, Qinin was sitting on an ice bed in a dignified manner. She was chanting the incantation of Shiyan's 7 slashes. Miniature dragon crystals revolved around her. She was still able to control the absolute zero for the time being. Tang Xiaoxi was relatively more relaxed. She was chanting the Great Flame art, and Lord-level flames continuously circulated around her. The 9 flame tails behind her slowly stretched out, looking extremely beautiful. Very soon Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi began to enjoy the cultivation process. In the past, when they were cultivating, their emotions would always be controlled by the manic power when they were trying to break through the great heavenly cycle. However, it was not the case this time. The absolute zero temperature and abundant spiritual power perfectly solved this problem, allowing the cultivation to be twice as effective with half the effort. However, in less than an hour, Shi Yan's body suddenly trembled slightly, and her face turned a little pale. "Are you okay, Sister Shi Yan?" Lin Muyu opened her eyes and asked. Shi Yan was a little embarrassed. "I can't. I'm still too weak now. My bloodline is about to freeze. Send me out." "Okay." Lin Muyu nodded. "Fuzhu, send Lord Blazing Angel out." "Yes, Master." Fuzhu raised his forehooves and walked over. He lowered his front hooves and made a kneeling posture. Meanwhile, Shi Yan happily rode on this divine beast and flew out of the cave of gods and demons in the blink of an eye. Under such low temperatures, the spatial walls were already frozen. Even the ability to break through the void couldn't be used here. Qin Yin was the second person who couldn't hold on, but she was much better than Shi Yan. She lasted for a whole 5 hours, which was beyond Fuzhu's expectations. On the other hand, Tang Xiaoxi lasted for 6 hours, which was the same amount of time as Fuzhu. After everyone left the Cave of Gods and Demons, only Lin Muyu was left in the entire Cave of Gods and Demons. Before they left, Qin Yin had told them not to force themselves. However, Lin Muyu really didn't force herself. The Supreme Lattice continuously provided energy to replenish the body's lack of temperature. The elephant wheel tower in her EC continued to spin, and the strength of the divine power in her body also increased. This made Lin Muyu feel very comfortable. In the blink of an eye, it was already midnight. The heaven and earth were silent, and the water around the mountain gradually receded. This was Lin Muyu's idea. Fuzhu killing wild hunters for his own cultivation wasn't a good thing. At the foot of the mountain, Qin Yin, Shi Yan, Tang Xiaoxi, and Fuzhu stared at the entrance of the Cave of Gods and Demons from afar. "Big brother, you still hasn't come out." Qin Yin was a little worried. "Will something happen to him?" "No, Xiaoyin, don't worry so much." Shi Yan smiled. "You, on the other hand, have made a lot of progress in your cultivation, and the strength of your divine power has increased a lot. Yes, I plan to break through to the 59th Grotto Heaven stage tomorrow. Big brother Yu's progress is about the same." "No, you might be faster." Shi Yan's beautiful eyes looked into the distance. "That brat still isn't willing to come out. I suspect that he wants to break through to the 59th Grotto Heaven stage today. It can't be so fast. What do you think?" The environment of the Cave of Gods and Demons is unconventional, and ordinary people can't withstand it. But he's different. His sovereign disposition is tyrannical, and he can adapt to the harsh environment. Cultivating in the Cave of Gods and Demons, this brat is like a fish in water. Yes. At this moment, a few tyrannical auras suddenly appeared in the sky. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 figures flew over and stopped in the air like flowing lights. One of them said respectfully, "Lord Blazing Angel, I thought something happened to you, so I brought people over to take a look." It was the Spirit Sparrow Region Lord, Feng Zhanlin, and even Feng Zhanhai had come. Shi Yan chuckled. "How could anything happen? We just found a good place to cultivate here, so we can't bear to leave. Don't worry, Region Lord, please go back. We are fine here and we will naturally go back when we want to." "Yes." Feng Zhanlin nodded respectfully, but Feng Zhanhai's gaze fell on Fuzhu. He immediately recognized him and shouted, "Evil creature, so you're here too. Lord Blazing Angel, don't be fooled by this Fuzhu." Shi Yan couldn't help but smile. "Don't worry, Fuzhu has already been subdued by you." "Ah." Feng Zhanlin was stunned. "You mean Lin General has already subdued this savage beast?" "Yes." Feng Zhanlin immediately said with respect, "Lin General is indeed extraordinary. He actually tamed an ancient savage beast like Fuzhu, how rare. Who would have thought that Fuzhu would stare at the sky with an unruly expression?" He pointed at Feng Zhanhai and said, "I recognize you, the trash that was beaten to a pulp by me last time. How about it, do you want to fight again? I'll let you see what it means to be the overlord of the water." Feng Zhanlin's face was ashen. Did he really tame it? Of course. Shi Yan's beautiful eyes turned cold. "Fuzhu, behave yourself. They are all Yu's friends. If you continue to be so arrogant, I'll have you send you to the Spirit Sparrow region as a watchdog." Fuzhu's body trembled, and its demeanor became tamed. "Lord Blazing Angel, this lowly beast knows its mistake. Please don't let Master send me to be a watchdog." This lowly beast is an ancient divine hound. An ancient divine beast. I can't afford to lose face like that. Humph, then wait here obediently for you to come out. Yes. Chapter 988. He's out. Fuzhu exclaimed softly at once. Sure enough, a figure flew out from the depths of the cave of gods and demons like a stream of light, instantly appearing in front of everyone. It was Lin Muyu, but at this moment his entire body was covered in icicles, and his face was covered in a thick layer of frost. With a shake, all the frost fell off, revealing a radiant face underneath. Congratulations you. Looks like you've broken through again. Shi Yan said cheerfully. Yes, that's right. The blazing angel's eyes were sharp to be able to see through this. Lin Muyu nodded and said, I just broke through to the 59th level of Grotto Heaven not long ago. I originally wanted to cultivate for a while longer, but I really couldn't hold on any longer. It's freezing inside, and if I don't come out soon, I'm afraid I'll turn into a lump of ice. Are you all right? Qin Yin held his hand and felt a bone-piercing chill coming from Lin Muyu's body. Cultivating in the absolute zero space of the Cave of Gods and Demons for a whole 11 hours was really something that no one else could do. The chill in Lin Muyu's body couldn't dissipate in a few minutes, so he had to stay in the outside world for a while. Otherwise, he would be advancing prematurely and it would harm his body instead. I'm fine. Lin Muyu gently held Qin Yin's hand and looked up at Feng Zhanlin and the others. Domain Lord, why are you here too? We've been waiting for Lin General's return for a long time, so we were very worried, but we didn't expect Lin General to successfully tame a beast like Fuzhu. This is truly a cause for celebration. It's everyone's credit, not just mine. Lin Muyu pondered for a moment, then said, Domain Lord Feng, you can go back first. I want to stay here and cultivate for a few more days, until I break through to the God Emperor realm before returning to the Spirit Sparrow Castle. Is that okay? Of course, Feng Zhanlin said respectfully. Then, this subordinate will return to the Spirit Sparrow Castle to wait for Lin General. All right. Feng Zhanlin and the others flew away in the blink of an eye. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, Why did Mu suddenly decide not to leave? We don't even have a place to stay here. Are we going to continue living in the wilderness? Yes, I do. Lin Muyu spread her hands and said, Actually, it doesn't matter even if I have to eat and sleep in the wilderness. As long as I can step into the God Emperor realm as soon as possible, it will be fine. I can feel the power in my body increasing by leaps and bounds. The invisible elephant art can increase my divine power by 1,000th with every great circulation, and 6,000th with every hour. As long as my power increases by another 10%, I can try to break through to the God Emperor realm. So, I need about 16 hours to break through to the God Emperor realm. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were dumbfounded. They didn't expect Lin Muyu to describe cultivation in such a digital way. On the other hand, Shi Yan seemed to be used to it. She said, Yes, it's good to advance quickly, but you should rest well tonight. Otherwise your body won't be able to take it. After all, your godhead is a supreme godhead, but your body is still just an ordinary godhead. But this is a vast swamp. Where should we go to rest? Fuzhu hurriedly said, Master, I know a good place to rest. There is an abandoned palace at the top of this mountain. 1,000 years ago, it was the domain castle of the ancient desolate domain. After it was conquered, it was abandoned. The entire ancient desolate domain moved north. Although this palace is abandoned, it can at least shelter us from the wind and rain. All right. Lin Muyu's face lit up. Let's go. Bring us there immediately. All right, do you have anything to eat? I'm so hungry. Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. Yes. I have some dried meat in my spatial bag. Just cook it for a while. Xiaoxi should have some spirit fruits as after-dinner fruits. Big brother, don't you have some blankets? Rest is not a problem. Yes, all right. After everyone flew to the top of the mountain, there was indeed a dilapidated palace. The entire palace used to be as wide as a temple, but after 1,000 years, most of it had been corroded by time. Only the palm-sized main hall was left standing on the mountain peak. The main hall was covered in dust and spider webs. It made people feel like they were visiting the ancient times. When Lin Muyu was the first to step into the main hall, a strong wind swept through the hall, blowing away the spider webs and the dust on the ground. Then she said, Fuzhu, wash the floor. Yes, master. Fuzhu muttered to himself. Waves of blue ripples in his palm turned into a stream of water that swept across the floor, washing away all the dust in the great hall. Immediately, the shiny floor tiles were revealed. No one would have thought that the floor tiles of this dilapidated great hall were actually made of some unknown crystal. They were very flat, sparkling and translucent. You can live in it after it's dried, Lin Muyu said. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. I'll do it. I'm good at this. As she spoke, she raised her delicate palm and swept it in an arc towards the hall in front of her. Instantly, a rain of fire descended. It didn't stick close to the ground but instead hovered 10 centimeters above the ground. In less than 10 minutes, all the water on the ground had been dried up, and the entire hall became warm and cozy. Lin Muyu took out 2 blankets and laid them on the ground. This would be a place to lie down at night. Fuzhou had always been used to sleeping in the open. He couldn't help but laugh. You humans are really interesting. You're so particular about where you live. I've never slept in such a thing before. No one said you're going to sleep. Lin Muyu glanced at him. These 2 blankets, Xiao Yin and I will use one. Xiao Shi and Sister Xian will use the other. As for you, Fuzhou, you need to stand guard outside at night. What if someone sneaks up on you? Fuzhou shuddered. This is too much of a violation of my human rights. You're a beast. What human rights are you talking about? Protecting your master is your duty. Once you're full, you'll be in charge of the night watch. Yes, master. The supper was very sumptuous. 2 pots of food were cooked. It seemed that everyone in the Cave of Gods and Demons had used up a lot of their energy. It was understandable that they ate so much. Fuzhou sat under the starry sky outside the main hall in an elegant robe. He looked at the dazzling stars. As a sentinel, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He couldn't help but sing loudly. Carrying the elegance of the ancients, I stand alone. Bukenglan's waves are unyielding and unyielding. The heavens favor my living beings, only the world cannot. As he sang, Lin Muyu's sleepy voice came from the main hall. Shut up. Fuzhou immediately stopped singing. He sat on a rock and looked at the receding tide with boredom. The tips of his feet rubbed against the ground, drawing the outline of the mountains and rivers. Whoosh! A sharp sword shot out from the main hall and landed on the ground where Fuzhou had just been. If you don't behave, I'll cut off your hoof next time, Lin Muyu said. Fuzhou felt that he had no human rights. But after thinking about it carefully, he realized that he had done a lot of evil over the years. Now that he had met such a cruel and ruthless master, it was really karma. Far away in the celestial pole, under the starry sky of the shattered cauldron realm, everything seemed unusually peaceful. Lin Muyu and the others had already ascended to the prehistoric mystic realm for nearly a month, but only 3 days had passed in the human world. Under the starry sky, Lanyan City still stood firmly under the firmament, but the undercurrents in the city were affecting everyone. In the side hall of the Zetian Palace, the Imperial Army's meeting hall, the candlelight swayed violently under the wind. Feng Jixing sat on the general's seat and looked at everyone calmly. Wei Chou, Zhang Wei, Situ Sen, Qin Yan, and the others were almost all present. How's the mobilization going? Feng Jixing asked. 1 out of 5, the feudal vassals can't say anything. Situ Sen said, we've mobilized 100,000 soldiers from the Imperial Army and they're all gathered in the camp south of the city. But what should we do next? Did Lin General say anything to General Feng before he left? Feng Jixing smiled. Yes. Wei Chou, Zhang Wei and the others pricked up their ears. We're all ears. Feng Jixing said, you once had a secret discussion with me. We can't be too hasty in solving the problems of the Imperial Army. There are 3 steps. The first step is to mobilize the troops, which has already been completed. The second step is to grant amnesty, the third step is to donate money to buy merits, and the fourth step is to hide the bough after all the birds have been killed. Everyone was baffled by what they heard. Zhang Wei said, Commander, we're all uncouth men. It's better for you to speak more clearly. Otherwise we won't understand at all. Alright, to put it simply. Feng Jixing's handsome face carried a smile as he looked at everyone. The second step is to grant amnesty to soldiers who are below the age of 18 and above the age of 45, have 2 elders in their families and have only 1 son. They'll be allowed to retire and return to farming. I've done some research. This way we'll be able to reduce the strength of the Imperial Army by at least another 100,000 soldiers. The third step is to donate money. The commander, deputy commander, captaincy, and other high-ranking generals in the Imperial Army have no military merits. Therefore, the Ministry of War will issue a military merit register. Those who have no military merits but want to retain their military rank will have to donate large amounts of gold and silver. This way we'll be able to obtain another sum of military funds from the feudal vassals. The fourth step is to hide the bow after all the birds have been killed. This is even simpler. Half a year is enough for us to digest these 500,000 soldiers. After that, Zhuang Yin, Su Changjing, and the others will no longer have any value. But what? Situ Sen's brows were tightly knitted. But get rid of them. Feng Jixing placed his palm in front of his neck. His meaning was self-evident. This is also Lin General's idea? Wei Chou was stunned. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes. Do you think that you doesn't want to kill these rebellious traitors? It's just that the time isn't right yet. Situ Sen was delighted. Since that's the case, that's great. Leave the bow after all the birds have been killed to me. I was just thinking of avenging those dragons of mine. Don't be too hasty on this matter. We still have to take it step by step. Yes. Tomorrow, the special amnesty will be announced in the parliament. Apart from that, the scholars selected from all over the country are about to arrive. Tomorrow, they'll announce that we'll join the parliament and become one of its members. Yes, I understand. Wei Chou nodded happily. Feng Jixing suddenly stood up and said, tomorrow's matter is of great importance. Everyone must proceed with caution. Zhang Wei, mobilize 50,000 imperial guards to guard every gate of the imperial capital. Do not let any troops enter or leave. Situ Sen, mobilize 30,000 Longdan army camp and surround the parliament. This is to prevent Zhuang Yan and the others from doing anything out of desperation. Yes. Chapter 989. The next day the drums rumbled and it was the day of the Congress meeting. However, it was different this time. Even though the Congress building was guarded by 5,000 soldiers, everyone could see the Longdan army camp's armored cavalry standing in formation, completely isolating the Congress building from the outside world. It was only when the Congress was about to begin that the Imperial Guard's cavalry finally arrived. Feng Jixing, dressed in a commander's armor, rode a tall horse, and entered the Congress building under the escort of Zhang Wei, Luoyu, Guanxing, and the others. Dong dong dong. After the bell rang 3 times, Zhuang Yin stood up and loudly announced, "The meeting shall begin." When he sat down, the entire Congress was silent and no one actually spoke. Su Changjing immediately frowned, coughed, and said, "Sir Zhuang Yin, didn't you prepare the agenda?" Zhuang Yin nodded. However, before he could speak, Feng Jixing stood up and said with a smile, "Before the meeting begins, I would like to announce something." Everyone was stunned. A few seconds later, Marquis Yuzhong said, "Please speak, General Feng." Feng Jixing smiled and said, "First of all, let me introduce. There are a total of 70 people participating in the Congress this time. I'm sure everyone has seen many unfamiliar faces. They are famous scholars from various provinces in the empire. Come everyone, please rise." The people behind Feng Jixing stood up one after another, and Feng Jixing introduced them one by one. "This is Ning Shan from the Seven Seas province. Mr. Ning Shan is a learned scholar, and his reputation has spread far and wide. Next to him is Zhang Jin from the Earthstar province. Zhang Jin is a world-famous painter and I believe everyone has heard of him. And this is Qin Su from the Lingnan province, a distant descendant of the Qin family, and he is quite famous locally." After a full 10 minutes of introduction, Feng Jixing finally finished. He abruptly opened a golden scroll in his hand and said, "Her Highness the Empress has decreed that these 70 people will join the Kingdom of Shang from today onwards as members of the Kingdom of Shang. They are the cream of the crop from their respective provinces. With them joining the Kingdom of Shang, this is the wish of the common people." The vassals were stunned. No one had expected Feng Jixing to act first and report later. Su Changjing stood up, cupped her fists and said respectfully, "General Feng, the Congress has a written rule that members of the Congress must be selected through the high-level parliament. This, I've passed." Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Look, this imperial edict has Lin General and Princess Xi's signatures on it. In addition to me, Wei Chou, and Su Yu's approval, 5 out of the 9 imperial deacons have agreed, more than half. But the chief hasn't agreed yet. But Her Highness the Empress has agreed." Feng Jixing's gaze turned cold and he smiled. "Is the chief more powerful than the Empress?" As he spoke, a dense killing intent rippled out. The killing intent between his brows was awe-inspiring. Ever since he started cultivating the martial god technique, Feng Jixing's entire temperament seemed to have changed quite a bit. At this moment, Qin Kong, who was sitting on the chief's seat, coughed and said, "Let's pass this matter since Her Highness the Empress has agreed." Zhuang Yin, Su Changjing, and the rest were so angry that they gritted their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. Feng Jixing smiled faintly and said, Since Sir Zhuangyan's agenda hasn't started, I still have an agenda that Her Highness the Empress left behind before she went into seclusion. It's about the amnesty for the soldiers of the Kingdom of Shang. Zhuangyan, Lu Xiu and the rest were stunned. Feng Jixing took out another imperial edict and said, "The Qin Empire has gone through untold hardships and finally defeated a strong enemy. This is the fortune of the world." However, the predecessor of the Kingdom of Shang was a gathering of righteous and courageous people from all over the country. When the empire was in danger, they fought bravely at the forefront with commendable courage. Now that the world is at peace, it has been decided that the Kingdom of Shang will be granted a special Kingdom of Shang. Any soldier who is below the age of 18 and above the age of 45, has 2 elders in their families, and has only one son will be allowed to retire and return to farming. They will also be given a settlement allowance of 100 Jianghu dollars per person. From Qinin of the Great Qin Empire. What? Zhuangyan couldn't sit still anymore. Everyone knew that it wasn't easy to recruit this group of soldiers. The empire had been through wars for a long time, and most of the young and strong men had already enlisted in the army a few years ago. Most of the soldiers recruited by the feudal lords were teenagers or old soldiers. This special pardon was equivalent to reducing the number of soldiers in the Kingdom of Shang by over 100,000. No, absolutely not. Zhuangyan was a little flustered. Among the feudal lords, Zhuangyan, Su Chengjing, and the others were only boorish men who only cared about fame and fortune. In terms of intelligence, they couldn't be compared to Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing. From the beginning, they had to withdraw more than 100,000 soldiers to hand over to the Longdan army camp and the Imperial Guards. Now they were withdrawing troops for the second time. The strength of the Kingdom of Shang was shrinking day by day, and they could no longer sit still. However, there were still wise people among the feudal lords. Marquis Yang Zhong stood up shakily. His bloated body was almost touching the table as he said, "General Feng, this isn't appropriate." "What do you mean?" Feng Jixing smiled faintly. Yang Zhong said, "The Kingdom of Shang is a basic national policy approved by Her Highness and Lin General. The Constitution has just been established, and the Kingdom of Shang is the guardian army of the Constitution. How can it be weakened step by step? I hope that General Feng and Her Highness will cancel the decree for the sake of the people and the welfare of the common people. The Kingdom of Shang can't withstand such torment." Moreover, Yang Zhong's gaze swept across Feng Jixing and said, "Just now, I saw that the Longdan army camp has been surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water can trickle through. I really don't understand what this means. According to the Constitution, the Kingdom of Shang is supreme and only below the Empress. Now that the Empress is in seclusion, how can the Longdan army camp trample on the law and be above the Kingdom of Shang?" Feng Jixing rubbed his nose and smiled. "Marquis, if I say that the Longdan army camp is protecting the Kingdom of Shang, will you believe me?" Yang Zhong shook his head and replied, "General Feng is a god and I, Yang Zhong, am merely a mortal. I believe that General Feng won't believe such a self-deceiving thing. The Kingdom of Shang has its own value, and the Kingdom of Shang has its own dignity. General Feng, please don't force us like this anymore. Otherwise, if we end up in a life-and-death struggle, I'm afraid that it will be a disaster for the Empire." "Marquis, are you threatening me?" Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and smiled. "I'm not. I'm just stating the facts according to the law." "Stating the facts, huh?" Feng Jixing laughed out loud. "Then I'll be stating the facts with you. Men, bring out the gift I'm giving to Marquis." A guard stepped forward and took out a letter from his bosom. Feng Jixing took out the letter, shook it open and held it up to Yang Zhong. He smiled and said, "Marquis, have you forgotten the deal you made with Marshal Baiming Huan of the Tianji Empire? Look, it's written clearly in black and white here." "Is that so?" Yang Zhong did not bat an eyelid and said indifferently, "Commander Feng wouldn't be thinking of using a forged letter to punish this old man, right?" "Of course that's not all." Feng Jixing said, "This is the material evidence and I'll find you a witness. Men, summon Yang Zhong's butler, Sui." Yang Zhong's body trembled and he finally couldn't keep his cool. Sui was also old and feeble. He walked to Feng Jixing and saluted, then looked at Yang Zhong. Yang Zhong was shaking with anger. "Didn't I ask you to burn the letter?" Sui cupped his hands. "Master, I just wanted to leave a way out for myself. You dog of a slave." "Men." Feng Jixing's voice was full of dignity. He said, "According to the law, colluding with the enemy and betraying the empire is punishable by death without trial. Drag Yang Zhong away and behead him." No one dared to stop him. Situ Sun flew up and grabbed Yang Zhong's fat body, lifting him up like an eagle grabbing a chick. In a flash, Situ Sun came back with Yang Zhong's head on the tray in his hand. Zhuang Yan, Su Changjing and the rest turned pale and were almost speechless. Feng Jixing looked at the group of feudal vassals coldly and said, "As you have said, the Congress is a basic national policy, and it will be implemented unswervingly. However, this is the outcome of a traitor. I hope that all of you can reflect on yourselves. If you don't even have the most basic loyalty to the empire, then you don't deserve to be a parliament member in the Congress." As he said that, Feng Jixing slammed the special pardon decree on the table and said in a tone that left no room for discussion, "The special pardon decree will be implemented immediately. The Ministry of War will send people to the National Army to select soldiers suitable for the special pardon." Looking at Zhuang Yan, Su Changjing and Lu Xiu from afar, Feng Jixing smiled very brightly. "Don't worry, sirs. I believe that you are loyal to the Empire and Her Highness, right?" Zhuang Yan hurriedly said, "General Feng, please investigate clearly. We know nothing about Yang Zhong's betrayal." Su Changjing nodded repeatedly. "Yes, yes." Lu Xiu was so scared that he couldn't speak and his face was pale. Feng Jixing sneered. "Whatever, I believe you. However, I hope that all of you can investigate yourselves. If I, Feng Jixing, do it personally, I'm afraid it won't look good. In addition, all the national soldiers are to stay put and wait for orders. No one is allowed to act on their own. While Lin General is in seclusion, I will act as the marshal." "Yes, General Feng." At this moment, who dared to disobey Feng Jixing? At this moment, Feng Jixing was an omnipotent god. He could even find out that Yang Zhong had betrayed the empire. His words carried enormous weight in the Congress, and he was simply a little overlord. 5 days later, the Congress was officially reduced to 200,000 soldiers, which was far from the original 500,000 soldiers. Not long after, Lin Muyu, who was far away in the primordial secret realm, had already begun to challenge the celestial the Arch realm. It was freezing cold in the cave of gods and demons. No one expected that Lin Muyu would be the first among the three to challenge the celestial the Arch realm. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan were all guarding him at the side, quietly waiting for him to make a breakthrough. The ice cave was unbelievably cold, but there were flames flowing around Lin Muyu's body. One could even vaguely see waves of lava crashing against the mortal latch in his dantian. Chapter 990. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. When the wisps of flames condensed into a torrent, the entire cave of gods and demons was illuminated. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked on in amazement. They never knew that Lin Muyu's body was hiding such a strong power. He had only been cultivating in the cave of gods and demons for less than 4 days, but he was already different from before. Shi Yan squinted her beautiful eyes and forcefully activated her battle energy to resist the invasion of the cold. She said indifferently, "You don't be moved by the outside world. Focus and settle, everything returns to one." At this time Lin Muyu's forehead was already covered in sweat. Even the veins on his face and neck were bulging. Faint fiery red divine power could be seen in his meridians. It was quite frightening. The 60th Heaven Gate was also known as the Imperial Pass. Because breaking through this level would make one a God Emperor expert, breaking through the 60th Heaven Gate was also known as Emperor Breakthrough. Lin Muyu closed his eyes. His Yi-Hai and Dantian felt as if they were being burned by fire. The divine power in his body continuously attacked the Imperial Pass, but it couldn't break through. Instead, when the divine power flowed back, it began to devour and burn his meridians, making him feel very uncomfortable. Finally, he couldn't help but vomit a large mouthful of blood. Emperor Breakthrough failed. "Big brother, you." "Moo." Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi stood on his left and right to protect him. They immediately held Lin Muyu's hand and used their own divine power to protect his heart and meridians, to prevent the power from hurting his body. The divine power in Lin Muyu's body wreaked havoc and he almost fainted. Fortunately, under the stimulation of the cold in the cave of gods and demons, he barely protected his heart and mind. However, every cell in his body felt like it was on fire. He frowned and asked, "What is going on? My power has clearly reached the point where I can break through, but I still failed," Shi Yan said calmly. "This level is called the Imperial Pass. Since ancient times, it hasn't been easy to break through. Many people have tried to break through 10,000 or even 20,000 times in tens of thousands of years, but they all failed. Your Godhead is the sovereign Godhead, so the requirement for power to break through to the Imperial Pass is even harsher, so it's common for you to fail the first time." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and felt the energy in her body dissipating like the tide. She said, "My power has weakened. My power has weakened." "That's right, this is the price of failing to break through to the Imperial Pass. But it's fine, your cultivation speed in the Cave of Gods and Demons is fast enough. At most 20 days, you'll recover to the level before you fail to break through to the Imperial Pass. I'm afraid it's far from enough." Lin Muyu looked deeply at Shi Yan and said, "I miscalculated. The power I need is far from 10% stronger than the 59th heavenly layer. It needs to be at least 30% stronger to break through to the Imperial Pass. But I plan to cultivate to 40% before breaking through to the Imperial Pass. I'm 90% sure." "Yes, that will take about a month." Qi Nin smiled. "But it doesn't matter, we have time. Don't be too anxious, wait for me and Xiaoxi, we haven't reached the Imperial Pass yet." Tang Xiaoxi smiled sweetly. "Looks like we won't get anything today." "Not all of them." Shi Yan on the side smiled slightly. "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu was stunned. Shi Yan smiled. "Don't you think I'm going to break through too?" With that, Shi Yan slowly stood up. She, who had been cultivating calmly, seemed much younger. The pure power of light in her body swept out like a tsunami. The 6 wings behind her slowly spread out, and her eyes turned light gold. She smiled and said, "You failed to break through to the Imperial Pass, but I've recovered to the immortal state, even though I'm just a heavenly layer 1 heavenly angel." Lin Muyu and Qi Nin couldn't help but laugh. "Congratulations, Sister Haiyan." Tang Xiaoxi also said with a smile, "In this way our overall strength has been greatly enhanced. Sister Xian, according to your current cultivation advancement, when do you think you can return to the 99th heavenly layer?" Xian pondered for a long time. With a hint of loneliness between her brows, she said, "Actually, I'm not too sure. If everything goes well, it'll be about 3 to 5 years. If not, maybe I won't be able to recover to my peak strength in 10 or 100 years. But it doesn't matter. I'm indifferent to it." "Perhaps it's because you're indifferent to it that Sister Xian's strength will recover very quickly." Lin Muyu went straight to the point and said, "Heart as still as water, indifferent and tranquil has always been the highest realm of cultivation. At least, that's what the secret manual that Fuxi gave me said." "Did the great Emperor Fuxi of Heavens Beyond really say that?" Shi Yan asked with a smile. "Yes, it seems." The corners of Shi Yan's mouth curled up. She smiled meaningfully and said, "It's not a bad thing for me to give up my cultivation and destroy my own divine pact. Maybe a bad thing can become a good thing and let me break through to the blazing angel realm." "Ah." Lin Muyu and Qi Nin both asked in astonishment, "There's a higher realm above the blazing angel realm?" "There is." Shi Yan smiled with a taboo expression. "But I'm not too sure either. At least, I haven't seen it in my tens of thousands of years of cultivation. Maybe I'll understand everything when I stand at the peak myself." As she said that, Shi Yan shivered from the cold. She said, "My divine power is almost exhausted. I can't hold on any longer. Do you want to continue cultivating here? Yu's body has just been injured. I suggest that we rest for a day and wait for Yu's injuries to heal before continuing to cultivate." "Okay." The 3 of them agreed. The entrance to the Cave of Gods and Demons was very well hidden. It was just a small gap in the shattered ice. Outside of the gap was the shallow water region. That was why Lin Muyu and the others flew out of the water. The people outside might not be able to discover the secret of the Cave of Gods and Demons. In the distance, the ancient palace on the mountain range actually had wisps of smoke floating up. "What's going on?" Lin Muyu asked with a frown. "Something happened to our residence. Let's go and take a look," Shi Yan said with certainty. The 4 of them flew up like meteors. When they landed on the mountain peak together, they saw that there were flames wreaking havoc outside their residence. There were also streaks of blood. Some were gold and some were blue. The gold blood belonged to a god state expert, while the blue blood belonged to Fuzhu. "Fuzhu?" Lin Muyu's heart trembled. She said, "Fuzhu, where are you?" "Master, I'm here." A weak voice came from a small forest not far away. Lin Muyu and Qi Nin sped over and saw Fuzhu lying under a crooked tree. There were injuries on his arms, legs and even his neck. Moreover, the injuries were not light. In particular, there was a knife wound on his arm. It was so deep that the bone could be seen. How did this happen? Lin Muyu flew over and opened one hand. The healing power instantly surrounded Fuzhu. Ah! Fuzhu's injuries were so deep that even his own self-healing ability could not heal them. After encountering Lin Muyu's divine healing, his wounds seemed to be burning. He could not help but let out a miserable howl. Yen walked over slowly and asked, Fuzhu, what happened? Cough, cough, cough. Fuzhu coughed violently and spat out a mouthful of blood. He said, a group of gods ambushed me. Who? Who else knows about this place? Lin Muyu asked. Yin frowned. People from the Spirit Sparrow region? No, they are not from the Spirit Sparrow region. Fuzhu's face was pale. I recognize one of them. It's Dongfang Yen. His law of fire is very powerful. It can even penetrate the little beast's protective wall. Dongfang Yen? Yes. Dongfang Yen is the domain lord of the Raging Fire region. At the same time, he's also the overlord of the surrounding 1,000 miles. Within this 1,000 miles, there are 7 other regions, including the Spirit Sparrow region. However, their forces are far weaker than Dongfang Yen. That's why the people of the Raging Fire region can run amok in other people's territories. Fuzhu gritted his teeth. 300 years ago, I fought with Dongfang Yen once. This time he's even stronger. I'm so angry. If the little beast's spiritual vein wasn't damaged by Master, how could the little beast be beaten so badly by just 10 people? If I didn't use the water to escape, I'm afraid I would have been killed by them. Is the Raging Fire region really that strong? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Yes. Fuzhu said, as far as I know, the Raging Fire region has a total of 18 God Emperors, 300 Divine Kings, 1,000 Hierarch Experts and 100,000 servants. The territory of the Raging Fire region is 9 times bigger than the Spirit Sparrow region. That's why all the 8 regions in the southeast are afraid of the Raging Fire region. Lin Muyu frowned. Dongfang Yen came here to kill you? No, he's looking for the Cave of Gods and Demons. Fuzhu coughed violently. Dongfang Yen is currently an 88th Heavenly Grotto God Emperor. He probably wants to use the Cave of Gods and Demons to break through to the 90th Heavenly God Emperor realm. That's why he's in a hurry. However, this little beast knows that you're in the Cave of Gods and Demons, so it would rather die than reveal its location. Master, do you think this little beast is loyal? It's very loyal, Lin Muyu praised. It seems like the Raging Fire region has their eyes on us. We need to find a new place to stay. It's best to enter the Cave of Gods and Demons together next time. Otherwise, it'll be very dangerous for those who stay outside. Yin nodded. I agree. Yen said, Fuzhu, is there any other place we can stay? Fuzhu was stunned. No, *T. Yen, the blazing angel, cursed. She puffed up her full and round chest and looked down at Fuzhu. There's a saying that a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. You're the ruler of the water region, how can you not have 3 burrows? I don't believe it. Bring us there immediately. Otherwise I'll kill you before Dongfang Yen does. Don't forget your oath to you. If you're not loyal to Master, you'll face the heavenly tribulation. Do you think you can escape the heavenly tribulation with your state of mind? Fuzhu wailed in pain. This little beast can't escape. I'll bring you there. Chapter 991. Dragon-Seeking Mountain was a lush, ancient forest located 25 miles south of the Cave of Gods and Demons. Swoosh, 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 a few silhouettes landed in the forest. It was Lin Muyu, Fuzhu, and the others. Yin looked around and said, we saw a few spirit beasts when we were flying over just now. The strongest one among them has a lifespan of 30,000 years. Actually, we can get rid of it while we're at it. Fuzhu hurriedly said, Miss Yin, all things have spirituality. Spirit beasts are born from the spirits of heaven and earth. Since you are all gods, you should know compassion. Let them go, you make it sound like you're one of them. Tang Xiaoxi had a warning smile on her face. By now, everyone had basically understood that Fuzhu was a sly and cunning beast. Even in front of his master, he might not tell the whole truth, so they could not trust him completely. This little critter is a spirit beast, but of a higher level. Fuzhu explained anxiously. Lin Muyu smiled. Alright, stop explaining. As long as those beasts don't provoke us, we won't kill them. But Fuzhu, are you planning to let us rest here? Yes, this place is beautiful. What's wrong with that? Isn't that still sleeping in the open? Lin Muyu raised her voice and glared at him. Aren't you going to bring us to your lair? Let us see what the legendary ruler of the water's residence looks like. Fuzhu was stunned. Lin Muyu unsheathed her sword. If you continue to stammer, we'll kill you and turn you into dried meat. You're not willing to let us see your lair, so I'm sure you want to come back and be the king of the mountain, continuing to harm the innocent? This little critter wouldn't dare, Fuzhu shuddered. But master, if we really want to kill this little critter one day, can you not make dried meat? It's so uncomfortable. How about steaming it? Sure. Stir-frying, pasting, boiling, deep-frying, marinating, smoking, grilling, deep-frying, mixing, or drawing. Choose for yourself when you're tired of living. I respect you. Lin Muyu smiled and said, China has 8 major cuisines and dozens of cooking methods. I'm sure you'll be satisfied. Qinin looked at Fuzhu hesitantly and said, Big brother Yu, how is it going to pull the silk? Lin Muyu. In the end, Fuzhu had no choice but to submit to the might of the crowd. He led the 4 into the depths of the forest and flew at a low altitude for nearly 10 minutes on a vague mountain path. Finally, they arrived in front of a huge mountain rampart. There was no way forward. Why is it a dead end? Qinin was surprised. Fuzhu smiled. Miss Qinin, do you know why this place is called Mount Seeking Dragon? What? The ancient gods in the primordial secret realm also paid particular attention to the dragon vein. They all believed that as long as they could find the dragon vein, cultivating there would yield twice the results with half the effort. The Mount-seeking dragon happened to be a dragon vein. Countless ancient gods have been buried here for millions of years, and the treasures carried by many god-emperor-level ancient gods were all lost in the Mount-seeking dragon. After a rare earthquake, the location of the Mount-seeking dragon changed. It was no longer a dragon vein, but the treasures were still here. The Mount-seeking dragon that the gods couldn't find became one of the little critters' nests. As he spoke, Fuzhu walked forward and said in a clear voice, Dragon-seeking dragon master, open the door. A low buzzing sound rang out and soon the stone walls began to separate. An irregular pattern appeared on the door, but the 2 giant stone doors remained in their original state as they slowly separated, revealing the secret room inside. All right, you can go in now, Fuzhu said. No, you go first. Shi Yan's wariness towards Fuzhu was unusually strong. Fuzhu could only shrug and smile helplessly. He was considered handsome and elegant, and there were not many women in the 64 domains who could resist his elegance and charm. Many of the domain lord's daughters would rather elope with him, but unfortunately he met Shi Yan, Qinin, and the others. Shi Yan was a perfect blazing angel, so she didn't even spare him a glance. On the other hand, Qinin's eyes of blazing dawn could see through everything. As for Tang Xiaoxi, she was dead set on Lin Muyu, so she didn't stand a chance. In front of this group of people, he was nothing but a ferocious beast with no sense of existence to speak of. In the end, Fuzhu walked at the front, while Lin Muyu and the 3 beauties followed closely behind. After everyone entered the secret chamber, the stone door at the back slowly closed. There was no trace of it at all and it was very well hidden. However, the secret chamber was lit up with lights. Upon closer inspection, they were crystals that used the principle of refraction to send light from the outside into the secret chamber. Thus, the secret chamber was as bright as day. Wow, not bad. Lin Muyu was full of praise as she walked in the secret room. The secret room was located inside the mountain, but it had everything. A hall, a corridor, a staircase, a room, a kitchen, and so on. This is where you live? Lin Muyu asked. Yes, master. Fuzhu replied respectfully, when a spiritual beast's cultivation increases, it can transform into a human form, so this little beast is used to living like a human. It doesn't want to show its true form unless it's in a battle. This little beast has lived here for more than 8,000 years. At the same time, this little beast has also swept all the treasures in the dragon-seeking forest. They're all in the treasury. Master, do you want to take a look? No way. Lin Muyu glanced at him. Would you show your treasury to us so easily? Fuzhu smiled helplessly. Of course not, but since we've already signed the master-servant contract, you're this little beast's master. Moreover, we're already here so we can't hide. Why don't we just tell you and save ourselves another beating? You're becoming more and more sensible. Lead the way, let us see the ancient divine beast, Fuzhu's treasury. Yes. Fuzhu stepped into the corridor and slowly pushed open the first small door on the wall. Inside was a bright light. Chests of treasures and gold were piled up in the room. This is the treasury of gold and silver. Although gold and silver are nothing to the gods, it is still the most basic currency in the 64 domains. The little critter still needs it when it transforms into a human. Lin Muyu gulped and said, There's so much gold, can I take it away? As long as master is happy. Fuzhu felt a pain in his heart. He pushed open the door of the second stone room. Immediately, a vast aura rushed out. He said in a low voice, This is the divine weapon treasury. There are many weapons, artifacts, defensive tools, and so on used by god emperors. Master, you can choose whatever you like. If you like it, take it away. This little beast won't complain. Oh, let's go in and take a look. Lin Muyu was still very interested in divine weapons. He led the three beauties into the divine weapon treasury. Rows upon rows of weapon racks were filled with sharp weapons. There were long swords, pikes, battle blades, meteor hammers, and so on. As for defensive tools, there were shields, armors, helmets, and so on. There was a feast for the eyes. Divine weapons that could attract the attention of a divine beast with a hobby of collecting like Fuzhu were at least first-rank Saint grade. There were even quite a number of substandard divine weapons. The stellar sword in Qin Yin's hand could only be considered to be below average when placed in this pile of weapons. In the boundless universe, Lin Muyu was still far from being able to refine weapons in terms of level. Almost every master craftsman that specialized in refining weapons was above him. Not bad. Lin Muyu's palm gently caressed a sharp sword. She felt a tyrannical divine power flowing into her palm. The power of this sword was slightly stronger than the stellar sword. She couldn't help but ask in astonishment, "What's the origin of this sword?" Fuzhu said, "This sword was once used by a god emperor in the eastern heavenly realm. It was said that it was brought over from another plane. After that, it was refined and forged by a master craftsman in the divine realm. It's incomparably sharp. Its name is... Oh, it's called Gongbu sword." Famous sword Gongbu? Yes. It is said that there are two other swords called Longyuan and Teia. However, they were left behind. This little beast couldn't find them either. Lin Muyu frowned. Needless to say, these three swords must have heard of space-time disorder and samsara cycle. That's why they were left behind in the divine realm and entered the secret realm. Otherwise the timing would be wrong. His attention quickly fell on a warhammer. This warhammer was faintly glowing with lightning. There were even some ancient characters engraved on it. When Lin Muyu held the warhammer in his hand, he immediately felt a thick power flowing into his body. It was very exhausting to lift the warhammer. He used almost 70% of his divine power to barely lift the warhammer. Lightning crackled on the tip of the warhammer. "Master, this hammer is..." Fuzhu began to explain. "Don't speak." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "If I'm not wrong, this hammer is the legendary Thunder God's hammer, right?" How did Master know?" "You don't need to know." Lin Muyu slowly put down the warhammer. "Did the Thunder God also come to the prehistoric secret realm?" "No, it is said that the Thunder God was the God Emperor of the Northern Heaven realm. However, he disappeared during the Battle of the Gods, so his hammer was taken to the East Heaven and finally left here." Fuzhu rubbed his nose and smiled. "Master, you don't have to care about this hammer. In terms of sturdiness and weight, it is indeed very strong, but in terms of combat power and divine artifact level, the Xianyuan sword in Master's hand is far above the Thunder God's warhammer. Even the Dig spear in Miss Xiaoxi's hand is much stronger than this hammer." "Yes." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "A hammer that can be blocked by Captain Mei's broken shield is indeed not something to look at. If it was the Xianyuan sword, Captain Mei would definitely be GG." Fuzhu was stunned. "Master, what does Captain Mei and GG mean?" Qinin couldn't help but smile. "Alright Fuzhu, don't listen to him. Big brother you likes to talk to himself sometimes." Fuzhu smiled. "Then Master, if you have any weapons you like in this little critter's divine weapon storage, feel free to take them. You are this little critter's master. This little critter will not be stingy." Lin Muyu took the Chenghuan pouch from her waist and looked back at Qinin and Tang Xiaoxi. "Hey, what are you two waiting for? Take it all away." "Ah." Fuzhu clutched his chest, blood spurting out of his mouth. Chapter 992. 7 days later, in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Strands of radiant god force floated around Qinin like ribbons. 7 days after Lin Muyu's failure, Qin Yin's attempt to break through to the monarch realm also failed. Her strength regressed a little and she needed more time to cultivate. Fortunately, they had plenty of time in the primordial mystic realm. A month here was equivalent to 3 days in the Shattered Cauldron realm. 22 days later, in the Cave of Gods and Demons, Qin Yin attempted to break through to the monarch realm again. The ice cave was incomparably cold. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi stood on either side of Qin Yin, who was on the verge of breaking through. Shi Yan's cultivation had also increased by quite a bit, so she could stay in the Cave of Gods and Demons for a longer period of time. Qin Yin sat upright on the ice bed. Beams of divine power transformed into flowing lights that penetrated her body and burned her clothes to ashes, revealing her alluring body underneath. "Fuzhu, you can leave first," said Lin Muyu. "Yes, master." Fuzhu flew out. Even though he was a fierce beast, he was still in the form of a male, so it wasn't a good idea for him to stay here. As for Lin Muyu, There was no need to say much about his relationship with Qin, so it was only right for him to stay here. After all, it was quite dangerous to break through to the monarch realm. Beads of sweat flowed down Qin's cheeks. She had practically used all her strength to break through to the profound martial realm, and a pair of golden wings unfolded behind her back. Shi Yin, Lin Muyu, and Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. Qin could only rely on herself to break through to the profound martial realm, and no one else could help her. Qin slowly spread out her hands. Her palms were filled with dense light and blazing flames. One was blazing while the other was dark. These were the two branches of the law of light. One was pure light while the other was dark. As Qin Yin's overgod of light, she was the supreme ruler of the entire law of light. Naturally, she had to see through both branches at the same time. When she clasped her hands together, crackling sounds of electricity could be heard. When she clasped her hands in front of her chest, the light grew even brighter. Qin Yin's body trembled slightly, and her long hair fluttered in the wind. Even her overgod overlord emerged, emitting buzzing noises. Success or failure depended on this. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi were so nervous that they couldn't speak. They could only stare at Qin Yin's breakthrough. Buzz buzz buzz. Qin Yin's body trembled even more as she heard the shrill screech. Golden feathers of light flew out from her back amidst the buzzing and agitation. These feathers gathered together in the blink of an eye. In less than 10 seconds they seemed to have condensed into something. Following Qin Yin's sigh, a new pair of golden wings broke out from her back with a dull bang. 4 golden wings. At this moment, not only did Qin Yin break through to the celestial the arch stage, but she had also successfully become a 4-winged angel. Ah! Qin Yin let out a long gasp and then she fainted. Xiaoyin, are you alright? Lin Muyu quickly caught her. Shi Yin was all smiles. Xiaoyin has broken through and she has exhausted all her energy. Hurry up and put some clothes on her. Let's go back to the ground. She can't withstand the low temperature here for now. Okay. Lin Muyu quickly took out a new set of clothes from her universe bag and hurriedly helped Qin Yin change with Tang Xiaoxi. Then she carried Qin Yin and flew out of the cave of gods and demons. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Outside the wind was biting cold. Fuzhu was hiding at the entrance of the ice cave. He craned his neck and asked, Master, has Miss Qin Yin broken through? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Xiaoyin has exhausted all her energy and needs to rest. Let's go back. Yes. After flying for dozens of kilometers, they arrived at Mount Dragon Search. However, the dragon-seeking mountain seemed to be very unusual today. Lin Muyu frowned even before she landed on the ground. Don't you guys feel the aura surging underground? Shi Yin shook her head. My cultivation has dropped too much. I can't feel it. Are you sure you? Yes. Fuzhu also nodded. There is indeed something underground and there is more than one. Is it someone from the Raging Fire region? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Lin Muyu held Qin Yin in her arms and shook her head. No, this aura is very violent. It should be a wild beast. Fuzhu, what kind of wild beast would be active underground in the 64 domains? That's a lot. Fuzhu pondered. From the primordial divine beast Hun Dun to the spiritual beast earth-drilling rat, there are many. But this aura clearly doesn't belong to Hun Dun. There is only one Hun Dun in the 64 domains and it died a long time ago. Then what is it? This little beast really doesn't know. Lin Muyu landed slowly with Qin Yin in her arms. She immediately raised her eyebrows. They are coming for us. There are 2 of them. What should we do? Since they are coming for us, let's just get rid of them. Shi Yin smiled faintly. In any case, don't lure them into the secret chamber. She needs time to recuperate. She can't be disturbed. Okay. Everyone got into formation. Tang Xiaoxi held the Tig spear, while Lin Muyu handed Qin Yin to Xin. She also drew her Xian Yuan sword. Deep underground, a tyrannical and violent aura was approaching at a rapid speed. Buzz buzz buzz, the mountain forest began to tremble. Tigers and leopards fled in groups. Mountain birds flew into the sky. It was clear that the newcomer's food chain was definitely above these wild beasts. Lin Muyu's spirit pulse technique was like a radar that repeatedly scanned the location of the newcomer. Just as the other party was about to arrive, he suddenly rose from the ground and stabbed the Xian Yuan sword into the ground. He shouted, "Every phenomenon in the world, listen to my command." Bang! The elephant will followed the sudden stab of the sword into the depths of the ground. Suddenly, a blood-curdling screech could be heard. Immediately after, the rocky ground dozens of meters away suddenly exploded. The boulder turned into powder and a ferocious head drilled out from the ground. It was followed by a long and wriggling body. It looked like a huge snake. Snake. It's an earth snake, Fuzhu said in a low voice. Lin Muyu nodded. This kind of creature was not very rare. It could be found in the Shattered Cauldron realm as well. This species should be very similar to the earth-drilling dragon snake but stronger. There were 27 golden lines on the head of this earth snake, which meant that it was a 27,000-year-old spiritual beast. It could be considered a sacred beast. At least in the dragon-seeking forest of the Qin Empire, it would be at the top of the food chain. Let's finish this quickly. Lin Muyu's figure turned into a bolt of lightning and dashed forward. The long sword in his hand brought out the light of the chaos of the common life. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly disappeared. Her spear, carrying the flames of the great karma fire technique, fell from the sky and devoured the body of the earth snake. Roar! The earth snake's screams were very shrill. How could it withstand the pincer attack of two powerful cultivators? In just a moment, the flesh on its back had been torn open, and its head had been slashed 7 or 8 times by the Shenyuan sword. Even its skull had been smashed, revealing the white brain matter. It had originally intended to hunt, but in the blink of an eye, it had become the prey. Twisting its huge body and shaking its head, the earth snake was already trying to escape by the way it came. But it was too late. Lin Muyu's 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation instantly tore its huge head apart and killed it instantly. No, master. Fuzhu shouted, but it seemed that it was too late. What's wrong? Lin Muyu asked. Fuzhu frowned and said, this earth snake doesn't look like a wild one. It seems to have been domesticated and used as a hunter to find powerful enemies. Someone is looking for me. It must be someone from the Raging Fire region. We killed the earth snake, so they will be here soon. So be it. Lin Muyu said, there's one more. Hurry up and finish it. Behind them there was a bang. Another earth snake burrowed out of the ground. Fuzhu made up his mind and rushed over. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into his beast form and stabbed his 4 horns into the second earth snake's body. Lightning and fire raged. The earth snake wailed and waved its head, but it died in the blink of an eye. The battle between beasts was really simple and violent. After Lin Muyu quickly dug out the spirit stones, the group quickly left. The secret chamber was about 10 miles away. As long as they controlled their aura well, they would not be discovered. After all, the secret chamber was so well hidden that even a god would have a hard time finding it. In the blink of an eye, it was already late at night. Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Qin Yin sat facing each other in the secret room. The light from the crystal lamp at the side gradually dimmed. Qin Yin's power had recovered quite a bit. As an expert of the God the Arch realm, her perception seemed to have improved a lot. Her pair of flaming eyes opened slightly and she said with a smile, Brother you little she, someone is coming. Yes, it's someone from the Raging Fire region. Lin Muyu said confidently. Above them, 3 powerful auras flew past. They really did not find the secret chamber and went straight to the place where the earth snake died. So powerful? Qin Yin frowned. How powerful? Xiaoyin, are you sure you can defeat them? Lin Muyu asked. Qin Yin shook her head. I might be able to fight the 2 weaker ones to a draw, but I'm definitely not a match for the strongest one. That person should be Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, I didn't expect that we would offend such a strong opponent so soon after coming to the prehistoric mystery land. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. The prehistoric mystery land is a place where the strong prey on the weak. We will offend such people sooner or later. There's no need to regret anything. But, Mu, are you sure you can reach the Emperor realm tomorrow? Yes, it's been a month since I failed to reach the Emperor realm. Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while. She looked at the 2 beauties teasingly and smiled. I believe I won't fail this time. I have at least an 80% chance of winning. That's good. Qin Yin was pleased. As long as Brother Yu succeeds, maybe we will have enough chips to challenge Dongfang Yan and the Raging Fire region. It's still difficult. Don't underestimate the Raging Fire region. They have 18 celestial monarchs. If 2 of them attack one of us, we will lose. If more than 6 celestial monarchs come, I'm afraid we will all be wiped out. Lin Muyu's eyes were full of caution. So we should avoid the Raging Fire region as much as possible and cultivate to the 90th perfection celestial monarch realm as soon as possible. By then it won't be too late to sweep the 64 regions. Brother Yu wants to sweep the 64 regions? This forgotten divine realm has been lost for too long. We will definitely find a way to break the barrier between the prehistoric mystery land and the divine realm. It will be a good thing for the East Heaven realm. Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. Don't you have any selfish motives? As the saying goes, there are. Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. I want to take in a portion of the godly experts in the prehistoric mystery land and bring them back to the divine realm. Then I will go to the Shattered Cauldron world and help Brother Feng and Wei Chou end the war between the Shattered Cauldron world and the Celestial Pole continent. The Celestial Pole continent has always had an absolute advantage in terms of the number of godly experts. It's time to reverse this awkward situation. Yes. Qin Yin nodded. Her beautiful eyes were full of hope. Chapter 993. The night passed uneventfully. Although Qin Yin had succeeded in breaking through to the Emperor realm, her body had suffered some injuries. Lin Muyu practically spent the entire night hugging her to sleep, using her healing abilities to help her recover. Of course she couldn't do much. Shi Yan, Tang Xiaoxi and Fu Zhu could only watch helplessly. There was truly no chance. At daybreak, they left the secret chamber and flew toward the Cave of Gods and Demons. For Lin Muyu today was a big day. She had to succeed in her second attempt at the Emperor realm. The Cave of Gods and Demons was as cold as ever. This time, it was the others' turn to protect Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu slowly sat cross-legged on the ice bed. She had been preparing for close to 2 hours. She cleansed the energy in her body and circulated the formless elephant tactic a few times. Then, she ate a peaceful heart berry and began to circulate her divine energy to break through to the monarch realm again. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the 12 spirit beads of law burst out of her body, creating an incomparably magnificent sight. Raging flames, whirlwinds, ice, lightning, light, and all sorts of law energies formed a small storm around Lin Muyu. The light was faintly discernible, making it seem incomparably magnificent and extraordinary. Even the blazing angel Shi Yan couldn't help but gape in amazement. The Supreme Godhead was a supreme treasure that all gods yearned for, and the Xinqiang Emperor who possessed the Supreme Godhead was actually so eye-catching. Moreover, this time Lin Muyu's strength was much stronger than the last time she broke through to the Emperor realm. After a month of bitter cultivation in the Cave of Gods and Demons, her divine energy had increased by at least 30%. This made Shi Yan look at Lin Muyu in a new light. This sort of endurance and tenacity was truly rare and precious. If it were any ordinary person, they would have broken through to the Emperor realm countless times in the past month. Who could endure this? The power of the 12 laws spun faster and faster, to the point where everyone could already see the constellation of the formless elephant art. Faintly they could hear the roars of mountains and seas, the roars of wild beasts, the wrath of gods and the sounds of mortal worlds collapsing. No one would have thought that Lin Muyu's laws would be able to see through the myriad of phenomena of all living beings. Very quickly, the power of the 12 laws turned into supreme god force and began to break through the profound martial realm. In the beginning Lin Muyu was still very calm, but very quickly beads of sweat started to form on her forehead, and a pained expression appeared on her face. The Supreme Godhead's God Emperor profound gate seemed to be harder to control, and one could imagine the pressure and pain that Lin Muyu had to endure. At that moment, wisps of aura suddenly appeared outside the Cave of Gods and Demons. Qin Yin frowned and asked, "What's going on?" Fu Zhu gritted his teeth. "I'm afraid someone has discovered us. What should we do?" Qin Yin was anxious. Yu's breakthrough to the Emperor realm cannot be affected. Xiaoxi, let's go out and take a look. Looking at Lin Muyu's expression, Qin Yin was even more worried. Her breakthrough to the Emperor realm was not going as smoothly as she had imagined. At this moment, Lin Muyu's brows were tightly knitted together, and a blood-colored cyclone appeared on the surface of her body. "What's going on?" Qin Yin asked. Shi Yan was a little flustered. "I also don't know. There seems to be some energy in Yu's body that conflicts with the Supreme Godhead's energy, so even if his energy reaches the required level, he still can't break through to the Emperor realm." Lin Muyu, who was gradually sinking into chaos, opened her eyes. Her body was surrounded by swirling air currents and she said, It's the blood firmament refining. The blood firmament refining's energy is too bloody, and it conflicts with the righteous energy of the formless elephant art. So every time I reach this step, I can't control it and my energy starts to attack. Sister Shi Yan, don't speak. Shi Yan seemed to understand something and she said, "Focus and calm your mind. Success or failure depends on a single thought. The blood firmament refining is your martial art, and you only need to remember that you have never used it to kill a good person. That's enough. Deep in your heart, You cultivate a benevolent heavenly Tao, so don't fall into self-blame. That will only make things worse. Lin Muyu didn't continue speaking, and she just gritted her teeth and held on. Shi Yan's gaze swept across them and she said, Xiaoyin Xiaoshi, someone is barging in. Be careful, don't let them destroy the cave of gods and demons. This time, Yu's cultivation is even more dangerous than the last time. If he's forcefully interrupted, he might fall into the demonic path, or even lose his cultivation. Wait. Lin Muyu's face was filled with pain and she said, Xiaoyin, use my Xinyuan sword. Okay. When Qin mentioned the Xinyuan sword next to Lin Muyu, her heart was filled with apprehension. This time she was really nervous. No one knew how many heavenly tribulations there were on the path of cultivation, but it was clear that they couldn't avoid this tribulation in front of them. If they couldn't resolve it, Lin Muyu's path of cultivation would end here. The auras on the corridor of the Cave of Gods and Demons were getting closer and closer. Just as Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi flew to the entrance, they felt a few forces coming toward them. It was a middle-aged man wearing a red robe, and there was a flame emblem embroidered on his robe. He was from the Raging Fire region, and there were 4 people flying in behind him. They were all God State experts, 1 God Emperor and the other 4 God Kings. Aha, it's really here. The God Emperor raised his eyebrows, and his eyes stared straight at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. He smiled and said, I didn't expect there to be such devastatingly beautiful women in the 64 domains. We didn't come for nothing, haha. Wang Ping, go back and tell the region lord where this place is. I'll take care of these little beauties. But at this moment, Qin Yin smiled, and her beautiful face bloomed with a smile that was different from her temperament. You want to leave? I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 4 golden wings spread out behind her, and Qin Yin instantly raised her power to the extreme. A wall of light spread out behind the 5 people, sealing their way out. What the hell is this? The God King called Wang Ping suddenly punched the wall of light, but the power of the wall came from Qin Yin, so it didn't move. In the entire world, there was probably no God King who could shake the wall of light created by Qin Yin, the Master God of Light. Yo! The red-robed God Emperor's gaze swept over Qin Yin and he smiled. A beauty who just stepped into the God Emperor realm. Interesting. Wang Ping, there's no need to leave. We'll take care of them here today and then report back to the Raging Fire region. Yes. Who are you? Tang Xiaoxi asked. There's also a hot beauty. The red-robed God Emperor smiled and said, There's no harm in telling you. I'm Deacon Qiu Yao under the Region Lord of the Raging Fire region, Dongfang Yan. These 4 are Wang Ping, Li Tai, Murong Jia and Nangong Ling. Can you tell me who you are now? Who is the source of the energy waves in the depths of the Cave of Gods and Demons? Mind your own business. Qin Yin swung her sword and rushed forward, and the Xinyuan sword slashed at Qiu Yao with a split light. You're courting death. Qiu Yao roared angrily, and the flames in his hand surged as he clashed with Qin Yin's Xinyuan sword. Meanwhile, Tang Xiaoxi quickly transformed into her 9-tailed form, and fought with the 4 God Kings. Flames and light intertwined, and the corridor at the entrance of the Cave of Gods and Demons became a battlefield in the blink of an eye. Inside the Cave of Gods and Demons, the blood-colored vortex around Lin Muyu's body became denser and denser. His expression was one of extreme pain. He forcefully used the invisible elephant art to protect his heart, but it became more and more difficult. The violent aura caused by the heavenly blood-refining art kept attacking his meridians, and in the blink of an eye, a meridian on his arm exploded with a pop. Shi Yin instantly panicked. How could this be? How could this be? How can I help you? Lin Muyu clenched his teeth and said in a muffled voice, Sister Xian, the depths of my soul thirsts for blood. I thirst for slaughter. What should I do? What should I do? Thirst for blood? Shi Yin stood up, and the blazing moon sword quickly appeared in her hand. She slashed at her wrist, and immediately strands of blood turned into blood chains that lingered around Lin Muyu. However, this made Lin Muyu feel even more pain. Shi Yan's blood was like scorching lava, and it was unbearable. No! Lin Muyu's thoughts were a little chaotic. He swept out with his palm, and as he dispersed the blood chains, he also slammed Shi Yan into the ice pillar behind him, and blood spurted out of his mouth. What should I do? Shi Yan supported the blazing moon sword and stood up again. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and looked at Lin Muyu worriedly. At the side, Fuzhu was very calm. He said, Lord Blazing Angel, I've heard of Master's past. Master has been fighting in his plane for many years, and for the unification of the empire, he has killed countless people. He lives such a life every day, but he still maintains the last bit of kindness. Master's path is to eradicate the strong and help the weak, and to put on armor and slaughter. This path is paved with the blood of enemies and evildoers. Lord Blazing Angel, your blood is not the blood of evildoers, so naturally you can't help Master break through. You mean? Shi Yan was stunned. You need the blood of evildoers? Yes, Lord Blazing Angel has been in the Western Divine Realm for so many years. Don't you know about blood sacrifice? Yes, blood sacrifice, it's blood sacrifice. Shi Yan gritted her teeth and said, You must hold on, the evildoers are coming. Then Shi Yan said in a low voice, Xin Yu and Xiao Shi, come in quickly. If they want to come, let them come. In the outside world, Qin Yin was stunned. Then Shi and Tang Xiaoxi retreated at the same time, and in the blink of an eye, they entered the ice cave. How could Qiu Yao and the others let the cooked duck fly away? They all chased after them, but they didn't know that they had inadvertently become someone else's sacrifice. Just as Qiu Yao and the others flew into the ice cave, Shi Yan had already pushed all of her power into the realm of a six-winged angel, and with the blazing moon sword in her hand, she struck out 2 consecutive attacks at lightning speed. Destruction. Mercy. If Shi Yan was at her peak, she could kill a 72 heavenly abode celestial emperor like Qiu Yao with a little finger. But now, she only had less than 1,000th of her peak cultivation. Even so, she still used her powerful mental cultivation to activate mercy. In an instant, Qiu Yao and the others couldn't move. Shi Yan still had this ability. Xin Xiaoxi kill. Mercy. The defense of absolute domain made Qiu Yao and the others unable to move for a short period of time. The Xianyuan sword was raised, and the 5th strike of Shi Yan's 7 slashes, expiation. The sword light flashed, and the 4 celestial kings were chopped into 2 at the waist. On the other hand, Tang Xiaoxi's dig spear forcefully pierced into Qiu Yao's heart with the great karmic fire sutra's god force. The Hong god force exploded, and Qiu Yao was directly injured. Originally, even if Qiu Yao and the others were pinned down by Shi Yan, they wouldn't be killed instantly. But their bad luck was that the weapons used by Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were all divine weapons, and they were able to pierce through the divine wall directly. Swoosh, swoosh. Under the control of Shi Yan's power, streams of fresh blood flowed around Lin Muyu. Immediately, Lin Muyu's body trembled, and her supreme godhead shone brightly. The descent of the blood of the wicked was like rain after a long drought, nourishing her dried-up body. Chapter 994. Hiss, hiss, streams of blood evaporated in the air around Lin Muyu. Qiu Yao, who was on the verge of death, was dumbfounded by what he saw. What is this? Are you a devil? Lin Muyu didn't answer. He was suffering from the pain of breaking through to the monarch realm, so how could he answer Qiu Yao's question? However, Lin Muyu's heart was filled with coldness. He had never thought that he would have such a bloodthirsty nature in the depths of his body. He had never experienced this kind of bloodlust before. Could it be that after experiencing so many battles over the years, the bloodlust that he had been suppressing finally broke out at this moment? When he thought of this, the flames around him started to become violent and chaotic. Shi Yan hastily shouted, You, calm your mind, don't let your imagination run wild, be the real you, don't let any evil influence you. Lin Muyu rose to his feet and knelt on the ice bed. The flames around him coiled around him like swimming dragons. He let out a miserable groan and looked at Shi Yan, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others with his pale golden eyes. Be the real you, kill those who deserve to be killed. Qiu Yao murmured in his heart, desperately urging all the energy in his body to suppress the bloodlust in his heart. Finally, the blood-red flames around him were extinguished, and his mind became clear. In the next moment, an endless stream of energy returned to his qi from his godhead. This was a power that he had never felt before. Moreover, Lin Muyu could clearly feel that there was an additional power in her body that could control spacetime. That's right, it was the samsara power. It was a unique ability of celestial thearchs, just that there were differences in strength. Plop. Qiu Yao knelt heavily on the ground. The blood on his chest had almost dried up. Even from the outside, one could see the beating of his heart. Tang Xiaoxi's attack was very accurate, and this God Emperor Realm expert's life was about to come to an end. Who are you people? Qiu Yao raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu and the others with a blank expression. A group of people who are being hunted by you. Shi Yan sneered. Lin Muyu asked, Do you people from the Raging Fire territory really want to kill us? You're with Fuzhu? Qiu Yao coughed intensely, blood spurting out of his mouth. His entire body trembled as he said, "Please, please protect my heart meridians. As long as I can return to the Raging Fire region alive, I will explain everything to the leader of the Raging Fire region. We will bury the hatchet, what do you think?" Lin Muyu laughed. "Do you think we're 3-year-olds? Qin Yin opened her flaming eyes and said, "Just now outside the cave of gods and demons, your attacks were ruthless and deadly. Is there any use in begging for mercy now? If Xiaoxi and I had begged for mercy just now, would you have spared us?" A trace of cruelty flashed across Qiu Yao's face. He knew that he wouldn't be able to live. He grinned and said, of course, you and that girl are both peerless beauties. As long as you beg for mercy, I will definitely spare your lives. However, the price is that you will become my exclusive slaves and I will play with you. You're courting death." The Xianyuan sword in Qin Yin's hand flashed, and Qiu Yao's head flew into the sky. Lin Muyu was speechless. "You killed him before we even finished asking questions. Xiaoyin, you're too hot-tempered," Qin Yin pouted. "He humiliated me and Xiaoxi. Aren't you angry?" "I am angry. I will kill him sooner or later. But it doesn't matter. The Raging Fire region has already shed all pretenses of cordiality with us. There will be a big battle in the future." As she spoke, Lin Muyu's face brimmed with confidence. She was no longer the Lin Muyu from yesterday. She was an expert who had officially stepped into the God Emperor realm. Her understanding of power had reached a whole new level. Beside her, Shi Yan carefully gathered the 5 godheads. She frowned and said, "Unfortunately, there's only one caste immortal godhead. The rest are all mortal godheads." "That's not bad. You can increase your divine power quite a bit after refining them," Lin Muyu said. Qin Yin's frown relaxed. She returned the Xianyuan sword to Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Congratulations, big brother, you've stepped into the God Emperor realm. How is it? It feels good, right?" "It feels good," Lin Muyu said happily. "Xiaoyin, how's your mastery of the reincarnation wheel?" "It's just a little bit of power. It's very weak. I think it can only reverse time for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. It's nothing compared to those consummate God Emperors who can travel hundreds of years." "That's not bad." Lin Muyu brushed off the frost on her body and said, "What do we do now?" Qin Yin looked at the ground. "Get rid of these corpses. Then we'll leave the cave of gods and demons. We'll hide in a secret room and cultivate for a few days. Let's lay low for now. Otherwise we'll be targeted by the Raging Fire region again." Okay. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Muyu and the others also cultivated in the secret room for 3 days. They refined 3 godheads to help Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan improve their cultivation. Tang Xiaoxi was now at the 57th Grotto Heaven realm. It wouldn't be long before she tried to break through to the God Emperor realm. At dusk, the setting sun reflected the outline of the Dragon Mountain on the ground. It was especially quiet. In the forest, tigers and leopards also returned to their nests with their prey in their mouths. On the treetop, a figure lightly floated down. It was Lin Muyu. He landed on a withered tree that looked like an old man in the Dragon Mountain. This short tree seemed to be dead, but Lin Muyu could feel the vitality in the tree. He waved his hand and used his divine power to split the bark. Sure enough, a row of black, round, apple-sized fruits appeared in front of him. Inkjade fruit, one of the spiritual fruits in the 64 domains. The outer shell of the inkjade fruit was hard, but the fruit inside was as clear as jade. After eating it, it could quickly increase the strength of divine power. If cultivated properly, it could yield twice the result with half the effort. There was a total of 7 ink jade fruits. Lin Muyu happily picked all of them and placed them into her cosmos sack. Then she carefully covered them with the tree bark. In a few more years they should bloom and bear fruit again. Roar! Not far away a low roar came. The prey that Lin Muyu had been chasing for half an hour finally appeared. It was a grizzly bear that was more than 10,000 years old. It was also Lin Muyu's dinner. The grizzly bear stared at the enemy with its gloomy eyes. It knew that it couldn't avoid it, so it waved its sharp claws and pounced over. Flames began to cover its whole body. Its speed was getting faster and faster, like an arrow leaving the bow. If it was an expert below the godly state, he or she would have died from this attack. Unfortunately, Lin Muyu was already a true God Emperor. Moreover, she was a God Emperor with a Supreme Being's Godhead. She suddenly opened her right hand and condensed it into a palm. Waves of invisible domain power accumulated in the palm. When the grizzly bear launched a fatal blow, Lin Muyu met it with a palm. Bang! The grizzly bear's lightning-fast speed was forcefully interrupted, and its body fell onto the grass like a huge rock. It spat out a mouthful of blood and died. It was obvious that its heart meridian had been shattered. After stepping into the God the Arch realm, Lin Muyu's control over spatial laws had greatly increased. The strength of this palm strike was comparable to Han Shu's back then. Carrying the grizzly bear's body, Lin Muyu jumped up and flew in the direction of the secret room. When he came to the front of the secret room, he looked from afar. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had already started a fire in the call beside the secret room. Although they were gods, they couldn't always eat raw food. It was still necessary to start a fire. According to Ziyao, there were many god-state experts in East Heaven who didn't pay attention to their diet. They were usually cruel and violent. They ate raw human flesh and drank beast blood. As a result, they got gastroenteritis from indigestion. They were in so much pain every day. However, they had eternal life and couldn't die. Needless to say, it was miserable. Although Lin Muyu felt that the Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor was talking nonsense with a straight face, she still believed it. Anyway, it wasn't a bad thing. Xiaoyin Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu descended from the sky and threw the grizzly bear's body on the ground. She smiled and said, "We can stew bear paw soup tonight." Okay. Qinin smiled and said, "Big brother you, we still lack some onions and garlic. What should we do? Where can I find them? I'll make do." Okay. Fuzhu hugged his knees as he sat on a nearby hill. His deep eyes gazed into the distance, as if he was a peerless god standing on 1,000 feet. Of course, the truth of the matter was that he was responsible for keeping watch here. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to eat dinner. However, Fuzhu was indeed a refined ancient beast. His ethereal aura was not something that could be faked by ordinary people. 4 bear paws were thrown into the pot. Not long after, a very tempting aroma spread out. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were already hungry. They hadn't had a proper meal for many days. But at this moment, Fuzhu suddenly warned, "Master, someone broke in. They're coming very fast." The intruder's aura rushed straight in the direction of the secret room. Lin Muyu said, "Don't worry, it's one of us. They should be from the Spirit Sparrow territory. They know our specific location." Lightning flashed and a person jumped down from the empty grassland. It was the Spirit Sparrow region's vice-region lord, Feng Zhanhai. He was in a very sorry state. The soft armor in front of his chest had been torn apart, and he was covered in blood. There was a ghastly sword wound on his left leg. After he landed, he staggered and could barely stand. "What's going on?" Lin Muyu rushed forward to support him. Feng Zhanhai said angrily, "Lin General, the Raging Fire territory is attacking the Spirit Sparrow territory. Many of our people have already been killed or injured." "Why did they suddenly attack the Spirit Sparrow territory? Weren't you guys in harmony before?" Feng Zhanhai said, "Dongfang Yen said that 5 God Realm experts went missing in the Spirit Sparrow territory, including the God Emperor Qiu Yao. He suspects that they were plotted against by our people. So, Dongfang Yen said that if we don't hand over the people, they'll flatten the Spirit Sparrow territory within 3 days." Lin Muyu was stunned. She and Qin Yin looked at each other speechlessly. Feng Zhanhai also saw the clues. "Lin General, what's going on? Qiu Yao and the others were killed by us." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Deputy Territory Lord, I'll go with you and explain to Dongfang Yen. If he's angry, he can take it out on me." Feng Zhanhai was stunned. Then, "Okay, when do we leave?" "We'll leave after eating." Chapter 995. Deputy Region Lord, how many people did the Raging Fire region send? Qin Yin asked worriedly while holding a bowl of soup. Feng Zhanhai was also holding a bowl of soup, but he really did not have much of an appetite. He said with an ashen face, "They have a total of 12 God Emperors, a total of more than 500 God Realm experts, plus 20,000 servants. They have already blocked the few exits of Ling Ke region's domain castle. If we do not hand over the person in 3 days, they will destroy the barrier and kill us." Lin Muyu swallowed the soup and wiped her mouth. "Xiaoxi, give me another bowl." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi happily went to get the soup. Shi Yan narrowed her beautiful eyes and said, "I'm afraid it's not that simple. The 5 God State experts are just an excuse for Dongfang Yen. His real intention is still to devour the entire Spirit Sparrow territory. Deputy Region Lord, what do you think?" Feng Zhanhai was silent for a while, then said, "As Lord Blazing Angel said, Dongfang Yen wants to annex the surrounding regions for a long time, but the Spirit Sparrow region is not a place to be needed. he wants to eat it, he can eat it. Even if the Raging Fire region wants to eat the Spirit Sparrow region, they will have to break a few teeth. At that time, I'm afraid that the surrounding regions will divide the Raging Fire region. I don't think so. Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, since Dongfang Yen dares to attack the Spirit Sparrow territory, he must be very confident. Besides, the forces he brought with him are not all of the Raging Fire territory. He is not afraid of the attacks of the other forces. Feng Zhanhai's expression was a bit ugly. Qin Yin's words hit the nail on the head. The Raging Fire region actually only needed to use half of its forces to destroy the Sparrow region. Moreover, Dongfang Yen had brought more than half of its forces. Moreover, Dongfang Yen himself was an expert who was about to become a perfected emperor god. Even Feng Zhanlin would not be able to match him. He was the biggest trump card. Lin General, what do you plan to do? Feng Zhanhai said, are you going to throw your life away like this? Who said I will throw my life away? I'm just going to tell Dongfang Yen that I killed him. If there's anything he can come after me, then I'll run. As long as Dongfang Yen can't catch up with me, it'll be fine. But Dongfang Yen is very resourceful. As long as he wants to find you, he can turn the surrounding area upside down. That's not necessarily true. We'll know once we take a look. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked at each other. They both knew that this trip wouldn't be simple, but they had to go. After all, they were the ones who had caused the trouble, and they couldn't let the Spirit Sparrow region take the blame. As for how to escape, it was very simple. Two god emperors revolving samsara wheel could save their lives, not to mention that Lin Muyu had the divine book of the law of space in her hands. Even Dongfang Yen might not be able to kill her. After dinner, they brought Fu Zhu to the Spirit Sparrow region. 2 hours later, the Spirit Sparrow region's domain castle appeared in their vision. The night was filled with fog, but after Lin Muyu and the others gathered their divine power in their eyes, they could still see clearly. Sparks appeared on the ground outside the Spirit Sparrow region. They were torches. Tens of thousands of servants in armor were already in formation outside the domain castle, surrounding the entire Spirit Sparrow region so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. The servants were mortals. Although they couldn't be of much use, they could still strengthen their prestige. Lin Muyu frowned. Her gaze landed on the empty space in front of the army. There were hundreds of people standing there, all of them were God-state experts. Among them there was no lack of god emperors. Moreover, these people seemed to have already sensed the power of Lin Muyu and the others. Feng Zhanhai flew at the front and shouted, Eastern Region Lord, I'm Feng Zhanhai. Don't attack. On the ground, an old man in a white robe flew up slowly. His face was full of ridicule. Feng Zhanhai? Haven't you been taught a lesson? How dare you enter the domain castle so arrogantly? Feng Zhanhai said respectfully, I have brought a few distinguished guests. I hope Eastern Region Lord can accommodate us. The Sparrow Domain will naturally give you an explanation. We will. Let Feng Zhanlin come out and speak. Yes. Feng Zhanhai brought Lin Muyu and the others through the crowd and flew to the front of the domain castle. He shouted, Brother, I'm back. The gate of the domain castle slowly opened. Feng Zhanlin, wearing a suit of armor, walked out with everyone. He asked, Zhanhai, are you all right? I'm fine. Lin General and the others came back with me. Ah. Feng Zhanlin's face turned cold. You are so insensible. The Sparrow Domain is facing a disaster. You brought Lin General back with you. Aren't you bringing him along? Lin Muyu was moved. Feng Zhanlin didn't need to say that. In fact, we killed Dongfang Yan's people. We will bear the consequences ourselves. This? Feng Zhanlin gritted his teeth. How can you do that? Don't you know how strong they are? I know, but we must come. Let's go and meet Dongfang Yan. Okay. Everyone slowly walked to the front of the Raging Fire Territory's formation. Dongfang Yan and a few emperor gods of the Raging Fire Territory with unfathomable cultivation also noticed Lin Muyu and the others. All of them were surprised. These young people seemed to have ordinary cultivation, but their breathing was long, making people feel like they couldn't see through them. Dongfang Yan said coldly, Feng Zhanlin, have you thought it through? Do you think you can change anything by bringing a few helpers? Feng Zhanlin said, Dongfang Territory Lord, why are you so aggressive? Dongfang Yan laughed out loud. The strong are the kings and the weak are the bandits. This is the rule that has never changed. Since the Ling Ke territory has captured my people, you should let them go. Otherwise, I will attack the Ling Ke territory tonight. Wait. Lin Muyu took a step forward. Her eyes were cold. Dongfang Territory Lord, the disappearance of your people has nothing to do with the Sparrow Domain. I killed them. What did you say? Dongfang Yen shouted in a low voice. You think you can kill Qiuyao? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk nonsense here? Lin Muyu smiled faintly. She didn't say anything. Instead, she activated the divine power inside her body. Suddenly, the power of the Emperor Realm roared out. The invisible elephant spell rotated without any wind, forming a powerful domain around them. Even the Emperor Realm experts behind Dongfang Yen were forced to take a few steps back. They couldn't resist Lin Muyu's power. Now, do I have the right to spout nonsense? Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Who are you, little friend? Dongfang Yen squinted his eyes and asked. He knew that Lin Muyu was strong, but not strong enough to make him feel threatened. After all, there were hundreds of God Realm experts behind him. Moreover, Lin Muyu's aura was only at the 60th Cave Realm. She was just a rookie who had just entered the Emperor Realm. Lin Muyu, the Left Marshal of the East Heaven Realm. Lin Muyu said slowly. From the East Heaven Realm? Dongfang Yen clenched his fists slowly and smiled. So you are from the Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor. No wonder you are so arrogant. But so what? This is not the territory of the East Heaven. You can't control this. Moreover, how can you say that you killed Qiuyao and the others? Lin Muyu took out 2 pieces of godhood and said, Here, these are the godhood of your subordinates. Do you recognize them? Dongfang Yan's face changed dramatically. Lin Muyu's action was too provocative. Even the group of God Realm experts behind him couldn't help but become restless. They were all filled with righteous indignation. Lin Muyu continued, I think the 64 domains should have their own rules. Eastern Domain Lord, your 5 subordinates suddenly attacked me and my companions, that's why we killed them. They only have themselves to blame, no one else can be blamed. If Eastern Domain Lord continues to be so aggressive, then you're being unreasonable. Why should I be reasonable? Dongfang Yen laughed. If you kill the people of the Raging Fire Territory, I will kill your whole clan. This is the rule of the Raging Fire Territory. Everyone was ready to fight. Many of them had already taken out their weapons and magic tools. Lin Muyu looked calm and continued, Then I killed your people. Don't cause trouble for the Sparrow Territory. Who do you think you are? Why do you have to set the rules of the 64 domains? Behind Dongfang Yen, a young ultimate god couldn't help but curse. Don't think that the people of the East Heaven are so great. Go back to your East Heaven and eat sh*t. This is the 64 domains, not a place where you can do whatever you want. Go away. The group of God Realm experts also cursed. Go away. Dongfang Territory Lord, what do you say? Lin Muyu asked. Dongfang Yen said coldly, I have my own rules. Since you are an honored guest of the Ling Sparrow Territory, if you kill someone, the Ling Sparrow Territory will also have to bear the responsibility. Otherwise, won't I, Dongfang Yen, be laughed at by the other forces in the 64 territories? So, you don't have any rules? Yes, my rule is to kill all those who offend me. Dongfang Yan's voice was cold as he pulled out his long sword. Lin Muyu was a little helpless. The people of the 64 domains really had no rules at all. Sorry to implicate you, Wind Territory Lord. Don't mention it. Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly and said while holding his sword, The Raging Fire Territory has long wanted to kill me, but now they have found a pretext. It is my honor to fight side by side with Lin General. Besides, the Sparrow Territory is not a pushover. How can we be destroyed by the Raging Fire Territory? Don't you think so, brothers? Behind him, the group of God Realm experts roared, Fight with them. Lin Muyu smiled softly and said, It is also my honor to fight side by side with such an upright person like Wind Territory Lord. A big battle was imminent. Dongfang Yan's face was full of mockery. Feng Zhanlin, we have been fighting for hundreds of years. Now it is time to determine a winner. Come on, I will kill you within 100 moves. Feng Zhanlin did not say anything. He suddenly disappeared from where he was, and in the next moment, he had already slashed the sky full of flames. Boom. Flames bloomed in the sky. The 2 territory lords were already fighting. Lin Muyu pulled out the Xianyuan sword without hesitation. He suppressed the anger in his heart and vented it through killing. Now he finally understood why Xiao called this place the Wild Mystic Land. The gods here were not ordinary savages. Chaos of all lives. The Xianyuan sword surged with the light of the invisible elephant spell and swept through the crowd. In an instant, 2 ultimate gods turned into a mist of blood. They were killed instantly. Behind him, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Fuzhu also joined the battle. Just like that, a war between the gods began in the 64 domains. Chapter 996. Waves of scorching wind blew wildly in the air. Each wave was condensed by the power of a god realm expert and could kill without leaving a trace. Feng Zhanhai led nearly 100 god realm experts of the Ling Ke domain to form a human wall in front of the domain fortress. They had to protect the domain fortress. Otherwise, if the god realm experts from the Raging Fire domain destroyed the barrier of the domain fortress, then the domain fortress would lose all its value. Lin Muyu wielded the Shenyuan sword and slaughtered in the sky and on the ground. As long as the opponent wasn't a god emperor, she would be able to decide the winner within 3 to 5 moves. Both sides didn't hold back and each move was fatal. No one dared to hold back their strength. For a moment, the world was filled with the cries and wails of the gods. Broken divine sparks fell like falling stars. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were like a single entity, protecting Shi Yan and standing in front of the Ling Ke castle. No matter how many people attacked, it was of no use. Especially when Qin Yin's destruction and pity were used consecutively, it was almost invulnerable. After stepping into the God Emperor realm, her Shi Yan's 7 slashes were much more powerful than before. The whistling sound of violence was incessant. Corpses of God realm experts kept falling from the sky. Lin Muyu activated her divine power and formed a tough diamond protective aura around her body, repelling all the external forces. Just like that, she stood in front of the domain fortress with her sword in hand, destroying the enemies that tried to attack for Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. For a moment, the world was filled with the cries of ghosts and gods. In less than 2 hours, countless God realm experts had died. The plains were littered with divine sparks and corpses. The 20,000 servants of the Raging Fire domain could only watch from afar. They were at daggers drawn, but they couldn't do anything to help. Their attacks were like tickles to the God realm experts. They were completely useless. Voila! The indestructible Shenyuan sword cleaved a heavily injured God King into 2 along with his shield. The Shenyuan sword did not even come into contact with him, only killing him with sword chi. Golden blood sprayed out like rain. Lin Muyu frowned as her heart became colder and colder, because there were fewer and fewer experts of the Sparrow region around her. If this continued, they would probably be wiped out in less than 2 hours. He was panting heavily. Even with his supreme being personality, it was difficult for him to sustain the continuous fierce battles. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan looked even more exhausted. In the air, Feng Zhanlin was covered in blood, while his opponent, Dongfang Yan, was in a much better state, only suffering some light injuries. It's time. Lin Muyu's spirit pulse technique could sense the strength of Dongfang Yan's aura. His strength had already been consumed by more than 30% by Feng Zhanlin. With just a little help, Dongfang Yan's attack might fail. I need someone to help me deter Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu held her sword and retreated, leaning closely against Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, panting heavily. At the same time, golden blood flowed down from her ears. Unknowingly, she was also injured. She did not even notice the damage to the divine wall. The battle just now was too chaotic and intense. Capture the ringleader first to capture the followers? Qin Yin asked. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and said in a low voice, I want to take advantage of the moment when Dongfang Yan wants to kill Feng Zhanlin. That is when his guard is at its weakest. But Dongfang Yan's people will not let me succeed so easily. His god emperors are all eyeing him, so Xiaoyin, you have to use destruction and mercy to help me block these god emperors. Only then will I have a chance. Xiaoxi and I will attack together. Sister Xian and Fuzhu will be responsible for defending against the other gods. It's settled. Once I make a move, you guys make a move as well. They quickly nodded. Lin Muyu looked around and found that everyone was more or less injured. That was good. True strength was honed in life and death situations. This time, fighting the strong with the weak was originally a kind of training. People who always lived in a greenhouse would never become the best. In the air, the injuries on Feng Zhanlin's body increased, and his aura became weaker. As an 84th heavenly abode god emperor, Feng Zhanlin was only 4 heavens lower than Dongfang Yan, but his strength was at least 30% weaker. That was why he was still heavily injured by Dongfang Yan even with the help of many experts from the Sparrow region. Sword chi flew. Dongfang Yan stood proudly in the air. He put his palms together and used the power of sword chi to control the sword. The sword turned into flames and flew around Feng Zhanlin. Pooh! He dodged Feng Zhanlin's long saber with another slash, leaving a frightening wound on his leg. Still not giving in? Dongfang Yen looked down at the ground and said arrogantly, "Your people are almost all dead. Feng Zhanlin, what are you holding on for? As long as you surrender to me, I am willing to make you the new Deputy Region Lord of the Raging Fire Region. Take your people and surrender to me." "Bah, you old man, stop daydreaming." Feng Zhanlin roared angrily and charged over with the two God Kings. In the air, the sword light slashed across and golden blood splashed everywhere. The bodies of the two God Kings of the Spirit Sparrow region were slowly separated. With their strength, they were completely unable to resist Dongfang Yan's attack. The power of the flying sword he controlled was truly not to be underestimated. Feng Zhanlin's long saber fell from the sky with the momentum of Mount Tai. Dongfang Yan's face was full of smiles. "Do you think I only have one sword?" With that, another flying sword flew out from behind Dongfang Yan and forcefully shook off Feng Zhanlin's long saber. The previous flying sword came from behind and pierced through Feng Zhanlin's abdomen, causing blood to spurt out. "Stubborn fool, since you are not willing to surrender, then die." Dongfang Yan's eyes were full of killing intent. His two swords spun left and right, creating a storm and attacking. At this moment, Feng Zhanlin's heart was filled with a strong sense of death. He had even given up resisting. His speed could not keep up with Dongfang Yan's flying sword. No matter what, he could not resist. "Wind Region Lord." A voice came from below, causing Feng Zhanlin's heart to tremble. This voice was very familiar. It was Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu's figure appeared on Feng Zhanlin's left like lightning and swept the Shenyuan sword. She was also well versed in the art of flying swords and was much more familiar with the trajectory of flying swords than Feng Zhanlin. She accurately judged the Shenyuan sword and shook off the flying sword on the left. At the same time, she passed by Feng Zhanlin's right side and raised her sword again, knocking off both of Dongfang Yan's swords in almost half a second. "Everything in the world, listen to my command." Silently chanting, Lin Muyu completely sealed the surrounding space, making it impossible for people to escape. At the same time, she gently raised her left hand and shouted, "Whirlwind!" Taking advantage of the momentum, a fierce wind raged, wrapping around Dongfang Yan's body like a tornado. Presumptuous. Dongfang Yan had never suffered such humiliation, so he punched the storm away. But at the moment when the storm dispersed, Lin Muyu, who was holding the Shenyuan sword, attacked like lightning. The Shenyuan sword was like an indestructible golden lightning, striking at Dongfang Yan's neck. "Arrogant." Dongfang Yan sneered, raised his hand to grab the flying sword that was flying towards him, and threw it at the Shenyuan sword. Dang! The flying sword was bounced back a little. The strength of the two sides was actually equal. How is this possible? Dongfang Yan's heart was cold. He never thought that a mere 60th level Dongtian Divine Emperor could actually block his attack. But Lin Muyu did not say anything. The Shenyuan sword drew a golden trajectory, and in an instant she made 7 or 8 strikes. Each strike was fatal. Dongfang Yan even had to use both of his flying swords to block Lin Muyu's attack. If Dongfang Yan's fighting style was like a mountain, then Lin Muyu was like a monstrous flood. Her storm-like attacks kept shaking the mountain that was Dongfang Yan, and each strike was stronger than the previous one, making it hard for him to defend. Territory Lord. A group of raging fire region god emperors and god kings were all shocked, and they rushed over with their weapons. Swoosh. The light in the sky expanded, and a beautiful woman with 4 golden wings appeared in front of them. She waved her sword, and millions of golden dragon crystals fell from the sky. "Go help the territory lord." A middle-aged emperor god roared, and the battle axe in his hand smashed a few dragon crystals, and then he chopped at Qin Yin's white neck. Qin Yin raised her head and looked at him. Her blazing dawn eyes surged with the power of the domain, causing the god emperor to feel uneasy all over. And as the star sword surged, it brought with it a destructive power. Bang! The sword knocked back the battle axe, and the emperor god's mind was in chaos, but the other emperor gods also flew away. Qin Yin instantly withdrew her sword, and she stopped in the air like a beautiful statue. The territory was quiet as if time and space had stopped. The 4th strike of Shi Yan's 7 strikes. Pity? The group of emperor gods couldn't move, and they all looked at Qin Yin dumbfounded. And in the field of vision of the emperor gods, a ball of fire rushed towards Dongfang Yan, and in that fire was a beautiful and demonic woman, the 9-tailed demon fox Tang Xiaoxi. The Dig's spear attacked, and Dongfang Yan had to defend himself. He quickly used his sword to block, but the moment Dongfang Yan blocked Tang Xiaoxi, The opportunity that Lin Muyu had been waiting for finally came. Without any moves, the Xianyuan sword stabbed into Dongfang Yan's abdomen at the fastest speed, and pierced through the wall and blood splattered. Wah! Dongfang Yan groaned, and the sword in his right hand went straight for Lin Muyu's neck. Of course Lin Muyu wouldn't die with him. She suddenly leaned back to avoid the attack, and her right leg drew a beautiful arc in the air, and she kicked Dongfang Yan's injured abdomen heavily. It was even faintly visible that his intestines were about to spill out. Ah! Dongfang Yan retreated quickly, and with a sudden shake of his arms, he used his profound cultivation to repel Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's attacks, and dove to the ground and shouted, "Everyone stop the enemy!" On the ground, the experts of the Raging Fire region were stunned by Shi Yan and Fuzhu. But even so, Dongfang Yan still escaped from the death zone controlled by Lin Muyu. Damn it! Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword, and looked in Dongfang Yan's direction. She didn't expect that he would still escape. Dongfang Yan also looked at Lin Muyu through the crowd. This young god emperor was like a divine soldier descending from the heavens, but he was so powerful that even his helpers were so difficult to deal with. Retreat! Dongfang Yan ordered without hesitation. Chapter 997. In the night sky, the people of the Raging Fire region retreated like a tide, turning into meteors in the sky and disappearing. However, the servants on the ground did not move so fast. They all looked panicked as they galloped back, trampling each other and causing countless casualties. Balls of divine power illuminated everything outside the castle. The people of the Sparrow region naturally did not dare to chase after them. They were much weaker than their opponents. If they chased after them, Dongfang Yan would order them to turn back and attack, and the strength of the Sparrow region would be greatly reduced. Cough, cough, cough. After Feng Zhanlin landed on the ground, he coughed violently. His face was pale and the wounds on his body were still bleeding. However, he was not the most miserable. Feng Zhanhai's injuries were even more severe. At most, Feng Zhanhai could fight 4 god emperors alone. It was already a miracle that he did not die. Looking at the corpses on the ground, the Sparrow region and the Raging Fire region were evenly divided. The Raging Fire region had many people and could afford to die, but the Sparrow region was different. This battle had really hurt them. For a moment, Feng Zhanlin's eyes were full of desolation. He could not help but kneel down and cry, "Father, Feng Zhanlin is unfilial. I failed to protect the great cause you left behind. Feng Zhanlin has let down the ancestors of the Sparrow region. Brother!" Feng Zhanhai walked over with the help of a servant. He frowned and said, "You have not let down the ancestors. You have tried your best. It was the Raging Fire region that was too overbearing. Besides, this battle, the Raging Fire region had the momentum to win, but they were defeated. Our Sparrow region was not defeated." Feng Zhanlin slowly stood up and came to Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. He said respectfully, "Lin General, thank you. Otherwise, the Sparrow region would not have been able to escape this disaster. Thank you, Lin General, for defeating Dongfang Yan. Otherwise, today would have been the day of the Sparrow region's extinction." "I, Feng Zhanlin, thank you on behalf of the entire Sparrow region," Lin Muyu said lightly. "You don't have to thank me, Territory Master. If you hadn't consumed Dongfang Yan's power, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to succeed. The most important thing now is to treat the wounded quickly and regroup. The Raging Fire territory won't give up the attack on the Sparrow territory so easily. If everything goes well, Dongfang Yan will come back after he recovers." Feng Zhanlin's face was ashen. "Yes, I understand. Men, collect the corpses of the dead and treat the wounded immediately." "Yes, Region Lord." Feng Zhanlin turned around. "Lin General and the ladies are also injured. Please rest in the castle." "Yes." Lin Muyu and the others really needed to rest. After entering the domain castle, they stayed in their original places, applying medicine and healing their wounds. In the early hours of the next day, cries could be heard from every corner of the castle. Too many people had died in the battle last night, and the population of the Sparrow territory was small to begin with. Many people had lost their loved ones, so it was inevitable for them to cry. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. A maid said respectfully, "Is Lin General awake?" Lin Muyu opened her eyes and moved her body slightly. She felt a sharp pain from her wounds. She said, "Yes, what's the matter?" The maid said, "Region Lord asked me to bring you the Ling Lang fruit, a spirit fruit that can speed up the healing of wounds." "Got it. Leave it outside." "Yes." As the footsteps faded away, Lin Muyu was still lying on the bed. Beside him, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were sleeping soundly in his arms. Everyone had been injured last night and needed Lin Muyu's healing power, so he had enjoyed a night of bliss. It was just that his injured body couldn't enjoy it at all. Carefully pushing away Qin Yin's arm, Lin Muyu tried to sit up but found Tang Xiaoxi's snow-white leg across his body. This girl was always so restless when she slept. He lifted Tang Xiaoxi's snow-white leg and carefully moved it away, but Tang Xiaoxi seemed to be dreaming of something. She opened her arms and hugged him even tighter. A pair of proud peaks pressed against Lin Muyu's chest. Damn it. Lin Muyu had no choice but to kiss her on the lips and whispered, "Okay, I'll go get breakfast." Only then did Tang Xiaoxi loosen her grip and continue to fall asleep. There was indeed a plate of fruit on the ground outside. It was Ling Lang fruit, a spirit fruit that had a miraculous healing effect. However, there were not many of them. It could be imagined that most of the wounded in the Sparrow domain didn't have the right to eat it. Lin Muyu put the fruit in the room with a guilty conscience, so he put on his cloak and walked out. It was good for his injuries to heal more. In the garden corridor, Feng Zhanlin was strolling. There were also 3 god emperors and Feng Zhanhai. They all looked very dispirited. When they saw Lin Muyu, they immediately came up and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Lin General." Lin Muyu hurriedly said, "Domain Lord, no need to be so polite. Why is Lin General up so early? I can't sleep. Isn't it the same for Domain Lord? How much strength did we lose last night?" "Nearly half." Feng Zhanlin's face was very ugly. "If Dongfang Yan invades again, I'm afraid we won't have enough strength to resist the Raging Fire Domain. In fact, the Raging Fire Domain's losses are not small." Feng Zhanlin was stunned. What does Lin General mean? Is there a deeper meaning? Lin Muyu smiled. "What I'm saying is, if the Wind Region Lord wants to fight against the Raging Fire Region with the power of the Realm of Soul Sparrow alone, then the Realm of Soul Sparrow will definitely perish. The only way for the Realm of Soul Sparrow to survive is to unite." Unite? Yes, there are other domains near the Sparrow domain. They must have been bullied by the Raging Fire domain for a long time, right? Feng Zhanlin frowned. There are 2 domains near the Sparrow domain. One is the Celestial Foothill domain, and the other is the Golden Dragon domain. The Golden Dragon domain has been bullied the most. The people from the Raging Fire domain have attacked the Golden Dragon domain's castle twice. Even the domain lord of the Golden Dragon domain, Wu, was forced to marry his daughter, Wu Yu, to Dongfang Yan. It can't be? Lin Muyu was shocked. Dongfang Yan is already so old. How can he take a concubine? Feng Zhanlin said, "Yes, Dongfang Yan knows how to collect yin to nourish yang. It is said that he has dozens of wives and concubines in the castle. The mental cultivation method he practices is called the 5-yang sword technique. The word yang emphasizes the harmony of yin and yang, so the 5-yang sword technique is very fierce and overbearing. I think Lin General has seen its power." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "Many of us have died under the 5-yang sword technique. According to Domain Lord Feng, we can unite with the Golden Dragon domain. Once the 2 weak domains unite, we may be able to compete with the Raging Fire domain." Feng Zhanlin frowned. "It's not that I don't want to, but I have no choice." "Why?" "This has been going on for a long time. A few years ago I tried to persuade Domain Lord Wu Feng, but he refused. Wu Feng is very stubborn and doesn't want to cooperate with others. His son Wu Su is a real playboy. He is arrogant and has a bad reputation. So even if I want to ally with the Golden Dragon domain, I'm afraid the Golden Dragon domain will not be willing to cooperate with us." "How strong is the Golden Dragon domain?" "We're considered the weakest among the regions in the south. We have a total of 5 Emperor Gods, 22 Divine Kings, and more than 200 Ultimate Gods. However, our Sparrow territory lost too many people last night, so our current strength should be similar to the Golden Dragon territory." "Domain Lord, are you willing to go with us to persuade the Golden Dragon domain again?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Feng Zhanlin was stunned. "Lin General still wants to ally with the Golden Dragon domain? It's not that I want to, but I have to do it." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment before her eyes glinted. "If the Golden Dragon realm is willing to ally with us, that would be for the best. If not, we'll destroy the Golden Dragon realm and forcefully take over their forces." Feng Zhanlin was shocked. "I'm afraid it will start a war. The war has already begun. Don't you know, Domain Lord?" Feng Zhanlin thought for a few seconds and said, "All right, I understand. When do we go to the Golden Dragon domain? We leave at noon and arrive in the afternoon. All right. When it was almost noon, Tang Xiaoxi, Qinin, Shiyin, and the others woke up. They dressed up and set off with Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, and Feng Zhanhai to the Golden Dragon domain. The distance between the Golden Dragon domain and the Sparrow domain was more than 300 kilometers. Most of the way was desert and it was currently summer. The group avoided the areas where the wind saw was and carefully flew through the mountains in the desert. When it was close to dusk, the desert finally disappeared from the horizon. It was replaced by an area of the Gobi Desert, and a dense forest could be seen in front of them. The weather in the primordial mystery land was very abnormal, and the geographical environment was often unexpected. The originally impossible terrain could be connected, but Feng Zhanlin and the others were already used to it. Not long after, there were signs of people in the forest ahead. There were even paths in the forest, and they could vaguely see white and blue flags fluttering in the air. It was cavalry. Soon they could hear the sound of hooves. There are cavalry in the Golden Dragon domain? Lin Muyu frowned. Yes. Feng Zhanlin smiled. Although the Golden Dragon domain is one of the weakest among the 64 domains, it has a large number of local servants. The domain castle of the Golden Dragon domain is also quite large, with more than 200,000 servants living there. Wu Feng and his son covet these mortal pleasures, so they formed a large army and forged armor to protect their territory. In addition, it is said that they built a city on a large scale, and there are countless mortal beauties inside. Lin Muyu frowned and did not say anything. But not long after, they could see wooden stakes erected on the side of the road. The wood was still new, indicating that it had just been made. There were cries coming from under the stakes. Many people dressed like commoners were being pointed at by the cavalry with swords. There were already people who had been killed on the stakes along the way. The bodies were nailed there and some were even twitching. What's going on? Lin Muyu was a little surprised. Feng Zhanlin said, "This is the execution of the people from the Golden Dragon domain. Should we go down and take a look?" Let's go. Chapter 998. The pain of a nail being driven into the wrist was unbearable for most people. Many people were just nailed to the wooden stakes, waiting for their blood to run dry and die. It was extremely cruel, so much so that some of the people who hadn't been nailed to death were crying crazily. Not far away, a man sobbed and knelt on the ground, crying, "Stand up, you piece of trash." The knight pointed his cold sword at him. The man refused to get up until the knight's sword pierced his back. Only then did he stand up, trembling. His eyes were red as he said, "I don't want to die, I really don't want to die." The knight sneered, "Do you think you can stay alive just because you don't want to die?" At this moment, a few figures descended from the sky. It was Lin Muyu and the others. People who descended from the sky must be gods. There was no doubt about it. The group of knights from the Golden Dragon domain dismounted and knelt down. "Greetings, gods. May I know which domain you are from?" Feng Zhanlin said lightly, "I am Feng Zhanlin from the Sparrow domain." The leader of the knights was a middle-aged man with a big beard. He was startled for a moment, then smiled. "So it is the domain lord of the Sparrow domain. What brings the domain lord to our Golden Dragon domain?" "Just passing by." Feng Zhanlin looked at the prisoners being executed along the way and asked, "Sir Knight, what crimes have these people committed? Who gave the order to punish them?" The captain of the knights grinned. "Oh, this is the order of the young region master to punish these criminals. As for their crimes, when the young region master was building the palace in the castle, these lowly people were slacking off and embezzling the funds for the construction of the palace. Well, at least most of them were punished because of this, but this one is different." Lin Muyu was surprised. "How is he different?" The leader of the knights took a deep look at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "You may not know this, but this boy is a manservant in the courtyard. Originally, he was only in charge of cleaning the courtyard and serving tea. However, yesterday he dared to break the young master's favorite moonlight cup while he was cleaning. So, in a fit of rage, the young master decided to execute him by cutting his waist." "Cut him in half?" Qin Yin frowned. "What a cruel punishment." The captain smiled and said, "Miss, being cut at the waist is already considered a light punishment. In our Golden Dragon domain, there are dozens of other punishments such as blinding, pouring silver, amputating the wrist, molting the skin, and torturing the heart." "You want to kill someone just for breaking a cup?" Tang Xiaoxi didn't understand. "Yes. These are the rules of the Golden Dragon domain. These untouchables are just servants. They were born to serve the gods of the Golden Dragon domain, but if they dare to rebel they will be killed. This is the rule of iron and blood, and there will be no compromise. This has been the rule of the Golden Dragon domain for thousands of years, and it has never changed. Lin Muyu sneered, no wonder the Golden Dragon realm has never been able to grow stronger. It has always been so weak. What did you say? A young cavalryman on a white horse immediately drew his sword and pointed it at Lin Muyu. I dare you to say that again. Who do you think you are? How dare you insult the rules of our Golden Dragon domain in our territory? Lin Muyu didn't get angry with him. She just waved her hand and said with a smile, I am who I am. What? Can't you scold the rules of the Golden Dragon domain? How dare you? The young cavalryman's sword fell from the air. Clang. With a crisp sound, Lin Muyu only drew the Xinyuan sword an inch out of its sheath, but the edge of the sword met the cavalryman's sword and broke it. The cold airflow blew out and threw the young cavalryman off his horse. He was at most in the heaven realm, so how could he compare with a celestial emperor like Lin Muyu? Instead it was the captain who shouted, Wu Yong, do you want to die? How dare you offend a god? You must be tired of living. As he said this he hurriedly apologized, God, I'm really sorry. My subordinate is young and ignorant, so he offended you. Please don't argue with this idiot. Lin Muyu smiled. Don't worry, I won't get angry with an ant. But Sir Cavalryman, can't these people be pardoned? Must they be killed? No. The captain's voice was calm. If I pardon them and spare their lives, I'm afraid that I'll be the one to die if the young lord pursues the matter. Moreover, as a soldier of the Golden Dragon Domain servant army, I have to obey the young lord's orders. So, please don't make things difficult for me. These criminals in front of me must die. Immediately, the young man who broke the moonlight cup hurriedly crawled forward and hugged Lin Muyu's boots. He cried loudly, God save me, save me. I still have a 12-year-old sister who has no one to take care of. If I die, my sister will starve to death or become someone else's concubine. Please save me, God. Lin Muyu was ruthless when she killed people, but when facing helpless people, she couldn't help but feel compassion. She raised her head and said, Sir Knight, I want to protect the dozens of criminals in front of me in the name of the Spirit Sparrow region. Can I? If they cause any damage to the Golden Dragon domain, I'll talk to the young master face to face and ask for compensation or other solutions. The captain frowned. This, Feng Zhanlin said coldly, what can't I? Behind him, the dozen or so gods brought by Feng Zhanhai all pulled out their swords and bows. If they really fought, the Golden Dragon domain's cavalrymen would probably be completely wiped out. The captain had no choice but to cup his fists and said, Then, please follow me back to the domain castle. This way I can answer to the young master. What do you think? Okay. Lin Muyu readily agreed. Thus, the group of people escorted the prisoners and followed the cavalry to the domain castle. When the sun completely set in the west, a huge golden castle appeared in the wilderness. The Golden Dragon domain, just like its name suggested, there was a huge dragon head carved on the gate of the domain castle. It was made of pure gold, and just the dragon head alone cost at least 300 kilograms of gold. The richness of the Golden Dragon domain could be seen from this. Lin Muyu looked up at the Golden Dragon head with mixed feelings. Although this ancient secret territory was the residence of the gods, it had not completely broken away from the customs of mortals. In fact, it was better than mortals, and the attacks between the gods were the same as mortals. The only difference between the gods and mortals was their strength, but there was no essential difference. The living facilities in the domain castle were very simple. Homeless people could be seen eating cold steamed buns and poor people suffering from all kinds of illnesses. In stark contrast, there was a golden palace in the distance. The Golden Dragon Palace was the center of the Golden Dragon domain, and also the residence of Wu Feng, Wu Su, and other rulers. The young master is playing in the garden. He gods, please wait here. I'll go in and inform him. The captain said respectfully. The garden was a garden behind the Golden Dragon Palace hall. It was elegant and unique. Green vines crawled along the black and white brick walls, and flowers decorated them from time to time. The palace walls were 5 meters tall, even taller than the palace walls of the Zetian Palace Hall. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin couldn't help but look at each other. This small Golden Dragon domain really knew how to enjoy life even more than the emperors of the mortal world. A few minutes later, the captain came back and said, Gods, the young master said that only the Feng domain lord can go in. The others are not qualified to see the young master. Feng Zhanlin's face turned cold. What does that mean? Does the puny Wusu really think he's the emperor of the Golden Dragon domain? Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He suddenly swung his right hand and the hilt of the Shenyuan sword slammed open the iron gate. The invisible elephant spell spread out, forcing the servants and guards to kneel. He stepped into the garden with Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan. The guards along the way didn't dare to be vigilant, but they all knelt under the control of the invisible elephant spell. Who is so bold? Not far away, two people in golden armor rushed over. They were two godly state experts. It just so happened that Lin Muyu also wanted to see how strong the gods of the Golden Dragon domain were. Unfortunately, the two ultimate gods were unbelievably weak. They could barely move forward after stepping into the domain realm when they were within 50 meters of Lin Muyu. When they were within 10 meters of Lin Muyu, they were already panting heavily with their faces turning pale. "Kneel," Lin Muyu said lightly. Plop, plop. The two gods knelt on the ground. Their faces were full of surprise, but it turned into awe. It was a natural reverence for someone stronger. They said respectfully, "Is it the Emperor God?" Lin Muyu didn't answer. She just led the people of the Linke domain into the depths of the garden. In the distance, there were sounds of laughter and people moving among the flowers. Under the flower racks made of rare flowers and fruits, a dozen or so beautiful maids were sitting on the jade steps. They wore thin silk clothes, and their exquisite and enchanting figures were faintly discernible. In the middle of the jade steps, a young man in a golden robe was lying. His head was resting on the white and slender legs of a maid, and he was hugging a woman on each side. His hands were moving up and down the women, and he was even humming a tune. He seemed very uncomfortable. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan's faces immediately turned ugly. As women, they were most unwilling to see such a scene of a man enslaving a woman. The leader of the cavalry hurriedly went forward and said, "Young lord, they broke in." What? Wu Su turned around and stood up from the group of beauties. His face was considered handsome, but he looked sick. He raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Feng Zhanlin, you broke into my garden without permission. What is the meaning of this?" "Nothing. I'm just helping old Master Wu Feng discipline his useless son." Feng Zhanlin stepped forward and slapped Wu Su's face with his fingers like lightning. He was immediately pushed back nearly 10 meters. Bastard. Wu Su had never suffered such humiliation before. As he slid back along the ground, he controlled his external force and quickly spread out a domain that only a god emperor could possess. Raging flames surged out of his body as he said angrily, "Feng Zhanlin, how dare you come to my Golden Dragon domain and behave atrociously?" Chapter 999. Men summon the guards of the main hall. Wu Su clenched her teeth. The young master's attire on her body was burned to ashes. Her expression became extremely ferocious. She looked at the maids and said, "My darlings, enter the inner court. Your husband is here to take care of some matters." The maids left one after another. At the same time, more and more guards of the Golden Dragon domain appeared. There were many god state experts among them, but they were much weaker than Lin Muyu and the others. The leader of the knights was a sensible person. He said hurriedly, "Young master, don't be so agitated. I think the Feng domain lord came here with good intentions. Why don't we wait for the domain lord to come and decide?" Good intentions. Wu Su still felt the burning pain on his face. His eyes were full of resentment. He said, "Feng Zhanlin, don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Golden Dragon domain just because you are a senior. This is my territory. You are nothing here." Feng Zhanlin crossed his arms in front of his chest and said indifferently, "Is that so? Well, I was seriously injured in the battle with Dongfang Yan a day ago. Now I can only use less than half of my strength. Since you are also an emperor god, why don't we have a fight? You really have no sense of shame." Wu Su sneered, "A dignified 84th stage paradise god emperor dares to provoke me, a young junior who has just entered the god emperor realm. Feng Zhanlin, you have disgraced the entire Spirit Sparrow region." Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but laugh. "What do you want to do?" Wu Su's eyes were cold. "Nothing. When the people of the Golden Dragon domain arrive, we will deal with you according to the rules of the Golden Dragon domain. You, Feng Zhanlin, trespassed into the garden without permission. My father will not kill you because of your friendship. Then I will kill your subordinates as a warning to others." Wu Su's eyes swept across Feng Zhanhai, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and the others. When he saw Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan, he couldn't take his eyes off them. "Who are they?" Wu Su asked. The leader of the knights said hurriedly, "They came with the Wind Region Lord. It was this young man who said he wanted to save the prisoners' lives and was willing to compensate. Young Region Lord, this was originally a misunderstanding. Please don't be angry lest the relationship between the two regions is damaged. It's none of your business." Scram. Wusu's expression was quite ferocious. She looked deeply at Lin Muyu and asked, "What's your name?" Lin Muyu greets the young domain lord. Lin Muyu's smile was extremely lazy. It was obvious that she did not take this young domain lord seriously at all. Her gaze and tone made it seem as if she was looking at a true rookie. "Who are the three of them?" Wusu pointed at Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan. Lin Muyu knew that he was a lecher. She put an arm around Qin Yin's shoulder and said, "This is my wife. The one beside her is also my wife. The other one is my sister-in-law." Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi immediately blushed. This was the first time that Lin Muyu publicly acknowledged the relationship between the three of them. They were happy but also angry. They did not know what to say. Shi Yan, on the other hand, was very calm. She silently wondered what the heck was a sister-in-law. Wusu, on the other hand, was angry and resentful. She said, "Lin Muyu, you want to protect the lives of those lowly people?" "Yes." "Haha." Wusu sneered and said, "They broke my moonlight goblet. This moonlight goblet is priceless. I bought it with 700,000 gold ingots. How are you going to compensate me?" "That's easy." Lin Muyu fumbled in her Qingquan pouch and found a familiar handle. She pulled it out. It was indeed the Thunder God hammer. She threw it out immediately. Bang! The war hammer smashed into the jade stairs, causing a cloud of dust to fly out. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Is this compensation enough?" "This is..." Wusu was stunned. The Thunder God hammer, the weapon of the ancient Thunder God. It is one of the supreme artifacts of the ancient times. Is this enough to compensate for your moonlight goblet? Even 10 moonlight goblets should be enough. Wusu narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Nothing. In your words, I am using this to buy the lives of those lowly people." Before Lin Muyu's voice died away, a majestic voice suddenly came from the sky. "Who is so arrogant to buy the lives of the people of the Golden Dragon territory?" An old voice slowly fell beside Wusu. It was the territory lord of the Golden Dragon territory, Wu Feng. Feng Zhanlin immediately cupped his fists. Feng Zhanlin pays respect to the old territory lord. Wu Feng also nodded. "Lord Feng, we haven't seen each other for many years. I didn't expect to meet you here." "Yes." At least 100 God State warriors of the Golden Dragon territory appeared and surrounded Feng Zhanlin, Lin Muyu, and the others. They all looked at them covetously. "Father." Wusu's face was still red and swollen. He said, "It is this guy named Lin Muyu who brought people here to make trouble. He even took out a hammer and smashed my jade stairs." "A hammer?" Wu Feng's expression changed when he saw the Thunder God hammer. "It's a divine artifact." "That's right." Lin Muyu nodded. At this time, Feng Zhanlin said respectfully, "Old territory lord, this time I brought my people here not to make trouble, but to make friends with the Golden Dragon territory. I think you know what happened yesterday. The Raging Fire territory started a war with the Sparrow territory. They were defeated yesterday and Dongfang Yan was injured, but they will definitely come back. The Raging Fire territory has always bullied our two territories, and we have been bullied for so many years. Therefore, this time I came here to unite the two territories and fight against the Raging Fire territory together." "Unite?" Wu Feng stroked his beard, and a gleam of light shot out from his aged eyes. "We, the Golden Dragon realm, have our own rules. Everything is a separate matter and everything should be in order. Lord Feng, you and this guy named Lin Muyu came to Wusu's garden to make trouble. Is this true?" Feng Zhanlin's face darkened. "Yes, it's true." Wu Feng looked at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Lin Muyu, who are you? How can you be so reckless? Is the Golden Dragon Palace a place where you can break into at will? The Golden Dragon territory has its own rules. You protect these lowly people and make an enemy of the Golden Dragon Palace. Is this how you come to the Golden Dragon territory to discuss an alliance? I have lived for so many years, and the affairs of the 64 territories are getting more and more interesting." Lin Muyu also laughed heartily. "What are you laughing at?" Wu Feng said coldly. Lin Muyu put the Xianyuan sword and its scabbard on the ground and said with an awe-inspiring aura, "I'm laughing at how the Golden Dragon territory is a good place to look at the sky from the bottom of a well. A group of God State overlords hide in the well and enjoy their lives, but ignore the bullying and insults of the Raging Fire territory. They only know how to abuse the mortals. No wonder the Golden Dragon territory has always been the weakest among the 64 territories. You don't even dare to challenge the experts. What kind of divine territory is this? It's like a dry well that is about to die. What did you say? Many god state overlords in the crowd retorted. However, when Lin Muyu looked at them calmly, she realized that more than half of the godly state experts looked ashamed. Her words had hit the nail on the head, and it had undoubtedly pierced the most painful part of their hearts. But Wu Feng narrowed his eyes and said, "Good, you have guts." What a battle of words. Domain Lord Feng, are you here to discuss an alliance with our Golden Dragon realm with such a despicable man who only knows how to talk nonsense? Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly and said, "With all due respect, if the Region Lord thinks that he is an arrogant person, then the old Region Lord is really blind." Feng Zhanlin, what do you mean? Wu Su was furious and pointed at Feng Zhanlin and said, "What else does this Lin Muyu have other than arrogant words? He is just a piece of trash who plays to the gallery and seduces women." Wu Su had already probed Lin Muyu with his divine power, but what he found was like a silent ancient well. Her strength was at most at the hierarch realm, which was why Wu Su dared to say such a thing. Trash? Lin Muyu could not help but smile. "Young Region Lord, take out your weapon. I want to tell the whole Golden Dragon territory who is the real trash." "You want to challenge me?" Wu Su seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. "That's right. What about the bet? Young Region Lord has the final say." "Very well." Wu Su sneered, "If you lose, the 3 women behind you will all become my concubines. How about that?" Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were furious, but Shi Yin grabbed their hands and did not say anything. "Very well." Lin Muyu's words were shocking. "However, if I win, you must commit suicide to apologize to all the innocent people who died in your hands. How about that?" "Commit suicide to apologize?" Wu Su was shocked. "You want to bet my life?" Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi with gentle eyes. "They are more important to me than my life. If you take them away, isn't that the same as betting your life with me?" "Interesting, haha, then let's bet your life." Wu Su's face was full of greed and insolence as he roared, "Someone bring me my universe saber." Wu Feng's face was livid. "Wu Su, are you crazy? Do you know how strong this person is? He dares to bet his life?" "Father, I will take care of my own business. Don't ask." Wu Feng was so angry that his entire body trembled, but there was nothing he could do. He was the one who spoiled his son. A few minutes later, a saber was carried over by 2 servants. It was at least a substandard artifact, just right. Only this kind of weapon was worthy of being the Xinyuan sword's opponent. Clang. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xinyuan sword. At this moment, Wu Feng's face was full of shock, but it was too late to say anything. When Lin Muyu began to increase her divine power and the surface of her body overflowed with waves of 60 levels of heavenly insight divine power, Wu Su's face was full of shock. Lin Muyu's cultivation level was the same as his, but the strength of her divine power was at least 70% stronger. Chapter 1000. This Jianghu saber is made of cold iron from ancient times. After 3 years of refinement by a divine craftsman, its blade is sharp and indestructible. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber with a cold look in her eyes. "Lin Muyu, don't blame me for not warning you if your head gets chopped off by the heaven and earth saber." Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She pointed the Xinyuan sword at her opponent. "My sword is the Xinyuan sword." These simple words stunned Wu Feng, Wu Su, and countless experts of the Golden Dragon territory, who hadn't heard of the Xinyuan sword. It was an ancient divine weapon that had been fought over by the 64 territories for tens of thousands of years. It was the sword of the way of the king, and it was irreplaceable. In an instant, everyone's view of Lin Muyu changed. Someone who could have the Xinyuan sword must not be a nobody. The 2 divine artifacts produced different clanging sounds. Before they even came into contact, their auras had already begun to compete. Wu Su was the first to attack with a shout. The cosmic saber was instantly enveloped in flames. His body suddenly rose into the air and then fell down. He was so fast that it was as if he had built an arch bridge of flames in the garden. As an expert of the God Emperor realm, it was impossible to be weak without some skills. Although Wu Su was addicted to wine and women, he didn't completely neglect his cultivation. This powerful strike had shocked and worried the experts of the Sparrow territory brought by Feng Zhanlin. However, in Lin Muyu's opinion, Wu Su's ferocious attack was nothing like that. In terms of strength, Wu Su's attack was worthy of the cultivation of a god the Arch. However, in terms of speed, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. A true god Thearch's speed should not be this slow. Since Wu Su was so slow, he must have a backup plan. He rushed forward and unleashed half of his Xianyuan sword's divine power. He swung it at the Cosmos Saber. Boom! The flames and the power of stars collided in the air. Sure enough, Wu Su's strike was fake. After landing, he kicked out with a powerful force on the tip of his foot. If he was hit by this kick, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. The quick attack was a feint, the real killing move was the kick from behind. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was prepared for this. She did not look down on this foppish playboy. She stomped on the ground with her battle boots and jumped up. At the same time, she dodged the kick with her long sword. The stardust on the blade of the sword surged and condensed into a mountain rock. It was the 5 mountains descending from the heavens of the stars' arts. Moreover, the mysterious energy of the invisible elephant spell was activated, which doubled the power of the 5 mountains descending from the heavens. What? Wu Su was stunned. He never thought that Lin Muyu could not only dodge his sure-kill attack, but also counterattack so quickly. Moreover, the speed and strength of her counterattack were superior. He quickly raised his wrist and used the Qingquan saber to block Lin Muyu's attack. Finally, the 2 divine weapons collided heavily. The power of Lin Muyu's attack was so powerful that Wu Su's hands were numb. His feet also broke the stone floor and sank into the gravel. The airflow blown out by the sword suddenly swept out, forcing the onlookers to use their arms to block the impact of the powerful Gang Qi. Good fight. Wu Su roared angrily. He brandished his saber with both arms and slashed at Lin Muyu, who was in the air. The Qingquan saber transformed into the 8 trigrams constellation. Strands of righteous force wrapped around Lin Muyu like a net. It looked like an impenetrable defense. The defensive martial art of the Law of Fire in the Golden Dragon domain was really not simple. Feng Zhanlin, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, could not help but nod his head in approval. No wonder the Golden Dragon domain was able to survive among the 64 domains despite being so weak. One could see how powerful this martial technique was. Wu Su was already so powerful when using the Wu clan's martial technique. If his father Wu Feng were to use it, how powerful would he be? In the face of Wu Su's perfect defense, Lin Muyu was not in a hurry. He knew this kind of defense, which was similar to the 8 trigrams formation, very well. He knew it when he set up the 8 trigrams formation during the battle with the Devil Tribe. Now Wu Su's martial art was only scratching the surface of the yin and yang taishu. The so-called yin and yang of the 8 trigrams were endless, strong and weak alternating, and the moment of alternating was the greatest weakness. Seeing the opportunity, Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword with both hands and stabbed down. Swish! The sword edge was covered with flames. The spiritual power of heaven and earth rushed in from all directions, and the space was instantly distorted. It was the 5 elements' 8 waste destruction. Ah! Wu Su already knew something was wrong when Lin Muyu made the move. It was as if his weakness was completely exposed to the opponent's attack, and everything about him was completely seen through. The heaven and earth saber was violently surging, and Wu Su immediately felt something sweet in his throat. He almost vomited blood, and the saber in his hand hung down as if it didn't listen to his command. He took a few steps back and hit the stone pillar of the pavilion behind him. But Lin Muyu's attack was more than one sword. The cold wind came, and this time it was the Law of Ice. The Xianyuan sword was surrounded by ice light, and it swept toward Wu Su's throat in an arc. Ah! Wu Su could only scream. The heaven and earth saber was shaken off by the Xianyuan sword with a clang, and Wu Su broke the pillar. The whole pavilion collapsed in an instant. He still wanted to go, so he stepped on the ground and jumped up. However, Lin Muyu had already descended from the sky. With a ping sound, her combat boot landed heavily on Wu Su's shoulder. There was a faint sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Wu Su spat out a mouthful of blood as he tumbled to the side of the lotus pond. Before he could stand up, Lin Muyu had already swept over and stomped heavily on his chest with her combat boot. Cough, cough, cough. Wu Su was seriously injured and he coughed violently. How many years have you been cultivating till now? Lin Muyu's clear eyes were filled with arrogance as she looked down at Wu Su from above. Everyone else was stunned, but no one stepped forward to stop them. This was a contest between 2 God Emperor realm experts, and according to the rules of the 64 regions, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Wuxia coughed a few more times and said with bloodshot eyes, "More than 300 years. That's all you've got after 300 years?" Lin Muyu's face was full of disdain and she said, "I've cultivated for a total of 12 years, from nothing to stepping into the God Emperor realm. Now tell me who's the trash between the two of us." "I'm trash." Wuxia's body trembled and blood and tears flowed from his eyes. "Young Region Lord." Not far away a large man shouted, "You can't admit defeat. How can our Golden Dragon region bear such humiliation?" "Shut up." Wu Fengfeng shouted. Lin Muyu looked at Wuxia and said indifferently, "You're too greedy for wine and women, so you didn't focus on cultivation. With just the two of you, the Golden Dragon region will only become weaker and weaker, and eventually be devoured by the Raging Fire region." As she spoke, Lin Muyu took a step back and removed her foot from Wuxia's chest. She said, "All right, according to our previous agreement, if I lose, I'll pay with my wife. If you lose, you'll pay with your life. Young Region Lord, you can kill yourself now." Lin Muyu suddenly opened her left hand and snatched a guard sword from him, and threw it straight in front of Wuxia. "No, absolutely not." Wu Feng's old face was full of anger and he said, "How can life and death be treated as child's play? I only have one son and I can't let him die like this." "Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, what do you want?" Feng Zhanlin touched his nose and said with a smile, "Old Region Lord, we've already said that we're only here to seek cooperation. Only when the Sparrow Domain and the Golden Dragon region join forces can we resist the powerful Raging Fire region." "Let's join forces then." Wu Feng was disappointed. "Great. I'll use all the resources of the Golden Dragon region to fight the Raging Fire region with you." "Really? Old Region Lord?" Feng Zhanlin was pleasantly surprised. "What else? What else can we do?" "No, I don't agree." Before Wu Feng's voice died away, Lin Muyu said clearly, "At first we wanted to join forces, but young Region Lord Wuxia was so aggressive that I changed my mind. Now we're not joining forces but merging. The Golden Dragon region will join the Sparrow Domain and become a part of it. From now on, there will be no more Golden Dragon region." "What did you say?" Blue veins popped out on Wu Feng's face. "Lin Muyu, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to say that you want to annex the Golden Dragon region? This is for the good of the Golden Dragon region." Lin Muyu looked at the group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region and said in a clear voice, "Wu Feng is old and muddle-headed, and Wuxia is rebellious and ignorant. Do you think that these two can revitalize the Golden Dragon region? I think the Golden Dragon region will be destroyed in less than 10 years. On the other hand, the Region Lord of the Sparrow Domain, Feng Zhanlin, is superior in both cultivation and strength. He treats people with kindness. This is not annexing the Golden Dragon region, but finding a better home for the people of the Golden Dragon region." The crowd fell silent. Although the group of God-state warriors did not speak, their expressions showed that they were a little shaken. After all, most of them knew Wu Feng and his son very well. Just this alone was enough to disappoint the people of the Golden Dragon region. Now, with the amazing strength displayed by Lin Muyu, and the superb speech from a foreign land, and the sword of the king as proof, the hearts of the people of the Golden Dragon region were naturally swayed. Feng Zhanlin was a man of action. At this time he stepped forward and said respectfully, "The former Region Lord is a senior, and I, Feng Zhanlin, am just a junior. I respect the former Region Lord, but the Golden Dragon region cannot be so decadent. This will only bring disaster to the gods of the Golden Dragon region. Therefore, I, Feng Zhanlin, would like to invite the heroes of the Golden Dragon region to join the Sparrow Domain and fight against the strong together. Since ancient times, we are weak when we are divided, and we are strong when we are united. When the Sparrow Domain sweeps over the prehistoric Mystery Land, we will raise our cups together and share the prosperity." The group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region was even more moved. You, Wusu's face was livid. He did not commit suicide but pointed at the group of people and scolded, "You traitors! My Wu family has given you glory and wealth, but now you have the heart to betray us. You are not worthy of being gods." Lin Muyu could not help but snicker. Wuxia had lived for more than 300 years, but his mind was like that of a 3-year-old child. His scolding made the people of the Sparrow Domain even more loyal to the humble people. Stupid, extremely stupid. Chapter 1001. Wuxia, why haven't you killed yourself? Are you waiting for me to help you? The fire cyclone around Lin Muyu flowed back, and the spirit beads of law were about to break out of her body. Everyone in the Golden Dragon domain was dumbfounded. At this time, they were even more certain that Lin Muyu's strength was extraordinary. Judging from the number of spirit beads of law, she was at least at the Master God level, maybe even higher. A sovereign spark. Everyone knew exactly what that signified. The Northern Heaven Realm's godly King Dongming relied on the Frost Law's Lord God latent deity to create an everlasting great cause. Until now, he had stood tall in the Northern Heaven Realm without collapsing. On the other hand, the Purple Jade Fairy relied on the Life Law's Lord God latent deity to be able to move unhindered across 64 domains and destroy 2 domains in a row. Therefore, smart people had to have a vision for development when choosing masters to follow. Following a master god was much better than following a pair of unknown father and son. In the crowd, a red-haired girl raised her hand and smiled. I, Luo Xingtian of the Nanshan tribe, am willing to join the Sparrow domain and follow Lady Lin Muyu from now on. Lin Muyu turned around and saw Luo Xingtian wearing a red skirt. She looked youthful and lively, at most 17 or 18 years old, but her strength was somewhat frightening. Between her breathing, there were 62 waves of divine power. This was a freak of the God Emperor realm. Therefore, she cupped her fists in the Shattered Cauldron realm's military salute. Thank you, young lady. Come over here. Yes. Luo Xingtian leaped and landed beside Lin Muyu in the next moment. A faint fragrance of a young girl wafted from her body. Thank you for your support, young lady. Lin Muyu smiled in a low voice. Don't mention it. I like you. You are handsome, powerful, far-sighted, and knowledgeable. Naturally, you are much better than that father and son. With that, Luo Xingtian stared into the distance. Big stupid cow, aren't you coming over? Coming. A huge and sturdy young man leaped up and landed right next to Luo Xingtian. He rubbed her head, smiled and said, Xingtian, you're the descendant of the South Mountain tribe. Do you really want to join the Spirit Sparrow region? How could it be fake? Luo Xingtian put her hands behind her back and said to Lin Muyu with a smile, Madam, this stupid bull is called Niu Gung. Although he is only a 55th Heavenly Grotto Heaven Godly King, he was born with brute force. Even I am no match for him. He is the strongest bull in our tribe. I am willing to work for you. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Thank you, Niu Gung. There's no need to be so polite, my lord. Niu Gung scratched his head and actually looked very embarrassed, causing Lin Muyu to curse in her heart. He was too straightforward. As a result, Wu Su, who was sitting on the ground, turned pale. Therefore, Feng Zhanlin changed his words and said, As long as you leave with Wu Su, I will send you 5,000 servants as well as countless gold, silver, and jewelry. No matter where you go, you can continue to enjoy wealth. What do you think, old region master? Do I have any other choice? Wu Feng asked coldly. At the same time, the divine power in his body began to increase rapidly. His old face was a little distorted. You are forcing me? How could Golden Dragon Yu allow himself to be captured so easily? Are you guys dreaming? Wu Feng was about to make his move. But at this moment, an even more vigorous aura suddenly surged, forcibly suppressing Wu Feng's God Emperor domain. When everyone looked back, they saw a 6-winged seraph descending from the sky. Shi Yan held the Chiwe sword in her hand like a goddess descending to the earth. Her eyebrows were full of arrogance and disdain. Wu Feng, who are you? How dare you be so arrogant? 6-winged seraph. Everyone in the divine realm knew about the strongest existence in the West. Wu Feng had seen the power of the seraph with his own eyes. Even the God Emperor of the 99th heaven was killed by the seraph in a few moves. Who was he? Perhaps this seraph had cursed so much that his old eyes were blurred and he could no longer see clearly. Shi Yan's seraph transformation was completed in an instant and ended in another instant. She returned to her gentle and dignified demeanor. So it's the seraph, the seraph. Wu Feng frowned and slowly knelt down. He said, I admit defeat. I Wu Feng admit defeat. I don't want anything. I'll leave with Wu Su. This Golden Dragon domain is yours. At this moment, a few godly state experts, including a God Emperor expert, rushed out and said loudly, Region Lord, wherever you go, we will go. We will never regret it. No, you guys should stay here. Wu Feng said. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. No, they will go with you. There is no point in keeping them in the Spirit Sparrow domain. There was indeed no point in having the same goal but not the same goal. Wu Feng went forward to help the seriously injured Wu Su up. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. He flew out of the Golden Dragon Palace with a few godly state experts and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but burst into laughter. He opened his arms and said, "Everyone listen to me. From now on, the Golden Dragon domain will officially join the Spirit Sparrow domain. You and I will follow the East Heaven Realm's left army Marshal Lin Muyu to fight against the strong enemies of the Raging Fire domain and create a grand plan in the ancient Mystery Realm." Everyone applauded. Although many God-state strongmen used to live a good life in the Golden Dragon domain, and they had endless beauties and delicious food, it was obviously much better than the lifeless life in the past. Moreover, they had a new master, and this new master actually had another identity: Marshal of the Left Army of the Eastern Celestial Court, which made him even more worthy of loyalty. Lin Muyu said, "Change all the signboards of the Golden Dragon domain to the Spirit Sparrow domain. The Golden Dragon Palace will be renamed to the Spirit Sparrow Palace. From now on, this palace will be the headquarters of the Spirit Sparrow Palace. In addition, the original castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain is too small and too close to the Raging Fire domain. It is easy to be attacked. Region Lord Feng, why don't you order all the people of the Spirit Sparrow domain to move here? The Golden Dragon domain castle is larger and more prosperous." "Yes," Feng Zhanlin said without hesitation, "I will do it immediately. In addition, will the spiritual orchard also be moved here? It would be best if it can be moved. I will do my best. Please rest assured, Lin General." Thank you for your hard work, Region Lord." Thus, Lin Muyu officially had a new foundation in the 64 domains. Although the Region Lord of the new Spirit Sparrow domain was Feng Zhanlin, everyone knew that the real master was actually Lin Muyu. He was the real number one. Moreover, the Spirit Sparrow Palace was indeed comfortable. It allowed Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan to live well and eat well. This was also one of Lin Muyu's great wishes. As a man, this was something he should do and was duty-bound to do. 3 days later, the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved to the new castle. Feng Zhanlin was also aware of the big picture. If the Golden Dragon domain was still divided into 2 castles after merging, they would not be able to defend together and would be easily attacked one by one. Therefore, although the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was a foundation passed down from their ancestors, they still had to give it up. Indecisiveness would only lead to chaos. Feng Zhanlin understood this simple principle. 10 days later, the migration was completed. All the wealth in the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved, and the people were all moved to the new city. As for Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others, they began to cultivate again, still working hard to improve their cultivation in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Lin Muyu's next goal was the 70th layer of Heavenly Cave, but he did not know how long it would take to achieve it. Chapter 1002. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lin Muyu and the other 3 had spent almost every day in the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months of cultivation, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin had stepped into the 65th Grotto Heaven realm at almost the same time. Tang Xiaoxi had also succeeded in becoming a monarch a month ago, and was now a 62nd Grotto Heaven realm little fox. As for Shi Yan, her progress was the slowest, and she was still lingering on the edge of the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. There was no other way. The power that was destroyed by the Divine Pact could not be so easily cultivated back. However, Lin Muyu was well aware that even if Shi Yan was only at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm, her usefulness was no less than that of a 90th Grotto Heaven realm God Emperor. A blazing angel at the Great Perfection realm had directly intimidated Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Wu Feng, and the other God Emperors. If not for Shi Yan, Feng Zhanlin and the others would not have submitted so easily. The moonlight scattered on the icy plains outside the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months, the ancient mystic realm had already entered winter. There was even a heavy snowfall a few days ago, and the accumulated snow had not melted yet. On the layers of snow, Lin Muyu laid on her back with her hands behind her head, and a wild grass root in her mouth, leisurely swinging her battle boots. Beside her, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were also there. "I wonder how long Sister Haiyan can last this time." Qin Yin smiled hopefully. "It has already been 8 hours and she still hasn't come out." "Don't worry, we all know Shi Yan's strength very well. Her understanding of power is far above the 3 of us, and she knows how to use it and cultivate." Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon in the sky and said, "I am very worried about the Empire. We have been here for half a year, and I wonder how Brother Feng and Sister Chuyao are doing. Did the feudal vassals and the National Assembly continue to make things difficult for them?" Qinin smiled. Half a year here is half a month in the Shattered Cauldron world. Nothing big will happen. After the National Assembly attacked Situ Sun, the Longdan army camp has taken a series of measures as punishment, and the National Army has even lost basic mobility. With Feng Jixing, Situ Sin, and Wei Chou guarding Lanyan City, I believe nothing will happen. Why is Xiao Yin so confident that nothing will happen? Because it's very simple. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, revealing two beautiful little dimples, and said, Zhuang Yin, Su Changjing, and the others are only relying on Imperial Uncle Qin Lian's authority. But I still understand Imperial Uncle better. He is calm as water, and when Imperial Father and Qin Yi were still here, Qin Lian handled things calmly. This time he must feel that constitutionalism is a long-term strategy, so he supported it. But at the end of the day he is a member of the Qin family, and it is impossible for him to help Zhuang Yin and the other feudal vassals divide the Qin family's world. You see things clearly. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she smiled and said, if I'm not wrong, the current National Assembly should be changing its blood. I believe in Brother Feng's ability. When we return to the Shattered Cauldron world, the National Assembly will be a real National Assembly, no longer controlled by the feudal vassals. But, before we officially lose control of the National Assembly, Zhuang Yin, Yang Zhong, and the others will definitely counterattack once. It all depends on how Brother Feng handles this counterattack. Don't worry. Qinin sat up, held his hand and felt warm. She said, since we're already in the prehistoric mystic realm, let's not think about the Shattered Cauldron world anymore. Just leave that place to Feng Jixing, Qin Yan and the others. Why isn't Xiaoxi saying anything? She's asleep? Qinin turned around and felt a little helpless. Tang Xiaoxi was leaning on her arm and she was already breathing softly. As expected, she had fallen asleep. But at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her eyebrows. Someone's coming. The Spirit Pulse technique discovered a fluctuation of divine power 20 kilometers away. The person was very fast, and with a shatter of the void, he had already arrived on the snowy plains. There weren't many people who could find this place, and Feng Zhanlin was one of them. The person who had come was him. At this moment, Feng Zhanlin was the domain lord of the reorganized Spirit Sparrow region. He had a huge territory under his control and he had a strong army. He wore a golden robe embroidered with a fierce tiger, and he had the air of a general. Domain Lord Feng, why are you here? Lin Muyu sat up. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said respectfully, Lin General, something happened in Spirit Sparrow region. What? Raging Fire region attacked? That's not it. Feng Zhanlin smiled. I've heard that Lin General injured Dongfang Yan's heart meridian. I'm afraid Dongfang Yan won't be able to attack Spirit Sparrow region for 2 to 3 months. This incident was caused by Sky Foothill region. Sky Foothill region? Yes. Feng Zhanlin nodded and said, the Celestial Foothill domain is the Mochi clan's territory that has been passed down for generations. Moreover, it's less than 100 miles away from the Lingke domain. It's probably because we've merged the Golden Dragon domain that we've attracted the attention of the Celestial Foothill domain. Not long ago there was a battle in the Yangling Valley between the two domains. The Lingke domain lost an ultimate god while the Celestial Foothill domain lost 3 ultimate gods. That's a small skirmish. That's right, but we can't ignore the fact that Sky Foothill region dared to fight us. I think Sky Foothill region Lord Mochi Lin has already decided to take action against us. Since ancient times, how can others sleep next to one's bed? Golden Dragon domain's previous owners, Wu Feng and Wu Su, were not ambitious, so Sky Foothill region turned a blind eye. However, it's different now. Golden Dragon domain has merged with Spirit Sparrow region, so Mochi Lin can no longer ignore our existence. Lin Muyu pondered and asked, what kind of place is Sheep Spirit Valley? It's a deep valley, but it's full of spiritual energy. Even in winter, hundreds of flowers bloom as if it's spring. There are many wild and undiscovered spiritual fruits in the Yang Spirit Valley, so the Yang Spirit Valley has always been a place of contention. Whoever possesses the Yang Spirit Valley will be able to nurture more godly state experts. Territorial Lord, what do you mean? I think we must fight for Sheep Spirit Valley, and there will be a war between us and Sky Foothill region. Very well. How strong is Sky Foothill region? Tell me the truth. Feng Zhanlin was stunned and said, although Sky Foothill region isn't as strong as Raging Fire region, it's not too bad either. Territorial Lord Mochi Lin has long entered the 86th level Grotto Heaven while his cousin Mochi Lei is at the 81st level Grotto Heaven. The entire Sky Foothill region has 9 Emperor Gods, 64 Divine Kings, over 200 Ultimate Gods, and over 10,000 servants. What about our Spirit Sparrow region? Feng Zhanlin was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose and said, I've disappointed Lin General. Including Lin General and the ladies, the Spirit Sparrow region has a total of 15 Emperor Gods, 102 Divine Kings, over 500 Ultimate Gods, and over 30,000 servants. Then we're much stronger than Sky Foothill region. Lin Muyu's gaze became determined. Fight. Destroy Sky Foothill region before the Raging Fire region comes looking for trouble. We'll eat their power and strengthen ourselves. Does that mean Lin General agrees? Yes. Great, that's great. Feng Zhanlin said confidently, I think Machi Lin will definitely gather his men to defend Sheep Spirit Valley and take back this place. Therefore, I've decided to lead my men to fight tomorrow. If possible, Lin General, please bring Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Lord Seraphim. It'll be best if we can get the most results with the least cost. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu said cheerfully, Territorial Lord, go back and prepare. We'll stay in Spirit Sparrow region tonight and depart with you tomorrow. Yes. Feng Zhanlin flew away in the blink of an eye and turned into a meteor in the sky. Lin Muyu looked back and saw Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi staring at her with wide eyes. She could not help but feel awkward. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a piece of meat. Tang Xiaoxi giggled. But it's delicious. You make it sound like you've eaten it before. Tang Xiaoxi's face instantly turned red. She could not take the teasing at all. Qin Yin said seriously, Are we really going to war with Sky Foothill region? Of course. If we don't fight others, others will come and fight us. Lin Muyu lay back down on the snow and said, Since we've come to the prehistoric mystic realm, if we don't overturn the seas and rivers, we won't be worthy of this trip. The two beautiful girls smiled knowingly. At this moment, a piercingly cold divine power of light rushed out of the cave of gods and demons. It was Xian. She looked very energetic. Although her body was covered with icicles, the charm in her eyes was leaping and soaring like never before. Congratulations, Sister Xian. You've broken through. Thank you. Xian patted the ice on her body and said, I really did not expect. I could jump from level 10 to level 20 in just one day. What? Sister Xian reached level 20 Grotto Heaven? Qin Yin was shocked. Yes, why? Is it abnormal? Xian said. No, it's just that my advancement was too slow before. Now it's so fast. Lin Muyu smiled and said, This is called good preparation. The slow progress is just to lay the foundation for the leap in the future. Xian said, I heard sounds outside just now. Is there going to be a fight tomorrow? Yes. Very good. Xian reached out and grabbed at the void in front of her. Immediately, a thin sword condensed from streams of light appeared. It was Chiwa. She smiled slightly and said, I just happen to want to exercise my muscles. Once I step into the God King realm, I'll probably be able to use all 7 slashes. That's for the best. Lin Muyu jumped up and patted the ice off her body. Let's go. We can still eat supper when we return to Spirit Sparrow region. Okay, I want to eat venison hot pot. I want to eat purple potato rice. No, I want to eat bear paw hot pot. You guys are so troublesome. Just eat it all. However, Lin Muyu did not seem to need to worry about this. Spirit Sparrow region was many times larger than before. With just the few of them, it was impossible to exhaust the Spirit Sparrow region. As for wild game, it was even more convenient. Spirit Sparrow region had hundreds of god kings and ultimate gods. They could just go out and hunt in the wild. Simple. Moreover, Feng Zhanlin had already arranged for people to take care of the food. He had some understanding of Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. These gods did not use their strength to bully the weak, they were not lustful, and they were not greedy for power. Their only weakness was that they had very high requirements for food. Chapter 1003. The next day, Spirit Sparrow region's castle was solemn. Though the news of the impending battle was sealed, the entire castle seemed to be shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere. In Spirit Sparrow Palace, Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai and the others stood respectfully below the stairs. There was only one throne in the palace, and this throne belonged to Lin Muyu. Even Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Xian just stood at the side. This throne was made of pure gold. Actually, Lin Muyu didn't like it. It was too hard and it sat on his butt. However, he still calmly sat down. He was the only one who could give out orders. Many of the god emperors and god monarchs in the hall actually only obeyed him but not Feng Zhanlin. Lin General, please give the order. Feng Zhanlin said respectfully. In the crowd, God Emperor Luo Xantian smiled. Are we going to fight, big brother Lin General? After a few months of familiarity, Luo Xantian had her own way of addressing Lin Muyu. Yes. Lin Muyu smiled. Everyone should have guessed that Sky Foothill region is trying to provoke us. Since that's the case, we have to let them know our power. So today we will go all out to Sheep Spirit Valley. No matter how many people from Sky Foothill region come, don't think of leaving. Everyone remember, don't kill them. We will destroy Sky Foothill region, but don't kill all their people. Luo Xantian nodded, yes. Niu Gung said very honestly, Lin General, don't worry. Our fists will be measured. Then get ready to go. Yes. When the sun rose, hundreds of godly state experts left the Ling Sparrow domain and flew at a low altitude towards the Sheep Spirit Valley in the east. Lin Muyu knew very well that the period when Dongfang Yen was recuperating was the best time for the Ling Sparrow domain to expand. If they missed it, when Dongfang Yen made a comeback, the Ling Sparrow domain would not be able to withstand it. After all, the absolute power was there. In the Sheep Spirit Valley there was a wide valley. In the morning, hundreds of flowers bloomed and dew covered the ground. Under the sunlight, one could faintly see a faint golden aura rising from the ground. This was spiritual energy visible to the naked eye. It was the nourishment of this spiritual energy that made the Sheep Spirit Valley feel like spring all year round. Even though the land of the prehistoric mystery dimension was covered in ice and snow, this place still felt like spring. In the middle of the canyon, among the rocks and weeds, there was a group of people dressed in green. They were the people of the Sky Foothill region. In the crowd, a middle-aged martial artist with a resolute appearance and reserved divine light was sitting on a rock. The saber in his hand was reflecting a terrifying cold light under the sunlight. This person was the Celestial Foothill region's region lord, Mochi Lin, a God Emperor realm expert who possessed peerless martial arts. Will the Spirit Sparrow region really come? Mochi Lin asked. At the side, a slightly younger cultivator nodded and smiled. They will come. Don't worry, big brother. If I'm not wrong, Feng Zhanlin will personally bring people over. But how many people he brings will depend on whether he thinks highly of our Sky Foothill region. Mochi Lin frowned. Second brother, is the legend true? Mochi Lin was stunned. What legend? In the Spirit Sparrow region, there is a six-winged seraph holding down the fort, and there is also a young man with the overgod spark called Lin Muyu. Is that true? This has not been confirmed. Mochi Lin's gaze turned cold. If it is confirmed, then what should we do? Second brother, with our strength, we can indeed kill Feng Zhanlin and Feng Zhanhai in this Sheep Spirit Valley. But if they have the help of a seraph, I'm afraid we will fail here today. You should have heard about what happened in the Golden Dragon region. Looks like this rumor is most likely not false. I don't believe that a seraph would really come to this barren land. Mochi Lei said, Big brother, you believe those rumors too easily. Think about it, what kind of existence is a seraph? They are dominator-level monsters that can control the heaven realm. They are extremely honorable in the god realm. Why would they come to the ancient secret realm to suffer? Think about what there is in this secret realm, other than slaughter and conflict. There is probably only a pile of ancient divine weapons that have been lost somewhere. But what if? Mochi Lin's brows were tightly furrowed. The Sky Foothill region that you and I created for hundreds of years isn't easy. We can't let it be destroyed like this. I have a bad premonition. If the Blazing Angel really comes, let the brothers retreat. There's no need for this battle. Retreat? Mochi Lei said, Big brother, it is easy for you to say. The arrow is already on the bowstring, it has to be released. Moreover, if Feng Zhanlin and Lin Muyu really come, they will not let us leave. These people are ambitious, destroying the Golden Dragon region in a day. That is the Wu family's Golden Dragon region for tens of thousands of years. Sigh. Mochi Lin suddenly looked up, a beam of flowing light flew over from afar. It was a divine king of the Sky Foothill region, he said respectfully. Region Lord, people are coming, people from the Spirit Sparrow region are coming. How many people are coming, who are they? I can't see clearly who they are, but there are more than 400 god realms. What? Mochi Lin was shocked, he clenched his fists and said, Why do they have so many god realms? Region Lord, they merged the Golden Dragon region almost unharmed. Damn it, retreat. I am afraid it is too late. Mochi Lei's voice trembled. Suddenly, a bright golden light bloomed in the sky. There was a faint sound of God. A huge golden wheel suddenly spread out. In the next moment, a strong domain power fell like rain, controlling the area within a few miles of the Sheep Spirit Valley. Machi Lin and the others only needed to use their power slightly to find that the law of breaking through the void was already sealed. That is, God Wheel. Machi Lin's body trembled slightly. How can there be a great perfection God Emperor in the Spirit Sparrow region? Did Feng Zhanlin already break through in a short time? Impossible. At this moment, figures appeared on the surrounding mountains. In the blink of an eye, over 100 God Realm experts of the Sky Foothill region were surrounded. A majestic force as strong as a mountain swept over. On top of the mountain, a handsome young man wearing a white robe and armor slowly flew over with a sharp sword in his hand. Was Lin Muyu. Feng Zhanlin, Qinin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shiyin and the others came with Lin Muyu. As for the godly beast Fu Zhu, he was watching from afar. If anything went wrong, he would flood the Sheep Spirit Valley. What is the meaning of this? Machi Lin was very calm. Feng Zhanlin smiled slightly. Long time no see, Region Lord Machi. Machi Lin coldly glanced around and saw that the surrounding mountains were already filled with people from the Spirit Sparrow region. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart as he said, "It seems that the Wind Region Lord has decided to eat us?" Decided? Where did that come from? Feng Zhanlin held his sword and said, "Courtesy demands reciprocity. The Sheep Spirit Valley is not anyone's territory. Since the Sky Foothill region can come, the Spirit Sparrow region can naturally come as well. However, the people from the Sky Foothill region were overbearing yesterday and killed an ultimate god of the Spirit Sparrow region." Is that true? Deaths are common in disputes between two sides, Machi Lin said. However, we did not expect Region Lord Feng to bring so many people over. You are quite ambitious. Feng Zhanlin laughed. It's not that I'm ambitious, I just don't want to be bullied. What do you mean? Feng Zhanlin raised his eyebrows. Your Sky Foothill region is the same as our Spirit Sparrow region. You have been bullied by the Raging Fire region for hundreds of years. There is no other reason. We fight on our own and are naturally not a match for the Raging Fire region, but if we work together, it may not be the case. Ha ha ha. Machi Lin could not help but laugh wildly. Looks like Region Lord Feng wants to use the same trick again, to destroy our Sky Foothill region like how you destroyed the Golden Dragon region? However, he slowly held the blade horizontally in front of his chest, divine power breaking out of his body, and said with an imposing manner, "Unfortunately I, Machi Lin, am not Wu Feng. I will not give up without a fight. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then you must step over my dead body. Feng Zhanlin, come at me. I, Machi Lin, am not a person who is afraid of death. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then do it. I just don't know if your sword is sharper or if my bones are harder." Feng Zhanlin gritted his teeth. As the legend said, the Sky Foothill region's Machi family was a bunch of hard bones, stubborn even when cooked. They would not admit defeat. Seeing that Feng Zhanlin was at his wit's end, other than attacking, Lin Muyu coughed. Machi Lin and Machi Lei immediately looked at Lin Muyu. "Could you be Lin Muyu?" Machi Lin said. "That's right, that's me." "Looks like you aren't as strong as the legends say," Machi Lin said directly. Luo Xingtian, who was behind Lin Muyu, was immediately unhappy. She raised her long sword and said, "Machi Lin, are you blind? Lin General is clearly very strong." Machi Lin frowned but did not argue with her. He just asked, "I just want to ask, who was the one who activated the God Will just now? To actually be able to control the plane within the entire region, I want to meet this expert." "Meet what? Are you going to surrender or not?" Luo Xingtian was naturally hot-tempered. Instantly the people of Sky Foothill region were all enraged. They all took out their swords, weapons and stood in the air, their divine power exploding. They shouted angrily, "Let's fight, who's afraid of who?" The people of Sky Foothill region are not easily frightened. Right at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly stretched her palm forward. Immediately, a buzzing sound of airflow could be heard as a huge golden roulette expanded rapidly. The piercingly cold airflow even forced Machi Lin and Machi Lei to unleash their energy to defend against it, while the rest of the people with lower cultivation base were shocked by the tens of meters tall golden roulette and were sent flying backward. The heaven and earth dimmed, and the power of a God Emperor could be seen. "You are not a great perfection God Emperor, but you can use the God Wheel?" Machi Lin looked calmly at Lin Muyu and an answer was on the tip of his tongue. "Sovereign personality." Lin Muyu had a bright smile on her face and her voice was very calm. Machi Region Lord, are you willing to join us and rule the 64 regions together? As long as you join, Spirit Sparrow Region will establish Sky Foothill Hall and Spirit Sparrow Hall. You will be the Hall Master of Sky Foothill Hall, and you will be on the same level as Fengjian Lin. So, this is not a merger, you are different, you are joining the alliance. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.